Hi, Aniquest here. This is my recap for the anime I was reincarnated as the 7th prince. If you dig my recaps, don't forget to subscribe and smash that notification bell. Boy opens his eyes and peeps a bunch of cute maids all hyped to see him. His first instinct is to cast a fireball and roast them all, but right before he goes for it, he notices his hands all tiny. That little distraction messes up his aim, so instead of taking out a maid, he blows a hole through the castle walls. Luckily, because there was a fireworks show happening, his blast didn't trigger a terror alert in the kingdom. Peeps are celebrating the birth of Prince Lloyd while inside the castle, but the maids start thinking about switching careers before they get turned to ash by this trigger-happy baby. Some time passes and the maids decide to keep their jobs, but they make sure to update their life insurance policy first. Right now, they are searching all over for Prince Lloyd, but as soon as they leave, Lloyd pops out from behind a pillar. He wants to dip from here so they don't find him, but as he tries to leave, he bumps into some officials. He asks them not to snitch to the maids about him being here, and they are cool with it. One of them asks if Lloyd want to join them for some hunting to kill time. Unfortunately, he is pretty busy right now, so he ignores the offer and just runs off to do his own thing. The officials feel kinda down because Lloyd turned them down again, but the other dude wonders why they are even trying to befriend the kid since he is too young to contest for the crown. Plus, he's just the 7th prince, so being friends with him ain't gonna give them no political advantage. To this, the first official has one thing to say. The kid could blow up a castle on the day he was born, and I don't think he needs another reason to stay on friendly terms with him. I wouldn't be surprised if Lloyd the reincarnation of the father of sorcery, but that's just speculation. Now back to Lloyd, he is really a reincarnation, but in his past life, he was just a regular sorcerer. He doesn't know why he remembers his past life, why he was reborn as a prince, or who thought it was a good idea for him to rock this outfit. One thing he is sure about is that since he got the freedom to do it, he gonna live the same way he did before and spend his time researching all sorts of dope magic. He was fascinated by the massive library in the castle, thinking it was even better than the one he had in his past life. But right before he can crack open a book and get his read on, a maid comes through and straight up smashes it away. Silpha finally found him, so he can't skip his lessons anymore like he used to. Outside, Lloyd gotta go through some sword practice with Silpha, and she is showing no mercy against this 8-year-old, but he holds his own. Lloyd doesn't see why he gotta go through all this training when he's way down the line and ain't got a shot at the royal throne. But Silpha hit back saying life ain't just about gaining power in the fam. As a member of the royal crew, he gotta be educated in all kinds of stuff. She has been in charge of his education for 3 years, so she's going to take her job very seriously and make sure he learns. Lloyd ain't feeling how strict and serious Silpha is, but he knows she ain't letting him off the hook until he shows some improvement. She tells him to get back in stance, and they clash swords again. But this time, Lloyd matched Silpha's moves like Zorro. She was impressed by how much he had improved because she saw him getting better. But Lloyd thinks to himself that he is cheating with this thing called control-type magic, copying her moves exactly. In other words, he is cheating on his swordsmanship exam. But even with him copying her, he was still just an 8-year-old with a smaller build, so she was stronger, taller, and had more reach. He gotta find a way to make up for their differences because they are putting him at a major disadvantage. So he comes up with a genius plan. He gonna cheat some more. He cast a spell to make his wooden sword longer, another one to make him physically stronger, as well as one to make him levitate. Now he can go toe-to-toe with Silpha on the same level. Eventually, when he spots an opportunity, he switches up his tactics and stops copying her moves in the middle of his attacks. This throws her off guard, and he plans to take advantage of that to strike. However, she's still an extremely skilled swordswoman, so she was able to block his strike. She calls him out on cheating, and Lloyd is straight up scared he busted. She figured he did it to even the playing field because he ain't match up to her skill level. And you know what? She was actually impressed by it. That meant he was using 2 spells at once, and even the palace mages found that hard to pull off. It's some next level stuff. Lloyd was just relieved she ain't yelling at him for using magic, but he kept quiet about the fact he was actually using 4 spells instead of just 2. Later on, it's bath time for Lloyd. But damn, he gotta sit in Silpha's lap in the maid's bathroom. It's either unfortunate or fortunate, depending on how you look at it. He feels super embarrassed about the whole situation, but Silpha ain't letting him leave and wash himself because last time he didn't even shower and spent all his time reading instead. My guy just wanted to read some books, but he was stuck there with a whole bunch of maids, not knowing what to do. One of the other maids warns him that if he doesn't behave himself, then he'll be taken by the demon of the Forbidden Library. Lloyd had never even heard about this Forbidden Library or the demon in it, so the girls filled him in on the whole deal. Long ago, the kingdom of Saloom was almost wiped out completely. But after a whole bunch of mages made sacrifices, they managed to seal the demon inside a damn book. They called that demon Grimoire, and he was supposedly sealed away in the castle's Forbidden Library. Silpha doesn't buy into that story though. She tells Lloyd it's all nonsense, and he ain't gotta be scared of something so dumb. However, Lloyd is fighting his own demons after being surrounded by so many girls in the bath, so he can't bring himself to look them in the eye. They misunderstand his situation and think he is actually scared of their story, so they offer him a spot in their beds tonight if he feels like it. Lloyd manages to dip out while they argue over who gets to chill with him, and now that he knows about this Forbidden Library, he can't just ignore it. That night, Lloyd sneaks through the castle halls until he finds the corridor leading to the Forbidden Library. Then he straight up casts an air spell on himself to hide his presence. It messes with the air density around him and makes light bend, making him practically invisible. One of the guards is about to pass out, but the other tells him to stay awake because they are supposed to be guarding some magic that could wreck the whole kingdom if it falls into the wrong hands, plus a sealed demon. Meanwhile, Lloyd just strolls past them while they brag about being top-notch guards. They definitely getting fired after this, aren't they? There was still a second layer of protection in place to stop people from getting into the library though. It's a seal cast by 10 powerful mages using their strongest magic, so there should be no way anyone is getting through that. Well, it didn't take much for him to get through it, so I guess the mages are getting fired as well. Once Lloyd was up in that library, he was straight up amazed because he had been living here his whole life and never even knew about this place. He starts checking out all them interesting books, but he reminds himself he gotta put that barrier back so folks don't lose their jobs because of him. Just then, he sees a book fly out from a pile, and boom, out comes the demon Grimoire. Grimoire is impressed that a young kid like Lloyd managed to break the seal on the library door, so he tries to persuade him to unseal him too. But even if Lloyd doesn't, that seal on Grimoire is about to crumble on its own because it has been degrading over time. Grimoire is trying to tempt Lloyd with some gold nuggets, but Lloyd ain't fooled by his words. That gold was made from creation magic, and on top of that, Grimoire did a really crappy job making it. Lloyd straight up tells Grimoire he gonna redo that seal once he is done here. The kingdom has too many books he gotta read, so he can't let some fool like Grimoire ruin it all. Grimoire keeps trying to convince him by promising he won't wreck the kingdom, but Lloyd ain't falling for it. As a last-ditch effort, Grimoire says he gonna teach Lloyd some ancient magic if he lets him go. Lloyd is ready to throw the whole kingdom under the bus if it means he can learn more magic. He asked if Grimoire would really teach him some ancient magic, and realizing he's got the kid hooked, Grimoire told him that he definitely would. He is trying to butter Lloyd up by saying he must be mad talented with sorcery. That brings back some painful memories from Lloyd's past life when folks rejected him because he ain't have any magical skills. But that all changed now that he is rocking the body of a royal family member. He whip up a magic key and use it to wreck the book that was holding Grimoire. Once he is free, Grimoire can't even believe Lloyd really destroyed the seal just like that. Lloyd is still pumped to get his ancient magic lesson, so he asks Grimoire to get it going. Grimoire takes a good look at him and straight up throws a ball of purple fire at him, calling it Lesson 1. He thinks that's gotta be the end of Lloyd, so he is about to bounce and go wreck the world or something. But then Lloyd pops out from the smoke, completely unharmed. Grimoire can't even believe Lloyd is still kicking after taking a direct hit from his spell, and Lloyd is praising it for being so damn unique. Our boy would love to see some more, and Grimoire just can't accept that Lloyd survived, so he starts firing off many more spells at him. However, not a single one manages to break through the barrier around Lloyd. Grimoire is straight up confused about how this barrier is so damn powerful. Lloyd watches in awe as he analyzes the spell, but even though he knows it might straight up kill him, he wants to know what it feels like to take that attack head on. Lloyd opens up a hole in the barrier and takes a bit of that purple fire, shocking Grimoire to the core. It burns his finger really bad, but he seems to enjoy it. And that's when we realize Lloyd has some serious issues going on in his head. He tells Grimoire to show him something else, and not wanting to lose to a kid, pulls out his trump card and levels up his second spell, so he can dual cast his magic. And even though that should straight up annihilate anyone who ain't the main character, Grimoire is getting worse matchups than before. When Grimoire peeps that Lloyd effortlessly cancels out his most powerful spell, he gets the message that he can't handle this kid in a fight. So he tries to get away from him as fast as possible. But just as Grimoire was about to dip, he straight up crashed into the barrier Lloyd set up beforehand. The castle above the library, so Lloyd doesn't want anybody to find out about his secret mission down there. Grimoire asks if Lloyd thinks he is trying to make a run for it, but that ain't it. A long time ago, Lloyd made this mistake that jacked up everyone's life insurance, so he was always extra cautious when he used magic. He even put up barriers around all them books, so they don't get burned up. But right when Grimoire was about to throw another magic spell, Lloyd shut him down and said he had seen enough of that one already. Now he wanna peep at what kinda of defensive magic Grimoire has, so he hit him with one of his own attack spells. It's safe to say Grimoire ain't about to enjoy this, and after the blast has ended, we see him lying on the floor as a defeated demon. Lloyd stroll up to him and asks why he ain't used no barrier to defend himself, but the truth is, ain't nothing Grimoire could do to save himself from that attack. After that, Lloyd whips up some magic to restore the room to its normal state, and Grimoire is straight up tamed from his encounter with Lloyd. He tells Lloyd he an amazing mage, but Lloyd thinks he is the amazing one. Turns out demons can't be killed by magic, even though it still hurts like hell. Lloyd is curious about how much punishment Grimoire can take since he is supposedly immune to magical damage. But Grimoire ain't trying to agree to that, so he swears his undying loyalty to Lloyd on the condition that he doesn't torture him. Lloyd agrees to take him on as a familiar, but torture will still be involved, only slightly though. He tells Grimoire to transform so he doesn't scare people with his appearance. So Grimoire turns into this cute-looking chibai goat and plans to butter Lloyd up so he can take control of his body. But when Grimoire tries to do that, he ends up staring into the abyss that is Lloyd's mana reserves. That makes it crystal clear to him that nothing he tries against this kid gonna work, so he's better off just being obedient and staying out of trouble. With all that settled, Lloyd bounced to enjoy reading in the Forbidden Library as much as he damn well pleases. A little later, we peep this fancy dude getting ready for his day and strolling through his mansion. In the library, Grimoire warns Lloyd that someone's coming. Lloyd tells him to hide, and we discover that he is the noble Prince Albert. Albert straight up shows off his power, blowing everyone's minds when he hits the target dead on with his magic. Albert's the second prince of the Saloum Kingdom. He's a damn genius at everything, and folks think he'll be the next king for sure. Albert's got special access to places like this, and sometimes he invites Lloyd to tag along. Lloyd can't really use much of his magic in the castle, so he appreciates it when Albert takes him to the range. Next up, it's Lloyd's turn to show off, but he ain't looking to impress nobody. He ain't interested in the throne, so he don't need to prove shit. Plus, if he revealed his true power, he'd get mixed up in all the power struggles between the princes. Lloyd hates that idea cause all he wants is to study sorcery and live in peace. Grimoire wonders what Lloyd's gonna do about the demonstration. So Lloyd explains that he's just gonna make his fireballs curve a bit so they barely graze the targets. Lloyd says it like it's no big deal, but Grimoire thinks that takes even more skill than just hitting them straight on. Lloyd lets them fly, barely grazing each target. The crowd's disappointed, but Grimoire realizes they should have known how damn hard it is to control magic that precisely. Lloyd don't pay them no mind. He's too busy thinking about how he can improve his technique even more. Albert seems like he might know something, but he don't say shit and just tells Lloyd he can chill while he takes a break. Lloyd couldn't be happier cause he's got a ton of things he wants to try. First on his list is giving that dual incantation Grimoire did a shot, but Grimoire freaks out and tells him it's impossible cause that's a demon's skill, being able to have extra mouths. Lloyd thinks he's got a solution though. He surprises himself when his idea actually works, but Grimoire is straight up shocked and points out that only a crazy headless would try incorporating a demon into their own body. Well, that's exactly what Lloyd did, so he tells Grimoire to cast an infernal fireball. Grimoire acts all cocky, saying it's a cakewalk for a demon of his caliber, but he freaks out when shit don't go as planned. Grimoire is terrified and wonders what the hell Lloyd did. Lloyd explains it was just a spell stack, a technique to condense incantations. By reciting multiple incantations at once, Lloyd can cast a spell way faster. Lloyd took that shit to the next level, casually saying he was reciting like 100 spells in each line of the incantation. Grimoire's straight up stunned by how chill Lloyd's acting, and he points out that even as a badass demon, he can only stack 2 or 3 lines at a time. Lloyd moves on to his next test and discovers he can now talk out of both mouths. Grimoire freaks out, thinking Lloyd's about to recite 2 advanced spells simultaneously. But Lloyd shuts him up. A freaking huge power starts flowing through him as he uses the Infernal Fireball and Waterball spell. Grimoire's panic hits an all-time high as he realizes Lloyd's mixing 2 insanely advanced spells. The mana's getting crazy intense, and Lloyd's pumped as hell to see what kind of power this dual incantation brings. Lloyd figures he can't release all that power on the ground, so he just sends it skyward. Even then, it's a display of power that can be seen from miles away. In the castle, some servants wish Albert wouldn't hang out with Lloyd because they think he's just a kid who sucks at magic. Albert shuts them down, saying they're blind. He spills that Lloyd intentionally grazed all the targets the same way. So Albert calls Lloyd a freaking genius. Albert predicts Lloyd could even become the Grand Sage and hopes he'll be his ally. The servants are sure they can convince him, but Albert points out he just wants to get along with his little bro. Albert predicts Lloyd probably already knocked down all the targets, but the servants doubt his skills once again. They think the kid couldn't possibly take them down that fast, and one servant wonders why it's so damn dark outside. We find out why when Grimoire's shaking in fear after seeing Lloyd blast a hole through the atmosphere. Lloyd starts panicking cause he don't want nobody finding out, but luckily shit goes back to normal. This whole thing was freaking insane, and the terrified Grimoire once again wonders who the hell Lloyd really is. Next morning, Grimoire's fed up with doing all these maid duties for Lloyd. He calms himself down though, and reminds himself it's his job to make sure Lloyd's living clean and healthy, preparing for when he takes over his body. Later on, the tear in the sky makes it into the newspaper, but nobody knows what the hell caused it. Lloyd might have some serious ADHD cause he's already moving on. He's way more interested in a new story about badass adventurers. They conquered a crazy hard D dungeon with high difficulty, and they came back loaded with precious loot and magical shit. This sounds hella fun to Lloyd, so he decides to hit up a dungeon. Grimoire points out that if anyone finds out Lloyd's gone, it'll cause a mass freakout, but Lloyd spills that he's got a solution. Grimoire is confused as hell when Lloyd pulls out an acorn, but his confusion turns into amazement when Lloyd uses it to create a wooden copy of himself. And this ain't no basic copy, it's got nerves and shit. So it not only looks like him, but can also move on its own. But that's still not enough. Lloyd explains he would have done this shit earlier if he knew it would work. Unfortunately, the real problem is Silpha. We flash back to show how obsessed she is with Lloyd, even noticing when he grew 1/4 of a millimeter taller. This dumb dance dummy he just made won't fool her, but Lloyd's got a new plan for that too. He steps outside, and we see he left Grimoire in charge of the copy while still being able to talk to him through his hand. The maids think it's the cutest thing, but Grimoire's thinking about how crazy Lloyd is. Lloyd transferred Grimoire's soul into the copy and put his soulless body into his hand. He leaves the rest to Grimoire, and Grimoire is digging how real the copy feels. But then he realizes Lloyd ain't there to stop him, and he starts getting some wicked ideas in his head. Just then, Lloyd tells him how much he loves having Grimoire as his familiar, and it brings tears to Grimoire's eyes. Lloyd's wondering if something's wrong, but Grimoire just tells him to hurry up and finish with the dungeon. Lloyd realizes he don't know where to find a dungeon, and Grimoire notices there seems to be a brawl going down nearby. Turns out, the seemingly helpless girl turns the tables on her attackers and straight up annihilates them. She shows off her insane fighting skills, and Grimoire points out she must be some kind of martial artist. Lloyd's read about the breathing technique she's using. It lets a person channel this energy called Kai into their body, giving them crazy strength. Somehow, the girl spots them, but Lloyd's cool with it because he wants to learn more about her technique. Now Lloyd's freaking out because Grimoire points out that Tao might recognize him as the 7th prince. He stays quiet, and that makes Tao think he's an enemy, so she starts coming at them. Lucky for Lloyd, he manages to change his appearance just in time and introduces himself as Alberto. Lloyd used some spell that lets him transform into someone he's seen before. He mixed his look with Albert's using a new dual incantation, creating a whole new style. The girl Tao introduces herself, and Lloyd's worried she might suspect something since she ain't turning around. Turns out Tao's actually panicking cause she thinks Alberto is very hot. Tao's spent her whole damn 18 years training. She finally escaped the dojo and became an adventurer looking for romance. But damn, it ain't worked out because most dudes prefer weak-ass priestesses. But now she's finally got her chance and vows to make Alberto her boyfriend. She seems busy as hell, so Lloyd decides not to ask her to clear a dungeon with him. But she's all over that opportunity. Once they're in the dungeon, Tao's all eager to show off her fighting skills. But our boy Lloyd's too busy obsessing about some glowing rocks. Tao's impressed by how much Lloyd knows about her breathing technique, and she explains that learning about Kai starts and ends with breathing. Proper breathing fills your whole damn body with Kai, letting you unleash superhuman strength. Problem is, it takes a ton of training just to start feeling the Kai in your body. That's why Tao suggests Alberto focuses on finding the key to her heart instead. But Lloyd straight up ignores that cheesy joke and shocks Tao when he pulls off the breathing technique. He explains he just copied her, but she warns him that if he ain't used to it, his lungs will feel like they're on fire. But Lloyd's still as crazy as ever and keeps doing the technique. He surprises himself when he starts feeling that energy inside him and gets all pumped cause he realizes he can use that power for sorcery. Tao decides she'll help him learn about Kai and tells him not to stop the breathing technique till they leave the dungeon. Back at home, Grimoire thinks Lloyd's insane cause he's got such a cushy life, but Lloyd don't give a damn. All he cares about is learning more about sorcery. Things are going smooth for Grimoire, but he flips out when Sylpha shows up. Meanwhile in the dungeon, Tao shows Alberto a Kai blast and uses it to take down the boss. They score a chest, but Tao explains that a dungeon that ain't grown much ain't gonna have any good loot. As they check out the chest, Tao's amazed to see Alberto's already learned the Kai breathing technique in such a short time. Tao realizes she hit the jackpot cause if she can get Alberto into a student-teacher thing, her caretaker won't have no choice but to accept him as her fiancé. Tao goes to open the chest, but Lloyd's gotta save her cause she triggers a deadly trap. A lich pops out of the chest, and Lloyd wonders if this is the real boss of the dungeon. Tao's straight up scared of the lich, but when Alberto asks about the monster, she fronting like everything chill and tells him he better bounce from the dungeon without her. He protests, saying he wanna stay and peep the battle, but without saying shit, Tao gets up close to him and lands a strike that sends his ass flying out of the boss room. It doesn't make sense for the lich to be hiding in a low-level dungeon like this, because they so damn powerful even a rank adventurers struggle with them. She might not be able to win, but she at least wants to buy enough time for Alberto to escape. Meanwhile, Alberto flying back through the tunnel after Tao's hit, but he feeling disappointed because he wanted to learn more about Kai from her. He throws up a magic barrier to stop himself from flying back, but even if Tao wanted him to leave so bad, she could have at least given him a damn map or something because Alberto completely lost. He tries hitting up Grimoire, but he getting no response except for a message begging him to get his ass home soon because he in trouble. On the other hand, Tao still going at it with the lich, and she holding her own, but with the beating she taking, she bound to lose sooner or later. She don't want to die, but she finds comfort in the fact that she helped Alberto escape. Then she starts slowly backing away, trying to see if she can make her own escape. But as she doing that, the lich starts talking. It recognizes the martial arts she using and says it has eaten someone with a similar technique before. But after getting that person's knowledge, it realized Kai ain't nothing but a weak-ass version of magic. So it doesn't see no point in eating Tao to learn about it. But Alberto, on the other hand, got the lich's attention, and it would love to take a bite out of him. This ain't the first time Tao heard someone dissing her Kai martial arts. Most people on this continent think it useless as hell, but when Alberto saw it, he actually thought it was impressive. And that made her happy. The lich don't get why she telling him all this or why she think he give a damn, but Tao done talking. She take a deep breath and straight up charges at the lich with all the strength she got. Even though the lich throwing up a barrier, she doesn't stop pounding away. She been training her body and using Kai her whole damn life, sacrificing her precious time and never getting the chance to have a boyfriend. So she ain't letting the lich disrespect the technique. She unleashes a full power Kai blast point blank, breaking through the lich's barrier and sending it flying into a damn wall. Unfortunately, using all that Kai left her body straight up exhausted. She can barely move now, but the lich ain't defeated by her attack. and finding it kinda pathetic for an ultimate attack. All the Kai she gathered in her body don't even compare to a single finger's worth of his magic. So he telling her she about to die now. The Lich brings down a magic slash, but instead of straight up killing, the slash cracks and falls apart because Alberto's back and throwing up a barrier. He says if Tao done fighting already, he wanna take a swing at it, but he gotta dip home soon, so he gotta make it quick. Tao hella surprised to see him back here again, and she even more shocked when she peeped the crazy look in his eye. So she just sitting there silent, the Lich starting to cast a spell, so Alberto doing the same and straight up disappearing from view, zooming along the walls and popping up behind the Lich. He taking a deep breath, using the technique Tao taught him, but his body still ain't used to it, so he end up breaking a few ribs in the process. The Lich casting another attack spell, but Alberto still needing more time to think. So he throw up a barrier to block the Lich's hits and starts reflecting deep on what he gotta do to master his new technique. The Lich can't even believe someone can create a barrier so damn strong that it deflecting all his attacks. But Alberto ain't even thinking about the barrier. Instead, he trying to figure out how to combine both Kai and mana. He remembers something Tao said about focus being hella important, so he resolves to focus more on his breathing. He sucked in air into his lungs while at the same time casting a full sprint air spell to refine their combination. Because he start moving, the Lich start getting hella cocky and think Alberto running away because he can't win. So he throws more attacks his way. Meanwhile, Alberto still trying to take deeper breaths, but the damn barrier getting in the way, so he gotta get rid of it. The Lich once again misreading the situation and thinking his attacks finally broke through the barrier. So now he thinking he's stronger than Alberto. Alberto grabbing onto a stalactite and finally getting enough airflow to properly merge his mana and Kai. So after hopping around and breathing like crazy, he finally able to mix them up and find a balance. With this fresh technique he countering the Lich's magic slashes, even though he weaker than he'd prefer. To make up for the weakness, he making the energy thinner and stronger so it can reach the Lich. The Lich casting more attack spells to try and block Alberto's hits. But as time pass, Alberto's attacks getting stronger and more plentiful, and he ain't even casting a damn spell for them. So that mean his attacks all Kai based. The Lich can't even believe he getting overwhelmed by a technique as basic as Kai, but Alberto keeps piling it on non-stop. He keeps making the slashes thinner and sharper till he finally perfect the technique. The Lich see what's coming and give up on attacking. So he throw up a barrier and try to tank the hit, but with his perfected technique, Alberto cut right through the Lich, his barrier, and the whole damn cave they in. After that, Tao is even more head over heels for him than before. So as they get ready to dip, they check the chest to see what the hell they went through all this trouble for, only to find a beat up old dagger. That shit doesn't seem worth a damn, but Alberto thinks he might be able to do something with it. Once they snatch the treasure, the chest starts sinking into the ground. Alberto be all confused, but Tao tells him it's all chill because that's just how it goes down. The dungeon falls apart once the treasure is taken. So Alberto figures it's some survival mechanism or some shit, like the chest be the core of the dungeon or something. He straight up tries to grab it out of the ground because it looks interesting, but the whole damn dungeon be collapsing around them. So once he snags the chest, they bounce. Outside, Tao said she was surprised that Alberto used Kai to fight to the end instead of magic since he's a mage, so she was wondering if he wanted to prove that Kai was a viable technique. But that wasn't it. He just thought it would be a fun experiment. Right then, it hits him that he needs to haul ass home because Grimoire's in deep shit. So he gets ready to jet. Before he bounces, Tao reflects on what went down and knows Alberto figured out that Kai blade technique on his own in no time. She gotta step up her game to keep his attention and hopefully make him her man. Alberto agrees, but as Alberto's flying off, Tao realizes she never got his contact info, so it's probably a wrap on seeing him again. Alberto cancels the illusion spell and goes back to being Lloyd. After a quick flight cross-country, he returns to the castle and starts looking for Grimoire to make sure he's good. But damn, he's messed up. Since Sylpha caught him, he's been forced into sword training, but since he's all about magic, his sword skills be straight up garbage. Sylpha thought Lloyd was getting soft, so she cranked up the intensity of the training. Later, once Grimoire's mentally back on track, Lloyd shows him the knife he scored from the dungeon, and Grimoire can't believe he had to go through Sylpha's ass whooping for some dumbass knife. Lloyd apologizes again, but tells him this knife might actually be worth something because it's special. He dips it in hot water and starts scraping away, peeling the magic right off that shit. Turns out the knife's been treated with magical essence, the same stuff they use to amp up weapons with enchantments. In the case of the knife, the enchantment on it was called Boost Power. After peeling off all the enchantment stickers, Lloyd tosses them in a beaker and shakes that shit up. Getting rid of all the old enchantments, Lloyd's try dive into enchantments. But the problem is he ain't got much mana essence to work with, and that stuff's rare as hell. He don't want to waste it by trial and error, so he got a better plan. Instead of just using the mana essence he got, he's gonna analyze that shit with magic and learn how to make his own. He busts out a purification spell that breaks down objects to their basic elements. And with that, he figures out that the mana essence is made of oil, silver, and something called hematite. But even hematite ain't easy to get because you gotta crush monster cores. But Lloyd got that covered because he snagged one from the dungeon. So now he can make his own hematite. All he needs now is oil, silver, and a bunch of weapons to test out the enchantments. Lloyd rolls up to his pops and asks for some cash. The king straight up pulls out a bag of silver coins and hands them over because he loves his boy. He's kinda confused about why Lloyd wants silver instead of gold, but he doesn't ask no questions. He wonders how Lloyd's gonna spend that allowance, and we get a glimpse of his plan as he starts melting them coins down with grimoire. Later on, Lloyd's throwing down with Silpha again, and he's pulling out some new tricks to try and get the upper hand. He even busts out full sprint, but Silpha's still keeping up with his moves. So he takes it up a notch and uses magic to make the ground all jacked up, trying to catch her off guard. But when he goes in for the attack, Silpha straight up disappears, but he is unaware that she is simply hiding inside the dirt construct he made, so he gets wrecked. Silpha takes the win, but she still gives Lloyd the oil he wanted, even though the deal was he had to land a hit on her to get it. She says it is fine since she is just relieved that his poor performance the last time they fought was just a fluke. Lloyd's grateful and promises to show her what he makes once he's done, but Silpha thinks he's talking about cooking something. They head back to his experiment room, and Lloyd and Grim mix the oil with the other ingredients, making that sweet mana essence. Now all they need is a bunch of weapons to test those enchantments on. So Lloyd went to Albert to ask for his help in acquiring some. Since Albert's got a crew of loyal knights under his command, Lloyd's hoping he can convince them to let him enchant their weapons. And since Albert told them to do it, all the knights immediately handed over their swords to him. But deep down, they ain't too confident in Lloyd's skills, so they silently weep over their lost swords. Grimoire's pissed cause the knights think Lloyd's gonna screw it up, so he's even more determined to nail it on the first try. Lloyd gets to work on the first sword, going all out and filling every damn inch with enchantments. But damn, turns out regular steel can't handle that much power, because the sword straight up shatters to pieces. He keeps trying, and the swords keep breaking, but eventually, he manages to get some of them to work, and the next morning, Lloyd rolls up to Albert, showing off his accomplishment. Albert's jaw drops when he sees that out of 120 swords, Lloyd actually pulled off enchantments on 50 of them. Even he thought Lloyd was gonna wreck them all, but as he inspects them, he's straight up amazed by what he sees. The best enchanters only had about a 10% success rate, so for Lloyd to hit 40% is freaking outstanding. One of the guards didn't believe Lloyd actually accomplished what he claimed, but when he tries to sheath his sword, that thing's too damn sharp because of Lloyd's enchantments. Albert's checking out one of Lloyd's dopest swords when Lloyd rolls up and asks if he can see them in action. So Albert invited him out to join him for a monster hunt he had to go on. Not long after we see Lloyd rolling with Albert. And of course, Lloyd's got Grim by his side. They reach the forest where their monster hunt's going down. But the damn monster ain't in the woods, it's chilling by a nearby lake. Lloyd's pumped as hell because he rarely gets to leave the castle, and he's dying to see his enchanted swords in action. Albert points out how Silpha's always sticking by Lloyd's side, and she thanks him for letting her come along. Albert teases her, hinting that her feelings for Lloyd might be on overdrive. But Silpha shuts him up quick with a threat. Just then, they get surrounded by a bunch of kobolds, but the soldiers see it as a warm-up for the monster. Lloyd acts scared, but Grim knows damn well that Lloyd sensed the danger a while ago. Tao taught him a technique called spectral detection. By focusing on his breathing, Lloyd can now sense his surroundings all the damn time. Grim watches his master and thinks about how Lloyd always keeps spectral detection and his barrier active. Ain't no surprise gonna catch him off guard. Grim says Lloyd gets even scarier with each passing day. The fight kicks off, and everyone's blown away by how damn sharp those swords are. They ain't just slicing through monsters, they're cutting through steel like it's butter. The soldiers are freaking out like kids holding a knife for the first time. So Lloyd figures his enchantments worked like a charm. Albert agrees, telling everyone that his lil bro's an enchanting prodigy. Silpha agrees too as she stands over a pile of monster corpses. But Lloyd points out that he ain't even enchanted her sword. Just then, a kobold tries to attack Lloyd, but Tao appears out of nowhere and takes it out. Lloyd almost screws up by calling out to her like he's still Alberto, but he catches himself just in time. Tao notices that Lloyd's using key breathing techniques, but she came because she thought she sensed Alberto. On closer inspection, she also sees a hell of a lot of resemblance between Alberto and Lloyd. Just then, Silpha smashes another monster. She gives props to Tao for her help, but warns her not to get too forward with Prince Lloyd. Tao points out that she sensed that monster coming, and Kai techniques ain't nothing to underestimate. Tensions start rising between them, but Albert steps in to calm them down and invites Tao to roll with them. That night, Tao's mind gets blown when she finds out Albert's a freaking prince. She notices the resemblance between Albert and Alberto, but not as much as Lloyd, who she's looking for now. Lloyd hides nearby and realizes that Tao's mad skilled with Kai, which makes her hella sensitive to it. He was using spectral detection, and that's probably how she found him. Lloyd decides to dip into his tent, but for some reason, Silpha's up and they're changing. Lloyd says that he don't need her watching over him, but Silpha ain't having it because she ain't feeling how Tao's all up on him. Tao barges in, and Silpha straight up calls her an idiot, while Tao fires back calling Silpha a pervy maid. The two start going at it, so Lloyd takes this chance to bounce. Albert calls Lloyd a lady killer and points out how much Silpha's changed since she started taking care of Lloyd. She sees his maturity, but Albert warns that dealing with women can get real complicated. Right then, the girls peep that the soldiers are watching them too damn close. They knock them all out, and now Lloyd hears Albert's message loud and clear. Tao explains she got hired to clean up some old shrine. Silpha tells her to hurry it up. They almost start arguing again, but Albert cuts in, saying that Tao's danger-sensing skills are mad helpful. He wants her to keep an eye out overnight, but she said they wouldn't need one, as the monster has arrived. The monster is a freaking bearwolf, so Silpha tells Lloyd to stick close to her. The beast starts attacking, and Lloyd notices how fast bearwolves move for their size. Lloyd tries talking to Grim, but the lil dude's all distracted because he seems to recognize the shrine. Tao manages to save some soldiers, but this monster's no joke. Albert's done playing, so he pulls out his sword. He apologizes to the wolf, but explains how the local villagers are suffering because of it. Albert swings his sword while reciting some incantation and unleashes a crazy powerful attack that straight up obliterates the monster. Everyone's shocked because he took it out in one shot, but Albert said normally he wouldn't done that, thanks to Lloyd enchanting his sword. Lloyd's enchantment on my spellbound sword made it possible. Lloyd thinks about how he added a lil extra to Albert's sword, but Grim ain't even paying attention. He's super worried and spills about a demon sealed up in a nearby shrine. Then out of nowhere, everyone's freaking shocked because that damn bearwolf is somehow still moving. And to top it off, more monsters pop out of thin air, and this voice starts talking to our crew. This voice is pissed because they messed up one of his lackeys. The voice turns out to be this demon called Pazuzu, who's chilling inside the damn bearwolf. He straight up introduces himself and vows that they're gonna pay with their lives. Then he sends his minions to attack. Slicing them up ain't a problem, but the issue is they heal up in an instant. Tao comes in clutch and saves Albert, and he figures out that the demon's the one pulling the strings on all these minions. Lloyd wonders if this demon is buddies with Grim, but it's not. Grim explains that Pazuzu can manipulate his mana to control the monsters. He makes them think he's their boss, but in reality, his mana acts like puppet strings. He can even feed them more mana through the strings, which is why they can regenerate. Grim gets serious and straight up warns that things gonna get real ugly if they don't take Pazuzu down. But Lloyd doesn't really give a damn. He just wants Grim to teach him mana manipulation. Silpha's getting impatient and wishes Tao would do something, but Tao fires back saying Silpha ain't doing jack either. Grim tells Lloyd that now ain't the time to be learning stuff because the others are fighting for their lives. But Lloyd's sure they'll be fine though, and insists that Grim teach him. As Pazuzu watches the brawl, he points out that while some of his opponents got skills, most of them are only surviving because of their weapons. Then he starts dissing Lloyd, saying he ran away like a scared little baby. Sylpha ain't having none of that and gets real pissed. So Pazuzu tells her it must be a real pain in the ass for her to take care of a useless piece of flesh like Lloyd. That pushes Sylpha over the edge, and Tao is scared shitless when she sees her. Sylpha excuses herself from Lloyd's side, but he doesn't give a damn because he's still busy learning shit. Pazuzu keeps trash talking, but Sylpha fires back. She says all the minions smell like shit, and Pazuzu's breath is even worse. She's decided that Pazuzu's messing with Lloyd's fresh air, so she's gotta end his sorry ass. Sylpha casually draws her sword, but Pazuzu explains they ain't got a chance in hell of leaving alive. He keeps feeding the minions mana, so they gonna keep regenerating endlessly. Demon's got an unlimited supply of mana, so he ain't running out either. Pazuzu thinks he made Sylpha cry, but she straight up tells him it's his damn breath. Right then, Albert starts getting worried when the demon goes after her, but she's more than fine because she chops off all the monster's feet. She suggests he ditch the furball he's controlling and warns him that he'll lose even faster if he doesn't. Out of nowhere, everyone peeps that them minions ain't moving no more, and their regenerations slowed the hell down. That's because the demon's all focused on regenerating its own werewolf. That's their chance to win whenever the demon does that shit. So Albert tells Sylpha to keep laying the hurt on him. She gets ready to do her thing, but Pazuzu thinks they are foolish. Nearby, Grim finishes teaching Lloyd. He breaks it down that Pazuzu gotta be a real pro at mana transmutation because that shit ain't easy, even for a powerful demon. Grim tries to show him how to control mana, starting with adding color to it. Then comes shaping and adding sense. Even Grim struggles with it. But he's straight up shocked when Lloyd reveals he already shaped his mana into a flower and added a scent. Grim can't believe he did it so damn perfectly, and they both take a sec to enjoy the smell. Meanwhile, Pazuzu's in a world of hurt because Sylpha's giving him a serious ass whooping. He can't figure out how she ain't giving him no openings, and he wonders how someone like her could just be a damn babysitter. Sylpha grabs one of the soldier swords and admires it because it was enchanted by Lloyd. Her obsession with Lloyd got Pazuzu interested in him, so he straight up says he wants to dissect him. The demon shows off his mad speed, but he keeps insulting Lloyd, which just makes Sylpha even more pissed. The freaking demon devours her and straight up disses her for being a dumbass human who fell for his mind games. But damn, he's totally shocked when Sylpha is still kicking it, and she straight up slices that wolf bear's body right down the middle. She announces that it's her family's dual blade art and follows it up with another move called Diving Sparrow. She slices that monster's head clean off, and Pazuzu tries to front saying she's just a maid. But damn, that ain't true at all. So Sylpha uses another move to straight up destroy that wolf and expose the demon. Everyone's straight up stunned by her power, and Lloyd realizes that this is what Sylpha looks like when she gets serious. He admires her and remembers this moment by shaping his mana into her. Sylpha's disgusted by the thought of that demon trying to hurt Lloyd, so she straight up says the only thing he's fit to touch is her damn blade. Sylpha tells the demon it's time to make peace, but damn, she's straight up shocked when he starts pulling some moves. The rest of the crew finishes off the minions, but Albert knows this ain't the end. They gotta back up Sylpha, no doubt. And just like that, everybody collapses from the demon's messed up stench, including Sylpha. Pazuzu is all furious because he's been building those puppets for over a freaking century. He blames Sylpha for screwing up his plan, and his attack sends her flying into the river. Albert wants to help her, but he's losing strength real fast. Pazuzu spills that it's his miasma of domination, and anyone who breathes that crap falls right into his clutches. Sylpha points out that's why it smells so damn bad, and Pazuzu gets even angrier because she won't stop with the insults. He tries to attack Sylpha, but Tao steps in and blocks it. Sylpha tries to tell her she's fine, but it's clear she ain't. She tries to stay brave and tells Tao to run, but she's too messed up and collapses. Pazuzu is actually impressed as hell by Sylpha. She took in more of his miasma than anyone else and still defied him like a boss. Even the monsters he controlled fell under his power in less than 30 seconds. But what really gets him intrigued is how Tao ain't under his control. Tao pushes him back, but she ends up getting captured. Pazuzu thinks she's using some kind of breathing technique to withstand his miasma. He's right, but things go south for Tao when her breathing gets messed up. Pazuzu points out she could have just run away, but this weirdo thinks she stayed because she wanted to be his minion. Tao pushes the demon away again and says she's waiting for a hottie. She's done messing around, so this time she unleashes an insanely powerful attack. She realizes she got a bit too fired up and used a big ass move. Tao tries to focus on steadying her breathing before the demon strikes back, but she's got even worse problems because she gets attacked by one of the puppets. She's shocked those suckers already regenerated, and the demon wonders who the hell this hottie is she's talking about. Pazuzu's done with all the talking and busts out his maximum domination miasma. He figures Tao's gotta be under his control now, but Tao just realizes something. That hottie she's been talking about? He's a lot closer than she thought. She can still sense him through all of Pazuzu's miasma, and it's giving her some freaking hope. Pazuzu still ain't got a clue about who Tao's talking about, so she straight up spills that the hottest dude is coming to wreck him. But damn, her time's up, and the puppet monster straight up swallows her. Pazuzu then shifts his focus to Sylpha because he thinks she'll make a sick addition to his minions. He knows it won't be easy to control her, but her strength makes it worth it. Pazuzu plans to unleash a shit ton of miasma on her, and Lloyd figures out that's how he controlled the bear wolves. Pazuzu's all smug, bragging about how he offed their parents and replaced them in the pups' minds with his miasma. He's all patting himself on the back, saying no one can defy his domination. Lloyd stays cool and says that Pazuzu's a total piece of shit. Pazuzu's shocked when he finally realizes that Lloyd's somehow moving around in his miasma. He demands to know how the hell that's possible, but Lloyd ain't got a clue. Pazuzu's even more mind blown by the fact that Grimm's a demon. He can't wrap his head around why a demon would be protecting a human, and he starts dissing Grimm for looking cute. Pazuzu calls him a disgrace to demon kind, but Grimm still tries to give Pazuzu some advice as a fellow demon. Grimm stops himself because all the insults just make him want to see Pazuzu get ripped to shreds. Pazuzu sends his freaky ass demons to attack, but Lloyd's just pumped to test out his new transmutation power. There's a whole bunch of monsters though, so Grimm tells Lloyd he'll have to use up a good chunk of his mana. Lloyd figures out the right amount and Grimm's blown away because he's always had trouble adjusting his own mana output. Lloyd envisions something gentle and warm, so Pazuzu's shocked as hell when Lloyd effortlessly strips away his control over the bear wolves. Grimm calls them all weaklings, but Lloyd points out that even he might have been influenced by his mana. Lloyd has one of the bear wolves spit out Tao, and he's stoked to see she's okay. Pazuzu's still in disbelief because Lloyd just turned all his mana into a field of flowers in an instant, and he assumes Lloyd must be one hell of a badass sorcerer. Pazuzu's trying to control his minions again, but Grimm points out it's too late. The bear wolves already remembered their pride as monsters, and that Pazuzu took out their parents. The angry bear wolves go all out on Pazuzu, and Lloyd's mind is blown seeing how they attack as a pack. They're extremely powerful that way, and puppets can't even come close to pulling off that kind of attack. Pazuzu wants to show he's still a badass demon, so he punishes the bear wolves for going at him. He doesn't give a damn about taking out their parents, and he insults them by calling them mangy mutts. Pazuzu's hella upset now and says this is what happens when someone defies him. He explains it doesn't matter what spells Lloyd tries, they ain't gonna do shit against a demon. Lloyd remembers Grimm said the same thing, demons can't be taken out with magic, so Grimm explains it ain't never happened before. Then Pazuzu declares he gonna show them his true power, now that he ain't feeding the minions mana. Lloyd ain't even listening because he's just fascinated by why magic can eliminate demons. He figures demons must be mad tough to completely wipe out, but that just gets this crazy kid even more excited to find out what it gonna take. Pazuzu straight up freaks when he sees the dark power coming from Lloyd's body, and Grimm points out that's why Pazuzu's mana ain't ever affected Lloyd. One day Lloyd decided to hide his power to avoid attracting unwanted attention, and keeping it held back all the time is a whole lot of work. Grimm explains to Pazuzu that his mana ain't ever gonna be enough to even come close to touching Lloyd. Pazuzu and Grimm might both be demons, but there ain't a damn thing they can do with their mana that even compares to Lloyd's power. Lloyd, being his usual psycho self, is stoked because now he got a demon to test out all the spells he'd been wanting to try. Supposedly demons can't be eliminated by magic, so Lloyd can go all out without holding back. Pazuzu's shaking in fear, trying to figure out how the hell Lloyd got so much freaking mana. He wonders if he's stuck in some messed up nightmare, and he's straight up shocked when Lloyd tries to trap him in a barrier. It gets hella scary for Pazuzu when he realizes this ain't even a fight for Lloyd, he's just treating him like a damn lab rat, trying to lock him up. Pazuzu tries to bolt, and Grimm doesn't blame him because he'd do the same damn thing. Lloyd's having a lot of fun unleashing a fraction of his power, but Pazuzu's running for his life, dodging the barriers Lloyd's throwing up. Pazuzu's barely surviving, so he begs Lloyd to cut it out. Grimm watches in awe, wondering how many spells this dude can cast at once. Lloyd says he can do about 20 on his own, but when he teams up with Grimm, they can unleash even more. Life gets way harder for Pazuzu as he's gotta dodge even more barriers, and he's wondering how the hell Lloyd's chanting so damn fast. Pazuzu gives himself a pat on the back for dodging so much, but that's short-lived because Lloyd busts out a spatial spell called Dimensional Enclosure. Lloyd points out he's got him now, so Pazuzu starts begging the Psycho Sorcerer to let him go. Lloyd ain't having it and points out that Pazuzu's done some messed up shit to the bear wolves. Not only did he off their parents, but it's clear he did all sorts of chimera experiments on them. Pazuzu demands to be set free, claiming he's the demon destined to rule the whole damn world. But that doesn't fly, so Pazuzu tries to suck up to Lloyd, saying he'll boost his status when he takes over. That doesn't work either, so he begs Lloyd to chill out. He's never been hit with magic from someone as powerful as Lloyd, so he's scared he might actually kick the bucket. Lloyd stopped listening to this dude ages ago, because now he's just spouting off some crazy incantation. Pazuzu keeps begging for his life, but it's too late because the magic's already going down. Lloyd figures he's activating about 240 spells per minute right now. Lloyd's amazed at how damn beautiful it looks, so he decides to keep it up for another 30 freaking minutes. But not even 5 minutes later, Lloyd's getting worried that the demon might already be 6 feet under. Grimm's breaking it down, saying sorcery messes with demons like how annoying sounds and lights mess with humans. But damn, Lloyd went all out with his magic on Pazuzu, and that messed him up big time. Pazuzu's falling apart now, reflecting on how he spent a whole century raising those monsters. He was supposed to be the ruler of the world, but some kid who wanted to run an experiment on him shut it all down. Lloyd couldn't care less, which just adds insult to Pazuzu's injury. And then out of nowhere, Lloyd's shocked to see everyone already waking up. He can't let anyone find out about his insane power, so he bounces to think of an excuse. Grimm tells Pazuzu that he's figured out people don't want leaders who whine about their struggles. They'd rather have a good time with someone who's living it up. Lloyd's always doing what he wants when he wants. That's probably why people keep flocking to him. Grimm remembers to keep his tough guy act, explaining he ain't like those who follow Lloyd. He's just building his strength to get revenge on Lloyd someday. So Pazuzu decides to trust Grimm with his world domination ambitions. Grimm's down for it and stoked to see Pazuzu's mana helping him recover a bit. Lloyd comes up with an excuse and tells everyone some dude named Alberto showed up to beat the demon and saved their sorry asses. Tao overhears this and wonders where the hell Alberto is. Sometime later, the whole damn town throws a party, celebrating the return of the victorious Prince Albert. They think Lloyd's a cute kid, but he doesn't compare to the great Albert, and this just makes Silpha pissed off. Inside the palace, the king is pleased with Albert and wonders where the two adventurers who helped them are. Albert explains that Alberto was never even seen. But let's take a look back at Tao. She got suspicious when she realized she was rocking Lloyd's poncho. So Lloyd just tricked her into leaving, saying Alberto was hanging nearby. The king's hella interested in this Alberto person. But Albert shocks everyone by saying Lloyd did the most in the hunt. They only survived because of Lloyd's badass enchanted weapons, so Albert thinks Lloyd should be part of the royal succession. Everyone in the room can't even believe it, but Albert thinks Lloyd would be a damn perfect fit for the throne. The king says it'll just create another rival for Albert if Lloyd gets into the competition. But Albert thinks the throne should go to whoever's most deserving, even if it ain't him. He questions any decision that excludes Lloyd just because he's young. Albert makes it clear, though, that he does not intend to be outshined. The king's hyped as hell about this turn of events and asks Lloyd if he's down for the competition. He wants to know if Lloyd gonna roll with his brothers in the quest for the throne. Everyone's in awe of this epic moment, but Lloyd just declines it calmly. Outside, the little dweeb runs around like a kid and explains that one of the bear wolves followed them home. Lloyd thinks it's hella cute and fluffy, and that makes Grimm jealous because he ain't getting the same reaction. Grimm puffs himself up and casually jumps into the conversation. Silpha shows up to see how much the bear wolf digs Lloyd, and Lloyd hides Grimm in its fur. He even gave it a name Shiro, and wants to teach it a bunch of stuff. Silpha explains that handling complex commands is usually the turf of monster tamers, so Lloyd starts thinking about using his mana to control the monsters just like they do. Grimm's straight up amazed by Lloyd because he turned down the throne offer like it was no big deal. Lloyd always just crazy about magic, and he is a true magic maniac. The king peeps from nearby and thinks Lloyd said no because he's so humble. But Albert ain't buying that. He believes being a king is too small a role for Lloyd. The king agrees and can't wait to see what Lloyd's future holds. Later on we find out that Lloyd's been teaching his wolf some basic commands. Shiro picks them up real quick, but the more complex commands are a bit tougher. Lloyd tries writing a command spell into his mana, but it just confuses the poor animal. They decide to seek help from a monster expert and head over to Princess Ali's in her garden tower. Grimm's mind gets blown seeing all those monsters there, and Lloyd explains that Ali's is his sister, the 6th princess of Saloon. She's a total animal lover, and I ain't just talking about cats and dogs, she's into all animals, even monsters. Just then Ali's shows up and starts showering Lloyd with affection. But it's way too much for him, and he straight up passes out. Her maid Eris scolds her for going overboard, but Ali's can't help herself. Lloyd's impressed when Ali's figures out that Shiro's a bearwolf, but she seems a bit loco, and Silpha starts doubting if she can actually help them. Lloyd's willing to give her a shot though, so he suggests seeing one of her monsters. And damn, he's shocked when she reveals she already called one a lesser class Fenrir named Luru. Grimm's mind gets blown again because that's a higher level bearwolf. Lloyd can't believe this monster slipped past his presence detection. But what's even crazier is that he has no clue when Ali's gave the command. The Fenrir knew to sneak up behind them and even snatched Silpha's headband. Clearly Ali's gave it some complex orders without showing any signs. This gets Lloyd all hyped up, so he practically begs Ali's to teach him how to communicate with Shiro. Ali's confidently explains that it ain't gonna be easy, but Lloyd prefers things when they ain't simple. Ali's agrees to teach him, but she shocks everyone when she says the key to talking to animals is love. She claims that love will help him understand any monster, and she proves it when the animals in her tower start hugging her. Eris thinks it's pointless to learn from Ali's because she's just a natural talent, but Ali's insists that anyone can learn. She gives another demonstration, but this time the animals go all out, overwhelming everyone. Silpha's mind gets blown when she sees that Lloyd's actually interested in love, and she starts imagining him asking her to teach him more. But in reality Lloyd realizes that he's been trying to give orders to Shiro, while his sister ain't giving her animals any commands. Instead, she's sharing her will with them. When she talks to them, Lloyd notices that her mana ain't coming out of her hands, but flowing straight from her head to theirs. This means she can subconsciously connect with animals through mana and show them exactly what she wants. Lloyd decides to ditch the whole orders thing and tries sharing a mental image of his will instead. And damn, everyone's mind gets blown when Shiro actually does the trick Lloyd was trying to teach him. Lloyd celebrates with Shiro, and Eris says he must be hella talented. The technique he used is exactly how monster tamers share their will. Silpha's impressed too, but kinda bummed because it didn't go down the way she expected. Ali's ain't too happy either because it was supposed to be love, not complicated while sharing stuff. But Lloyd explains that love actually plays a major role in the technique. He goes into even more detail, and it just makes everyone fall head over heels for him. Lloyd's stoked because he finally figured out how to connect with monsters, and Silpha said it was time he put that much effort into sword training. Lucky for Lloyd, Albert shows up because he needs to talk to the boy. They argue about who's gonna take Lloyd, and Albert explains he wants to introduce him to someone, Lloyd's older brother, the 4th prince named Diane. Diane heard that Lloyd enchanted Albert's sword, but he shocked him when he said he found that really hard to believe, so he wants to find out if Lloyd's just full of it. Albert gives a little backstory about how Diane studied smithing in Bartram, which is why he's interested in enchanting. But Diane's done with the small talk and says he's got everything ready to test Lloyd's enchanting skills. As Lloyd starts the process, Diane's got major doubts that he'll succeed. Enchantments are already an advanced skill, but Lloyd trying to apply one to a spellbound sword like Albert's is straight up insane. It's way beyond what they could do in Bartram. Diane predicts he's gonna have to teach Lloyd a lesson for lying, but he's absolutely stunned when Lloyd finishes up. Albert ain't blaming Diane for his reaction because even a newbie can tell that Lloyd's technique is totally one of a kind. Diane's left speechless, wondering what kind of spell engraving Lloyd came up with. It's got reinforced strength, reinforced elasticity, self-cleaning, and even self-repair. Diane's skepticism turns into straight-up excitement because he realizes that Lloyd might be able to help him achieve his biggest dream to create the ultimate spellbound sword. Regular enchanted weapons just can't compare to what he's got in mind. Diane wants them to engrave the spell onto the weapon while they forge the steel. That way, they can apply more advanced magic than usual. They'll be able to make a super weapon that only an enchanter and a smith working together can create. Diane spills that he was always super into sorcery when he was growing up, but he had no talent for it. But spellbound swords are freaking awesome because anyone can swing them and they can pull off cool magical type stuff. His goal is to turn their country into a place where everyone can use magic by wielding spellbound swords. Lloyd ain't too concerned about all that, but he's damn interested in the production process. So Lloyd agrees to help, and Diane explains he wants to make a sword that shoots fire when you swing it. Lloyd suggests they use the enchantment called Pelance Insinis for that. The problem is that the casting formula requires 14 parts, but the spellbound sword can only handle a max of 5. Lloyd's solution is to compress that formula down to just 2 parts. He compresses it and gets ready to apply it to the steel that Diane's foregoing. But damn, both of them are shocked when just the application shatters the steel. Lloyd tries to brainstorm some solutions, but the steel keeps breaking on them. Lloyd feels bad because he's wasted so much mana essence, but he can't figure out what the hell's going wrong. Grim peeps something about the mana essence and brings it up to Lloyd. Diane tells him to keep trying because he scored a boatload of cheap mana essence anyway. Lloyd purifies the stuff and finds out it barely has any hematite in it. Enchanting spellbound swords needs a higher concentration of hematite, but this stuff's made from monster cores, and that's some rare shit. Diane ain't got none, so Lloyd realizes he's gotta sneak out and hunt monsters in a dungeon again. Just then, Silpha came up with the idea herself for them to go to a dungeon. Lloyd pointed out a prince like him wasn't allowed, but Silpha explains that the king changed his mind after the whole monster hunt incident. Now he thinks Lloyd should broaden his horizons and see the bigger picture. So they head to the Adventurers Guild to get this journey started. Lloyd's gotta register as an adventurer, and the receptionist Katarina has him fill out some paperwork. Then he's gotta touch a crystal ball that's gonna measure his strength and set his adventure rank. Lloyd's no stranger to crystal balls because he used them back when he ruled at the Magic Academy in his past life. But this is a whole different deal. He's damn sure that if he unleashes his full power, that crystal ball's gonna explode and attract way too much attention. So he focuses real hard on suppressing his mana even more than usual. He keeps shrinking it down to the size of a freaking flea. Finally, when he touches the crystal ball, he gets laughed at because he gets an overall rating of E. Katarina ain't laughing though. She's straight up shocked to see that Lloyd's magic rating is an A. That's on par with a seasoned sorcerer, which disappoints Lloyd because he thought he compressed his mana down to 1%. Katarina declares that Lloyd's the most promising new adventurer since the fricking Silver Blader. But the other adventurers ain't having it. They get all pissed off hearing her compare the two. The legendary Silver Blader wrecked countless dungeons like a freaking demon, but then vanished out of nowhere. They think a legend like her should never be mentioned in the same breath as some E-rank nobody. Silpha explains they want a dungeon quest, but those require at least a single B-ranked adventurer to be in on it. Silpha decides to re-register, but this dude thinks she should roll with him instead. After Silpha schools him a bit, Katarina tells him he hit on the wrong person because Silpha's actually the freaking legendary Silver Blader. Katarina explains that re-registering means dropping 2 ranks down to C, so that ain't gonna work. Right then Tao shows up, ready to lend a hand. Silpha don't even acknowledge her and says they're just gonna head home. But Tao insists on helping and spills that she went through dungeon after dungeon looking for Alberto. She visited them all and got strong enough to be a ranked. Now she offers her help in exchange for a date with Albert. Katarina suggests a dungeon quest, while Silpha takes back Lloyd's cloak. Lloyd's mind is blown by Silpha's legendary past. She explains it happened when she was a little kid. Her most vivid memory is her failed attempt at taking down some deadly foes called the Assassin's Guild. So this trio makes their way through a dungeon, and they stumble upon a chest. Back at the forge, Albert goes to see Diane. Diane spills that it'll take Lloyd a couple more days to bring the materials they need, but Albert's looking worried about how long it's taking. That's when Diane realizes that war is coming their way, so he tells Albert to hold on a bit longer. Once Lloyd's back, they'll be able to mass-produce the spellbound weapons and use them in battle. Albert explains they shouldn't fret about fighting because he brought them all together to be like brothers again. He hopes that one day their weapons will protect the kingdom, so he encourages them to keep trying. Right then, Diane says they should come soon because Lloyd's returned with the monster core. As they forge the sword, Diane's starting to realize that Lloyd's one hell of a kid. Albert's already hip to it because he believes there ain't nothing this kid can't do. And it's proven even more when Diane tests out the spellbound sword they made, and it wreaks havoc with its magic powers. Lloyd realizes he might have gone a bit too crazy with the sword, so he'll have to tone it down in the future. The sword made by the brothers is then named Dillord. That night, Lloyd finally gets some much-needed rest. He realizes Albert's been hella busy, so he wonders if something big's coming. Right then, Lloyd senses something funky in the garden. It's a strange feeling like there's a freaking hole in space. Even Shiro, who's usually on point, hasn't noticed it. Lloyd wonders what the hell it could be, and we see a mysterious figure lurking outside. Now that Lloyd peeped the person, he straight up flies down to the courtyard to greet the sneaky intruder. She realizes she's been busted and tries to bounce quickly, but Lloyd has already thrown up a barrier, so ain't no way she's escaping his clutches now. He wants to have a little chat with the intruder because technically she's trespassing. But then the assassin drops her disguise and reveals herself as a girl with some seriously questionable fashion choices. She apologizes in advance because she didn't want to have to bust out her special move on a kid, but she's got no choice given the situation. Lloyd's head starts feeling all fuzzy, and he's smelling flowers for some damn reason. He figures out he must have been poisoned. He tries using a purification spell right away, but the girl tells him it's useless because nothing can cleanse her poison. And then Lloyd straight up collapses from the poison's effects. Even though he's poisoned and about to kick the bucket, Lloyd's still thinking calmly about how purification can usually neutralize any poison. But if it ain't working now, that means this toxin is some unknown shit. And that also means the girl is changing the nature of her poison with her mana. Some folks are born with different types of mana, and those with extra dangerous attributes are known as the blighted. The girl confirms Lloyd's suspicion that she's a poison blighted from birth, spreading poison wherever she goes. That's why folks call her Ren, the poison moth. Ren walks up to the barrier and weakens it with her poison before busting her way through. Lloyd's impressed she managed to break through a barrier he created. And before she dips, Ren tells Lloyd she only hit him with a little bit of her poison, so he probably won't kick the bucket. But he's gonna suffer like hell for about 3 days. But that ain't her problem, so she bounces. Once she's gone, Lloyd starts talking about how damn impressive her stealth skills were. But Grimm ain't thinking it's a good time to be impressed because Lloyd's still poisoned. However, Lloyd says there's no need to worry because he's actively using the healing breath spell to recover. It might not be strong enough to fully purify the poison, but it's slowly getting rid of it. So his body ain't feeling the effects no more. If that's the deal and Lloyd could have been moving this whole time, Grimm asks why the hell he didn't go after Ren when she was hauling ass, but Lloyd thought it would be smarter to let her bounce and eventually lead him to her hideout. Lloyd heard about the Assassin's Guild from Silpha, and she mentioned how there are 6 members with mad high bounties on their heads. And what Lloyd's most stoked about is the fact that they all got some special abilities in their blood. He can't wait to peep what they're all about. He uses his mana to track Ren and sees that she's currently dashing through the city. But Grimm wonders how the hell Lloyd can even find her when she's basically invisible. Lloyd explains that Ren probably hides herself by tearing a hole in space to erase any trace of her presence. But once you realize that, you just gotta look for the spots where you can't sense a damn thing. Lloyd takes Grimm with him to chase after Ren. Meanwhile, in the Assassin's Guild, Ren's filling the other members in on what went down at the castle. But this one dude can't wrap his head around why she didn't try to off him once he caught her. Ren didn't want to kill a kid for no good reason, and besides she managed to get all the info she needed about the castle's mass production of spellbound swords. They knew some war signs might be on the horizon. The dude cuts Ren off and tells her to quit acting like their leader Jade because he's long gone now. Ren ain't trying to accept it because she still believes Jade's gonna come back one day. But their argument gets interrupted by another member who tells them to cut the crap because they got bigger problems. Somebody's watching them. Lloyd realizes he's been busted, so he cancels his concealment spell and slowly floats down to the ground. The assassins are all shocked to see that the 7th prince is the one spying on them. There's talk going around saying he acts all unimpressive, but he's secretly got mad power and ambition. But no matter what, now that he's seen their hideout, they can't just let him walk away. Hearing they plan to attack him, Lloyd drops his barrier, which seems like the worst damn move in this situation. But Lloyd's got a damn crazy reason for doing it. He wants them to throw every damn thing they got at him, and he's gonna take it head on so he can experience all their unique mana traits. Lloyd is tracing Tao's fighting style to get his own defense game on point, and he straight up challenges the whole crew to bring it. First up is the green-haired dude, dashing in front of Lloyd trying to throw a kick, but Lloyd shuts that down with a block. Then the dude dashes away again and starts pulling off some crazy handstands and kicks. But Lloyd ain't having none of it because he blocks it again with Tao's ironclad defense technique. By now Lloyd's like, damn, this dude is flexing hard. So this guy introduces himself as Babylon, the warp blighted. He flexes more than anyone else, even with sorcery. Lloyd's intrigued, but he slips up and gets caught off guard by Crow, the curse blighted. And when Crow tells him to sink, Lloyd feels a heavy force pushing him straight to the ground. Meanwhile, this big dude Galilei tries to take him down, but Lloyd ain't playing that game. He busts out a physical enhancement spell to overcome the pressure holding him down, and in the process he dodges Galilei's attack like a boss. But when he lands on his shoulders, he's stuck like glue because Galilei's got this special ability to create sticky stuff all over his body. Lloyd's struggling to break free from the sticky situation, so he's like, screw it, and decides to ditch his clothes for freedom. And it works, but now he's pantsless for keeping things interesting. While he's still in midair, he's thinking about all the crazy lessons he's learned, from Crow's cursed speech to Galilei's sticky webs. But there's one more person he ain't seen yet, and finally she steps in and smacks Lloyd with some reinforced cloth. She thinks Lloyd's cute, especially with his half-naked shenanigans, so she wants to teach him about fear and shame. She's all about the fear part, so she stabs herself in the leg, and Lloyd feels the exact same damn wound. Her name's Talia, the pain blighted, which means any hurt she takes her target feels it too. Even with a leg impaled, Lloyd's feeling happier because he's learning so much in this wild battle. Talia tries to slash him again, but Lloyd jumps back and escapes like a champ, so she regroups with her crew, and they all gear up to attack him once more. Talia looks at Lloyd and asks if he's feeling any fear yet. But right now fear's the last thing on Lloyd's mind because he's straight up ecstatic. He heals the stab wound in his leg, and Talia's hella surprised that he can bust out a healing spell so damn fast. Lloyd gets up and starts boosting the strength of the cloth in his hands until they turn into 2 swords, and with weapons in hand, he starts mimicking Silpha's fighting style. Galilei starts panicking a little because Lloyd's stance looks a lot like the adventurer who messed him up years ago. As Lloyd charges forward, they all feel terror like they never felt before. So they try to bounce. As Babylon's trying to escape, he wonders how the hell Lloyd learned both martial arts and sword skills. But Lloyd pops up behind him and knocks him back down. He wants to see how Babylon handles taking hits, so he leaps off the roof and slams him to the ground. And it looks like Babylon just relaxes his body at the moment of impact, making himself all rubbery. Crow and Galilei both try to attack Lloyd at the same damn time. Crow tells him to get blown away, but Lloyd dodges, so the words end up hitting Galilei and sending him flying backward into Talia. With the other two currently unable to fight, Lloyd now wants to see how Crow handles getting attacked. So he turns to strike Crow, and Crow tries to say stop, but he gets cut off at the last second. Even though Crow didn't finish the word, it still manages to slow Lloyd down. So Lloyd's curious to find out what the requirements are for his cursed speech to activate. After seeing his friend get wrecked so damn bad, Galilei gets angry and tries to go after Lloyd himself. But his webs are stuck to Talia's clothes, so there's a freaking wardrobe malfunction, and Talia's left standing there butt naked. Lloyd don't give a damn and immediately attacks her, so Talia has to pull out her sword to block. She warns Lloyd that any damage he does to her will be done to himself too. She tells him it's a stupid idea to attack her now and hopes for a damn break so she can get dressed. But her warning just makes the crazy pervert want to hit her even more. and as he shoots her into a wall, her back arcs so bad that her spine's definitely broken. The same thing happens to Lloyd, but he's still having a blast despite having severe internal organ damage. While Lloyd's guard is down, Galilei grabs his arms and with his sticky webs, there's nothing Lloyd can do to escape. Unfortunately, Galilei forgot that Lloyd can just slip out of his arm guards. And once he's free, Lloyd uses one of Tao's moves to blast Galilei away. Now Ren is straight up terrified of Lloyd, but she's the only one he hasn't fought yet. So Lloyd says he's coming for her next. But before he can attack, Galilei steps in to protect her and says Ren ain't got good control over her poison, so she ain't gonna fight. Now that Lloyd's thinking about it, none of them really have good control over their powers. That's why they call it a blight. It's the reason they had to turn to a life of crime. So since control is what they lack, Lloyd comes up with a solution. He dodges Galilei's attack like a boss and zaps him in the back with something. Ren tries to swoop in and save him, but Galilei stops her and says he's all good. And not just good, he's even better than before because he can control his mana now. Lloyd engraves his spell on Galilei's back to help regulate that wild mana. That way he should be able to handle his powers better. And Lloyd's generous enough to offer to do the same for everyone else. Now that their blight is cured, they ain't hostile towards Lloyd no more. He's given them a chance to live a normal life. Galilei thinks it's important to spill their backstory to Lloyd. But Lloyd ain't really into long-ass stories, so he politely declines. But Galilei just keeps on talking anyway. Lloyd's being bored out of his mind as Galilei blabs, until he mentions the leader of the Assassin's Guild, Jade, who has the ability to teleport. Jade brought them all together to form the Assassin's Guild so they could make a name for themselves and be accepted by society someday. But then Jade accidentally teleported his ass somewhere else, and they ain't seen him since. And just when that's mentioned, a teleportation ring similar to Jade's pops up in the room, and a black envelope gets teleported in. Later on, Silpha finally tracks down Lloyd's scent and bursts into their hideout, searching for him like a mad woman. But even though she's damn sure he was there because of his smell, all she finds is a damn letter stuck to the wall. She takes it back to Albert, who's about to lose his shit. The letter says Lloyd's going on a trip with the Assassin's Guild to visit Lordost, the same place that's threatening war with Saloon. Albert thinks Lloyd might have been snatched up and forced into war with Lordost. But then again, it's hard to believe anyone could take Lloyd against his will, so he decides to seek a peaceful solution. But then Silpha shows him what she found in the hideout, and it's all of Lloyd's clothes, covered in some weird white goo. So peace goes out the window because Albert and Silpha are ready to throw down. Meanwhile, Lloyd and the crew from the Assassin's Guild are getting teleported to the Lordost Kingdom by crossing the country at crazy speeds. After that letter popped up, Galilei straight up recognized the symbol on it as the one Jade made for them. So with mad anticipation, Galilei opens the damn letter, and it's from Jade, just like they thought. In the letter, Jade apologizes for taking freaking forever to hit them up. But the dude's been busy as hell. He spills that he's successfully overthrown the Lord of Lordost, who was planning some big war. Now Jade's the new freaking Lord of the Kingdom, and wants to invite all of them to join him for a legit celebration. Everyone's hyped about this dope-ass news. But Lloyd checks out the letter, and he's happy for his own damn reasons. Galilei goes up to him and gets down on his knees to thank Lloyd again for helping them control their curses. But they gotta head to Lordost now, so Galilei promises they'll pay him back for his kindness someday. But Ren's got something else in her mind. She wants Lloyd to roll with them to the Lordost's kingdom, so he can engrave a spell on Jade to keep his blight in check too. Lloyd's cool with joining them, but he asks if Ren knows where the hell this letter came from in the first place. It just appeared out of nowhere, which means it got teleported here accurately from some other freaking place. Teleportation magic is still a huge ass mystery in this world, and it ain't something you can just randomly figure out. So there's only one explanation. Jade must be able to control his powers after all. It wouldn't make sense for him to lie about that shit, but they can't guarantee that everything in the letter is true, so it might be a trap if they head to Lordost now. But Ren's still believing that Jade would never betray them, so she suggests, maybe a bit naively, that he just learned how to control his powers on his own. If that's the case, Lloyd won't need to join them for the reunion. But he's still gonna stick with them anyway because his interest in teleportation magic is at an all-time high. Ren wants to trust Jade, but she can't stop stressing about what could go wrong. Lloyd tells her not to trip about it because if shit hits the fan, he's got their backs and can handle any trouble that comes their way. Galilei starts singing Lloyd's praises again for being so damn kind to them. And after hearing that, Ren's officially falling head over heels for him. Back to the present, Lloyd gotta make a pit stop with his flight spell because none of them can handle the crazy high speeds. Dude's complaining about them wasting time here because they only flew for like 10 minutes. But if they gotta endure another minute of supersonic speed, they'll straight up die. And Babylon is so bent out of shape over it that he's stuck. Lloyd gives in and says they can just chill here for a bit and walk the rest of the way because they're already damn close. And since they're taking a break, Ren offers to go grab some food for them, while Lloyd helps Babylon get his spine back in order. Babylon mentions that Ren's trying to impress Lloyd because she grew up in the woods. Apparently, she accidentally offed her parents with her poison when she was younger, so she had to fend for herself out in the wild. And the first person to stumble upon her was Jade. Dude brought her back to the hideout and introduced her to everyone. But they were all a bit spooked by her poison powers, so Galilei thought it wasn't a good idea to keep her around, especially because she kept growling at them like she had rabies or something. Still, Jade was dead set on keeping Ren and started taking care of her. But that caused her to release a bunch of her poison, and Jade straight up collapsed. Even after that near-death experience, Jade still wanted Ren to be part of their crew, so he asked everyone to help him take care of her, since he insisted they all agreed to lend a hand. Galilei offered to be her teacher, while Crow and Talia whipped up some clothes for her. That's when Ren finally got to experience what it's like to have a family. Eventually, Jade came up with a spell that he inscribed onto her clothes. It neutralized her poison mana, so she could finally live a somewhat normal life around others. Jade acted like a big brother to her, and after hearing what Jade did, Lloyd's hella interested in meeting him, which is saying something because it's the first time he's shown any interest in another person. Eventually, Ren comes back from her hunting trip, and she whips up whatever the hell this is supposed to be. She's putting an effort, but no one's down to try her nasty-ass food. So Babylon asks Crow to use his curse speech to make the food taste good. He was about to do it, but then Ren Poison punches him in the gut because she don't want him changing anything about her food. Talia tries to reason with Ren and reminds her that Lloyd's a freaking prince, so this stuff she made probably ain't what he'd want to chow down on. But she's dead wrong because Lloyd's gobbling it up without a second thought. It ain't the worst thing he's ever eaten because in his past life, he had to devour some real nasty ass stuff. This here ain't nothing compared to that. The others gather up the courage to try it after seeing Lloyd dig in. And even though the food looks like hot garbage, it ain't half bad once you get used to it. Ren did a pretty solid job considering that she never had a chance to practice because of her poison powers. So everyone ends up enjoying Ren's cooking, and she hopes she can share it with Jade someday. We get another flashback to when Jade rolls back to the team with some hella good news. The guild is thinking about reconsidering the bounties on their heads, so everyone starts celebrating because they might be able to rejoin society since they ain't outlaws anymore. Jade tells them not to get their hopes up because the guild's still just thinking about it, but it's a step towards a future where they're accepted for who they are, and that's enough reason to party. Jade's stoked to have such dope-ass friends, but he feels guilty about something, so he grabs everyone's attention to confess. He had claimed he was some random dude, but in reality, he's the third prince of Lordost. He's nobility, and he admits he approached them all because he wanted to use them for his own damn goals. Lordost is ruled by his family, and they're all straight up evil. They plan for war every damn day like bloodthirsty animals, so Jade was desperate to find a way to stop them from starting a pointless war, which is why he put this team together. He fully expects them to be pissed at him for manipulating them, but they couldn't give two shits about his initial motives. Besides, they pretty much knew he had to be some royalty with the way he carried himself. But Ren had no freaking clue, so she's having a freaking meltdown trying to process it all. While Ren's still lagging behind, the others tell Jade that they all got their own messed up stories that brought them here, and they ain't the pleasant kind they usually talk about. But at the end of the day, regardless of his motivation, he's still family to them, so he could have kept his trap shut, and they wouldn't have questioned him. But since he spilled everything, they're all down to help him take out the Lordost family if he wants. But surprise, surprise, he ain't down for that because it would be a damn disaster if the Assassin's Guild got caught killing folks out of personal grudges. The whole bounty reconsideration would go down the drain, and shit might even get worse if they get involved. So he wants to handle the Lordost family on his own. He's always seen the Assassin's Guild as his real family, and he would love nothing more than to stick with them forever. But he can't just stand by when Lordost is about to start a war. Since he'll be bouncing soon, he wants them all to make a promise with him to keep the Assassin's Guild going, even if he don't make it back alive from Lordost. And if he don't make it back, that means he successfully became the new ruler of Lordost. So he swears he'll make the place a haven for the blighted to live freely. After hearing the story, even Grimm is convinced that Jade must be one hell of an amazing person. After they finish eating, they continue their little stroll over to Lordost. But Lloyd dozed off along the way, so Galilei had to carry his ass. As they keep walking, Ren takes the lead and voices her worries. She doesn't think Jade would betray them, but there's still a chance the Lordost family is manipulating him into doing some messed up shit. So she thinks they should leave Lloyd here to catch some sleep while they go scope out the area to make sure it's safe. Galilei agrees and berates Lloyd off his face before turning to Grimm and asking him to watch over Lloyd while they're gone. But Grimm ain't too keen on the idea because Lloyd's practically invincible even when he's snoozing. But if they go into Lordost alone and shit hits the fan, Lloyd would be pissed at him for letting them get into trouble, so he's gonna roll with them. They roll up to the castle, and damn, there's a whole party going on, just like Jade said in his letter. Grimm ain't picking up any hostile vibes from the peeps here, so he figures it's safe to fetch Lloyd and return. Galilei starts thinking about it and remembers Jade having some weird-ass interest in Lloyd. But before he can spill that, they get spotted by one of the castle staff. This dude recognizes them as the Assassin's Guild, but instead of sounding the alarm, he brings them down to the banquet and announces that the guests have arrived. Looks like they were sweating for nothing because everything seems all good. Grimm gets ready to fly back to Lloyd and bring him here, but Ren's getting a bit jittery now that she's so close to seeing Jade again. So she asks Grimm to stick around with her for a little longer. A bit later, Jade finally struts into the banquet hall, and they're all stoked to see him. But damn, he's rocking a whole new look that throws them off. Jade decides to switch back to his regular clothes because he's among friends, so he snaps his fingers and teleports them into his body. The others are freaking shocked that he's mastered his powers completely, and when they ask how the hell he pulled it off, he just says he practiced his ass off till he nailed it. Ren steps up to talk to him at last, but she's so damn emotional that she can't find the right words to express herself. Unfortunately, Jade's done playing nice, so he flips the script in the room, and all the guests turn evil. Jade somehow uses his cursed speech to pin them all to the damn ground, and he announces to the crowd that they can have their pick of the blighted folks he gathered. He doesn't give a damn about remembering their names or anything. But before shit gets even worse, Grimm uses his powers to attack Jade and buy the others some time to escape. Seems like Grimm knows what the hell's going on with Jade, but before he can explain, Jade teleports behind his ass and kicks Grimm across the whole map. Grimm crashes right next to Lloyd by pure luck, and once he wakes up, he starts spilling about some real messed up shit happening to the Assassin's Guild members. Back at the castle, Ren straight up asks Jade what the hell he's doing, still holding on to hope that there's some legit explanation for this messed up situation. But damn, her hopes get crushed when Jade spills that everyone here is possessed by demons he brought from the netherworld. And Jade ain't even Jade no more. He's actually a demon named Gisarm, the catastrophe of the netherworld, who took over Jade's body to snatch his teleportation powers. He straight up says the real Jade is dead because he took over his body. This sicko actually took great joy in breaking Jade's mind for months on end. And the only thing that kept him going was how much he cared for his friends. Blighted folks' bodies make prime hosts for demons, so he knew Gisarm would come after his pals if he took over his body. Instead of letting that happen, Jade chose to end his own life with his own hands. If he succeeded, both he and Gisarm would have bit the dust. But Gisarm couldn't even let the man die in peace, just as Jade was about to croak. This sicko healed all the damage in an instant. The other demons are growing impatient, wanting to take over the body of a blighted person. So Gisarm grabs Ren and jokingly about the demons needing to watch out because she's got some lethal poison that killed her parents right at birth. As furious as they all are, they're helpless to do shit against Gisarm. He starts inspecting Ren's body to prep for the possession, but he pauses when he spots the spell Lloyd put on her. He's straight up outraged that someone had the audacity to mark his property, so he uses his cursed speech to force Ren to spill about who did it. Ren, fueled by her willpower and gratitude towards Lloyd, resists the urge to rat him out at first. But Gisarm keeps screaming in her face, demanding to know who gave her the mark. Then out of nowhere, barriers pop up around all the Assassin's Guild members, and a freaking massive death laser obliterates everything in its path. And the one who unleashed that laser is Lloyd, who looks hella pissed. The demons straight up shitting bricks when they see the power Lloyd just unleashed. But before he deals with their sorry asses, Lloyd goes down to the Assassin's Guild crew to make sure they're all good. He patches up Ren's injury and says Grimm already told him all about what went down, so he wants them to haul ass outta here fast. They are the targets of the demons, so it ain't making no damn sense for them to stick around and put themselves in more danger. That's why Lloyd wants them to bounce and let him handle the rest. Ren ain't feeling it and objects, but Galilei shuts her down and grabs her so they can dip. He knows Ren thinks she gotta stay and help, but they just be getting in Lloyd's way. Plus, they already know they ain't no match for Gizarm, so it's best to leave it to Lloyd. Meanwhile, the demons still freaking out because they think Lloyd's blast took out Gizarm. But Gizarm teleports back up and straight up tells the other demons to haul ass after the Assassin's Guild. The guild peeps got mad skills when it comes to hiding, so if they slip away, Gizarm might never find them again. The demons waste no time and start moving, but Lloyd ain't about to let them skate. He blasts them with a bunch more death lasers, taking out every damn demon on the castle grounds, except Gizarm, that sneaky bastard teleported out of harm's way. A couple demons trying to get the drop on Lloyd while he's distracted, and Gizarm takes the chance to use his cursed speech to tell Lloyd to eat shit and die. Lloyd sees it coming, so he throws up a barrier to block the attack, but to his surprise, that spell slips right through his barrier. Now Lloyd got mad time to react because his brain's on Quicksilver timing. Dodging seems like the smart move, but he's also curious to see what would happen if he just let it smack him. But before he does something dumb, Grimm forces him to dodge that cursed word, and it ends up smashing into one of the demons, dropping him dead on the spot. Lloyd uses his analysis magic to see what went down after that spell hit, and it looks like the death spell straight up killed the demon inhabiting the body, even though the body died because of a heart attack or some shit. Grimm still trying to convince Lloyd to back off from scrapping with Gizarm because it's too damn risky. Gizarm's magic ain't like your regular spellcasting shit. It straight up takes his mana and creates an effect, kinda like Crow's cursed speech, but way more polished. When you use a regular spell, a barrier can block the effects. But when the attack comes straight from the mana, that barrier ain't nothing more than a damn net. Solid attacks get blocked, but mana can flow right through it. If they were dealing with someone like Pazuzu, Lloyd could easily overpower any attack that Clown throws his way. But Gizarm's mana, that shit could stab Lloyd's heart if he ain't careful. Gizarm looks down at the demons who survived Lloyd's death ray, and he got nothing but pure disdain for them. Grimm breaks it down for Lloyd that demons got these ranks, like classes or some shit. So the demons down there must be 10th class, which means they straight up trash. For comparison, Pazuzu was an E-class demon, and Grimm himself is 3rd class. Lloyd assumes Gizarm must be a 1st class demon, but it's way worse than that. Gizarm is demon royalty, a freaking demon lord. That means his power is off the charts. Even 100 first-class demons wouldn't stand a chance against his ass. Lloyd may be off the charts too, but this time Grimm thinks even Lloyd's got his limits. So Grimm wants them to get the hell out of Dodge, but Lloyd keep flying closer to Gizarm instead. Gizarm asks who the hell Lloyd is, so Lloyd introduces himself as the 7th Prince. Gizarm seems to remember something from Jade's memories about wanting to meet Lloyd, but he doesn't give a damn about all the details. Lloyd says he would have loved to meet Jade, but now he ain't ever gonna get that chance because of Gizarm. Gizarm responds saying he's pissed because Lloyd just rolled up here and started blowing up his minions and base. They both got beef with each other, and they look equally crazy and hyped to throw down. But Grimm once again suggests Lloyd should bounce while he's still got a chance to escape. Lloyd knows damn well that Gizarm ain't gonna be as easy to take down as the one he wrecked on the ground. And Grimm's all shocked that Lloyd would call that shit easy. Lloyd said the 10th class demons are trash, but they still relatively strong and got some natural resistance to sorcery. Gizarm all eager to get this battle started, so he uses his mana to form a lil spike and launches that shit straight at Lloyd, damn near breaking through his barrier, even if it didn't go all the way. This the first damn time Grimm's seen something actually do damage to Lloyd's shield. So now he panicking even more than before. Gizarm is impressed by the barrier Lloyd created, but let's see how it holds up when he ain't holding back as much. And he starts launching a bunch of mana sword projectiles at Lloyd. Lloyd busts out some fancy ass dodging moves to minimize the damage, but he losing layers of his shield in the process. But damn, Lloyd was so focused on dodging the swords that he straight up forgot that Gizarm got teleportation skills. so he all surprised when Gizarm pops up right in front of him and kicks that damn barrier to pieces with one blow, sends Lloyd flying right into the swords, but he quick on his feet and casts an earth puppet spell to protect his ass from getting impaled. Galilei and the others watching with their jaws on the ground at the scale of the fight between Lloyd and Gizarm, even the demons impressed, until they all realize they standing on the same damn bridge, and the demons start chasing after the assassins. Galilei turns to Babylon, who been struggling to get over the gate, and tells him to hurry the hell up so they can get past it. While all that's going down, Lloyd's still in the thick of his fight with Gizarm, and Grim already shedding tears. But Lloyd doesn't give a damn about his feelings and asks him for some help with something instead. Gizarm all shocked that Lloyd escaped his attack without getting a scratch. And the only time he actually put some pressure on Lloyd was when he used his teleportation ability. Lloyd fires right back, saying that teleportation ability doesn't even belong to him. Gizarm got a whole different perspective because he already snatched Jade's body, and Jade couldn't even control that teleportation ability in the first place, so he didn't deserve to have it. Humans ain't capable of controlling abilities like that without some spell shit, but for a demon like Gizarm, born as a master of mana, it's a cakewalk. So it's only natural he'd snatch up that wasted gift for himself. And now he is about to show Lloyd how teleportation is done right in a damn battle. He summons more of the swords and starts straight up mocking Lloyd, wondering if he gonna try attacking, dodging, or maybe even running away from the swords. But as Lloyd gets stabbed in the back, Gizarm laughs and says he never had a choice to begin with. With teleportation, there ain't no need to launch the swords like usual. He can send them straight into Lloyd's body, and there ain't no way to counter that. And now that he thinks he won, he officially names his powers Shadow Wolf to commemorate that shit. Meanwhile, the trash demons still chasing after the assassins, telling them to give up their bodies. But the assassins just got control over their powers for the first time ever, so they ain't letting that go now. Galilei busts out his web ability, covering the ground and holding the demons in place while they make their getaway. The web's gonna harden in a few seconds, so ain't no demons escaping before that. Then Crow uses his cursed speech to make Humpty Dumpty and the rest of them fall down. Galilei props up Crow for using his cursed speech well enough to avoid hitting his own crew. And while the demons still down for the count, Babylon finally gets the gate open and lets them escape. But just when they about to dip, the demons start struggling and rip the bricks out of the ground so they can stand up. They ain't getting far unless someone stays behind to hold the demons off. But before Galilea can step up, Talia takes charge. She looks at all the demons at once and activates her power, slicing her damn ankle to make sure none of them can walk. She tells everyone else to stay out of her line of sight because she ain't got enough control to not hurt them too. She wants them to leave her here and make a run for the woods so they can be safe. Ren ain't down to leave Talia behind because there's no way she gonna escape on her own with that messed up leg. The demons feeling pain from Talia's ability, but at the same time they heal up from the wounds, and that in turn heals Talia too. But then Talia straight up stabs her own foot right after, making them demons feel the pain again. She keeps telling her crew to hurry the hell up and bounce while they still got the chance. She promises she won't let her body get snatched up so easily. But Ren can't just accept that and leave, so she tries to grab Talia and they can make a run for it together. But she gets pushed back and locked outside the gate by Galilei, who stays behind with Talia. Even if they close the gate, the demon's gonna bust through it in no time. So at this rate, ain't none of them gonna escape unless they stop the demons right now. Galilei knows what Talia planning to do, so he ain't letting her sacrifice herself to take out the demons, at least not without a friend by her side. The demons start freaking out because they realize Talia really crazy enough to off herself just to take them out, so they rush to try and stop her, but Galilei's standing in their way. Ren begging them to stop because they was so damn close to living together as a family. Jade may never come back, but they can control their powers now, and they ain't gonna have bounties on their heads no more. So why the hell they gotta die? Talia can't even imagine the pain Jade must have gone through trying to end his own life for their sake, but she understands that feeling of doing whatever it takes to protect her friends, so she don't hesitate to slash her own damn neck for them. While all this crazy shit going down, Gizarm looking down at these sorry ass peeps, and he is feeling straight up disgusted by their pathetic lives. Honestly, he was hoping Lloyd would have put on a better show, because then maybe Talia's sacrifice would have actually meant something. But right then he hears some shit crumbling where Lloyd's dead body's supposed to be. He turns his ass around and sees Lloyd Dunn turned into a pile of freaking dust. Out of nowhere, the real Lloyd Sneak attacks him from behind, but Gizarm teleports his ass out of there just in time to dodge getting sliced. He realizes Lloyd used a decoy to catch him slipping, and now the dude wielding an enchanted sword. Shit about to get a whole lot more interesting in their fight. That's for damn sure. But Lloyd seems all anxious now, but it ain't got shit to do with Gizarm. So he suggests they take the fight somewhere else because there's some peeps here he really don't want to encounter. Right before Talia about to do something drastic, a whole damn swarm of fireballs start pouring down from behind the gate. Galilei snatches her up so she don't get caught in the chaos, the demons getting roasted. But Talia and Galilei clueless about where the attacks are coming from. And just like that, the gate gets sliced the hell up, and Lloyd's family steps in, Albert taking the lead, and shit way more chaotic than he anticipated. But that don't change shit because they all there for one reason, to rescue Lloyd. The demons are getting crispy, and Ren finally feels relieved that help arrived. Crow gets this weird feeling like he's seen Silpha somewhere before, but he can't quite remember where. Albert and Silpha catch onto it and turn around, giving the assassins a deadly stare. Before long, the assassins are dropping to their knees, shaking in terror as Albert figures out what to do with them. Diane tells him that dealing with the demon mob should be the priority right now. But Silpha ain't having it, saying they gotta handle the Assassin's Guild first. She points her sword at them and demands to know where the hell Lloyd is. The assassins freak out, and then Silpha pulls out a pocket watch, telling them that for each lie they spit, she'll off one of them. Galilei starts trembling and stuttering as he says that Lloyd's currently throwing down at the castle. Albert asks who Lloyd's fighting and why. Ren pipes up, saying he's fighting the boss of the demons on their behalf. But Babylon shuts her mouth, reminding them of the promise they made to Lloyd earlier. A while ago when they were eating, Sleepy Lloyd asked them to keep his strength and Grim a secret from the palace folks. Galilei asked why he wanted it to be a secret, and Lloyd said he don't want no attention messing with his magic studies. Now Ren's all like, what the hell do I say? Silpha lets them know their 1 minute of silence is almost over. So Ren starts panicking and blurts out that Lloyd's fighting some total loser right now. The others try to back up her statement, but they look like a bunch of damn fools, and Silpha don't trust them one bit. She's ready to end Ren's life first, but Albert steps in. Galilei and the others start kissing up to Albert, saying a kind and wise dude like him will surely give them a listen. But Albert shuts them down with a stern "shut up." He pulls out Lloyd's underwear they found at the assassin's headquarters and asks why the hell Lloyd would fight for people who stripped him butt naked. Galilei tries to explain that the clothes were just covered in his fluids, so he left them out to dry, not realizing how incriminating his words sound. Now Albert and Silpha are in full-on murder mode, but Ren steps up to them. She admits that they know outcasts like them ain't gonna be believed easily, and she's ready to face whatever punishment they dish out. But Ren wants them to believe her just this one time. She straight up says the demons snatched away Jade, the person she loved most, and Lloyd's out there throwing down with those demons because of that. Everyone's hushing up, taking in her words. Then out of freaking nowhere, some demon-possessed fool comes at her. But then bam, Princess Alice rolls up on her majestic fox Luru, and that beast takes a big ol' bite out of the demon, saving Ren's ass. As the fox chomps and swallows the demon, Alice says we can trust Ren because if she had any messed up intentions, Luru would have chowed down on her first. Albert decides to trust his sister's word and straight up declares that the demons are their top priority now. So he tells Silpha to hunt down Lloyd and bring his naked ass back, and she starts making moves to make that happen. Ren's totally freaking out, clinging to Silpha, trying to stop her by saying Lloyd's fighting some weak-ass punk and don't need no help. Silpha tells her to let go, or she will strike her first. But Ren keeps holding on, even though she's scared as hell. Then out of the blue, she spots a freaking teleportation magic circle in the air. And then a bunch of dark energy spears rain down on them. And before anyone can even process what the hell is going on, the bridge gets wrecked. Diane looks down and sees them damn demons trying to cross the river and flank them. Albert's losing it, knowing if the demons get behind them, they're screwed. He tells his soldiers to fall back. But Silpha's all messed up because she was so close to reaching Lloyd. Turns out Gizarm wrecked the bridge because Lloyd asked him to, so they could have a free-for-all fight. Gizarm sees the forces retreating and tells Lloyd they should keep their battle rolling. He snaps his fingers and teleports a bunch of spears to stab Lloyd. But Lloyd's moving like lightning, dodging all that mess. Gizarm sends more dark spears after him, but Lloyd's all focused on his sword, dodging those spears like they ain't nothing. He looks down and sees Albert and his crew handling the demons escaping with their magic swords, and he's thinking he can go all out now without holding back. The demons on the ground get set on fire by the knights' attack. But those bastards ain't taking no damage. Even though they're screaming in pain, they can feel the burn, but their bodies just keep regenerating from any damage they take. Albert peeps that these demons are hella resistant to magic, and he ain't sure if he should straight up kill them because they are still in human bodies. Out of nowhere, Diane whips out his special magic sword and throws a massive fireball at them demons, blowing them away in a big ass explosion. But even that ain't doing jack, and the knights swinging the magic swords are running out of steam. This puts Albert under mad stress, wondering what the hell they're gonna do now. He thinks they gotta switch up their tactics and let Luru and Silpha get up close and personal with the demons. He turns around to check if they're ready, but damn, Silpha's gone. Silpha climbed on Shiro, and she's leading him to the busted end of the bridge, telling him to haul ass towards Lloyd. Galilei and the others tell her it's impossible, and she knows it too, but she keeps coming up with dumb ass ways to cross that messed up bridge. Shiro wants to see his master so bad, so he takes a leap of faith, but ends up falling in the river. Silpha's getting ready to jump after him, when suddenly some fool climbs up the bridge and attacks her. She dodges the first strike, then pulls out her swords to block the rest. Turns out the attacker is the Humpty Dumpty demon, and he's all praising Silpha's skills. He tells her she's good, but not as good as him. He straight up claims that while his buddies are just 10th class demons, he's an 8th class demon and a master of the demon blade technique. Silpha's thinking about the class system among demons and wonders what class Pazuzu was, but that don't matter because Humpty seems weaker than him. Meanwhile, Albert's still pondering if there's a way to save the people possessed by the demons. When a demon launches a sneak attack on him, ain't nobody ready to defend against it. But out of nowhere, Babylon shows up to save the prince. He grabs the demon by the neck and twists it a full 180 degrees. Albert thanks him and says he didn't even hesitate to deliver such deadly damage to the demon. Babylon straight up tells Albert he's a cool dude, just like their leader Jade was. He says even though they are assassins, they don't play around with life and death. He went all out earlier because the demon-possessed people ain't got no chance. The demon tries to bounce back from the damage he just took, but Babylon tells Albert there's no way to save the demon-possessed because their mind's already dead. Right then, the demon straight up collapses, unable to regenerate his body. Hearing Babylon's words and seeing the gruesome scene, Albert realizes what he gotta do. He walks up to the burning demons and pulls out his magic sword. He throws down some Naruto hand signs, unleashing a powerful flame spell. He wants to apologize to the people of Lordost because he can't save them, but he wants to end their suffering. With that feeling, he lets loose his spell, making fireballs rain from the sky. The fireballs explode when they hit the ground, and the demons start screaming in pain as they burn. Albert tells his knights to stop holding back and go all out to wipe out the enemy. Meanwhile, Silpha goes full-on beast mode, launching a barrage of quick strikes at Humpty Dumpty. He keeps blocking them and backing away. He jumps up and does some drill move to push Silpha back, but she just blocks his attack like it's nothing. The demon takes to the skies again and throws some flying slashes, but Silpha deflects them like a boss. Next, they bust out some special moves and charge at each other at full speed. Their clash is too fast for anyone else to see, but they seem evenly matched. They keep throwing down with their special moves, and the shock waves alone start messing up the bridge. They separate after that, and when Silpha lands, her hairband breaks, and blood starts flowing down from her forehead. Humpty Dumpty's taken a good amount of damage too, but he can bounce back easy thanks to his demonic powers. He starts laughing, saying humans can never beat demons, but he admits Silpha's strong, which is why he wants her body now. He claims if he takes it, he'll master his technique and hers. Suddenly, he switches up his stance and charges at Silpha. Using the Lordost sword technique, she reacts a bit late, and her dress gets sliced off, but she manages to dodge the attack. Humpty says that the previous master of this body was quite hardworking and skilled in martial arts. He shows off his rough hands, a sign of all the hard work he put in. Humpty says he got all the memories of the previous owner, and he gonna put them to good use. He straight up declares that humans are just clothes to demons like him, and now he gonna take over Silpha. But Silpha ain't taking that crap lightly. She leaps high in the sky and pulls off the same demonic move Humpty just used. Dude's straight up shocked seeing her pulling off that move and barely blocks it at the last second. He's terrified that Silpha knows demon sword technique too, but she tells him she learned it just by watching. She ain't so weak that she gotta take over someone's body to learn a new style. Humpty's mad as hell at this insult, but Silpha doesn't give a damn. Instead, she calls out to Shiro, who comes back to her side. She starts searching through Shiro's fur and finally finds a special sword that Lloyd personally made for her. As she unsheathes the blade, she tells Humpty to witness what humans can achieve. A few days ago, Silpha started training hard to get stronger so she could take on demons like Pazuzu herself. But when she swung her sword with all her might, the sword ended up bending and the dummy target went crazy, spinning all over the place. Silpha was disappointed, but right then Lloyd and Diane came to visit her with a brand new sword. She was beyond happy to get it, and Lloyd told her it's a magic sword. But he didn't load it up with fancy spells. Instead, he made it super strong and flexible so it can handle Silpha's full power. He straight up told her she could even slice through a demon with it. Demons are like psychic beings, but they ain't much without a body. So they either make their own or possess a human. If their body dies, the demon inside dies too. Silpha asked Lloyd why he picked those spells for her sword, and he got all nervous and said she always seems to hold back when swinging her sword. So he thought maybe she's scared it'll break. So he made one that won't break. Silpha was over the moon and gave Lloyd a big ol' hug, thanking him for paying so much attention to her. Diane butts in and suggests they give the sword a name too. Silpha remembers her failure against Pazuzu and decides to name it Demonbane to show she ain't gonna lose to no demon ever again. Now she whips out the Demonbane and declares she gonna prove the name's effectiveness right here right now. Humpty's pissed off, even though he's sweating because he is nervous as hell. He calls Silpha delusional for thinking she can take him down. Dude laughs and says this whole kingdom gonna get wrecked by demons just for the hell of it. Humpty spills that Gizarm set up this whole elaborate plan to lure Jade here. He had his minions possess the bodies of the folks in Lordost and spread rumors of war. Jade had no choice but to come back because he wanted to avoid that war at all costs. And that turned out to be his fatal mistake. The assassins are fuming when they hear what the demons did to Jade, and Ren can't control her rage. She charges at Humpty for revenge, but Silpha smacks her down, telling her she's getting in her way. Then Silpha gets in her stance and tells Ren not to worry because she gonna avenge Jade and make sure the demons can't destroy this kingdom. Humpty says he gonna prove her wrong with his ultimate move. He charges at her, but Silpha whips out her blade, slices him up, and sheathes it before he can even blink. Humpty's body gets torn into tiny pieces, and blood sprays everywhere as he kicks the bucket. Silpha covers her sword with its fancy lace and looks back at her dead enemy's body, giving off a cold and menacing vibe. Silpha walks towards to Humpty and gracefully kneels in front of his body. She's like, damn, before this demon takeover, dude must have been a badass warrior and swordsman, and she would have loved to spar against him. The assassins pay their respects too, and Silpha notices Ren straight up bawling her eyes out. She asks if Ren knew the dude, and Ren replies she didn't, but she feels bad for him. Silpha gets up, brushes off her clothes, and tells Ren and the others that they ain't cut out to be assassins. Galilei and Crow finally realize that Silpha's the legendary adventurer they fought back in the day. Then out of nowhere, there's a huge ass explosion behind them, and the next thing they know, the whole place is filled with steam hotter than a summer day. Silpha's confused, but the assassins can barely make out that the entire river seems to have turned to vapor. Ren suddenly figures out that Lloyd must be involved in this mess, and she can't help but worry about him. A few minutes earlier, Lloyd's flying through the air like a boss when Gizarm starts launching discs made of his dark energy spears at him. Lloyd dodges them as he gets closer to the river, but he knows he gotta come up with a new strategy to deal with this shit. The spear discs keep on chasing him, breaking through the decoy barriers he sets up. Plus, he randomly shoots the spears in his direction, making Lloyd pull off all sorts of fancy moves to dodge them. The spears slice through regular barriers like butter, but Lloyd's got some heavy-duty barrier protecting him, so they can't touch him. But just when he thinks he's in the clear, the magic ribbon wrapped around one of the spears starts to unravel and seep into his barrier. Lloyd realizes it's Gizarm's cursed speech, and the dude somehow changed its shape to control it better. Lloyd's forced to bail on his heavy-duty barrier because it ain't gonna stop that cursed speech. Lloyd's thinking to himself that even though getting hit by cursed speech means instant death, it moves pretty damn slow compared to the spears, but Gizarm's using them together with skill, making it hella hard to deal with the constant attacks. While Lloyd's pondering this, teleportation magic circles appear around him. He's gotta quickly dodge them because the dark spears pop up in those circles mad fast, and Gizarm calls it the Shadow Wolf move. Lloyd jets away from the scene, still stressed because that Shadow Wolf shit's the most troublesome thing he's dealing with right now. He gotta keep moving at top speed non-stop. He knows if he slows down even for 2 seconds, Gizarm gonna trap him and land a hit. And on top of that, Gizarm got infinite mana because he's a demon. Dude can keep launching an all-out attack till Lloyd's completely drained. Lloyd's pissed off, so he decides to take the offensive. He uses his double casting technique to unleash a powerful spell in under 2 seconds. He summons a huge-ass flame golem that goes punching toward Gizarm, and all Gizarm can do is watch it with a smug grin. Gizarm knows the attack won't kill him, but he don't want to burn his clothes, so he straight up teleports out of the way. He dodges the attack, and then the fire golem slams into the river below, evaporating all the damn water and covering the whole castle in steam. But now Lloyd's wondering if that move was the right call because he can't see shit in this steamy mess. He uses his Kai techniques to sense Gizarm's presence and finds out he ain't too far away but ain't making a move. Lloyd's busy thinking about his next move when Grim, who's freaking out, tells him to hustle or else Gizarm gonna hit him with that shadow wolf. Lloyd agrees and flies off, trying to figure out a way to stop Gizarm from using the damn shadow wolf. Then a question pops into his head. He's wondering why the hell Gizarm didn't attack him earlier when he was chilling in the steam. That shit's got him thinking about how Gizarm's even locating him. Lloyd recalls how Gizarm sent a letter to the assassin's base and telling his underlings that if they hide, he won't be able to find them. Lloyd knows Gizarm needs to see the place he wants to teleport to, so he gets a sudden idea. He starts tailing him while taking advantage of the steam and tells Grim to shut it as they tail the demon. Gizarm's walking around blind as a bat. Can't see a damn thing. He knows evaporating the river was a slick move by Lloyd, but he just gotta wait for the steam to clear. Little does he know, Lloyd's already snuck up behind him and charges at full speed. Gizarm spots him, but before he can react, Lloyd pulls out his secret weapon and summons a gang of clones made with earth magic. Gizarm can't tell which one's the real Lloyd, so he lets himself get hit on purpose. All the clones start wailing on Gizarm, but he figures out which one actually hit him with a real blade. He guesses it's the real Lloyd. Gizarm stabs him with the dark spears and sends him flying. His injury heals up quickly, and he smirks, saying that even physical attacks are useless against him because he can regenerate in an instant. Even if you crush his brain or heart, he gets back on his feet, tearing through Lloyd's clones with his bare hands. He boasts about how he can harden his whole body to block any physical damage. He let Lloyd hit him on purpose to find the real one. He's done with his evil speech and laugh, but Lloyd's clones still surround him from every direction. Gizarm's wondering when they're gonna disappear when suddenly, he notices that the body he attacked earlier was just another clone. He's shocked to realize that Lloyd gave the real sword to a damn clone. Gizarm's all confused now, trying to figure out where the real Lloyd is. He thinks the dude might be flying above him. But out of nowhere, a powerful flame attack hits him from his blind spot. Turns out the real Lloyd was hiding among the clones. After landing one hit on Gizarm, he quickly shuffles his clones to hide his true position. Lloyd's busting out more clones made from the earth, and these bad boys can even talk to mess with the enemy's head even more. But Gizarm bounces back real quick from the fire attack and regenerates his body. He snaps his fingers and teleports a fresh set of clothes onto himself. The dude can teleport stuff if he knows exactly where it is, even if he can't see it. But now that he ain't sure which Lloyd is the real deal, his sickest move, Shadow Wolf, ain't worth a damn. So he decides to go all in and wreck them all at once. He conjures up a freaking army of dark spears above him and shoots them in every freaking direction. Straight up annihilation of the clones. One of the spears gets blocked by a barrier, and Gizarm instantly realizes that it's the real Lloyd. He teleports behind him and crushes his skull, but turns out it's another damn clone. Gizarm's getting hella intrigued now, but he keeps on unleashing hell, destroying most of the clones while scheming on how to bring out the real Lloyd. Out of nowhere, he starts laughing, saying that going toe-to-toe with this human kid is way more interesting than taking on a whole army of demons. The clones keep coming at him, and he keeps shutting them down, while the real Lloyd's sneaking up on him all quiet-like with an invisibility spell. A dark spear comes dangerously close, grazing Lloyd's cheek, but he keeps on moving forward like it ain't nothing. Grim's the one freaking out because Lloyd ain't put up no barrier around himself, heading straight for Gizarm in this freaking storm of death. He's wondering what the hell could be worth taking such a risk when he spots his magic sword. Earlier, Lloyd told Grim he named the blade Spelltaker. With this sword, Lloyd can soak up any spell, get extra mana from it, or easily analyze its structure. He figured it'd help him study magic way better, but it's about to come in way handier than he ever freaking imagined. Lloyd slices through the teleportation magic circle while staying hidden from Gizarm. The sword starts deciphering the teleportation spell, and all of a sudden, he finds himself in a space filled with nothing but freaking magical symbols all around. Lloyd calls out to Jade, checking if he's still kicking it here. He lets him know that Ren and the crew are here too, and he's down to be buddies. Then out of nowhere, the darkness around him splits, and Lloyd spots a bright-ass space ahead, pushing the dark magic symbols into tiny pockets. Seeing this mind-blowing sight, Lloyd finally understands the teleportation magic and what his next move should be. All his clones straight up turn into stone, and he cancels the invisibility spell he had on himself. Gizarm's caught off guard seeing that Lloyd was hiding with some invisibility spell, and on top of that, dude wasn't even using a barrier, as evidenced by the cut on his face. He smirks and asks the kid if he's done playing with his little toys. Lloyd stays calm and tells him he gets it now, and Gizarm says it's better late than never. He thinks Lloyd finally realized he can't beat him. Gizarm asks him why he's even fighting for those idiots. He believes Lloyd ain't like other humans, but more like him. He invites him to join his side, promising they'll have a blast taking over the world. But Lloyd just lets out a sigh. He straight up calls Gizarm dumb as a beast, satisfied with the raw power he was born with, without even trying to understand why he has it in the first place. He says humans may be weak, but they create things with their desires, including their bonds with others and magic. He smirks, saying that all magic spells are rooted in desire, and desires are infinite, which is why magic is endlessly fascinating. Gizarm don't give a damn, and teleports to attack Lloyd. But Lloyd's quick on the draw and counters, landing a solid punch right in his gut the second he appears next to him. Gizarm can only scream in agony as his bones get crushed, dropping to the ground, choking and foaming. Lloyd mocks him, saying he didn't even use mana for that last hit. It was a straight-up punch infused with Kai. Gizarm don't even understand what he's talking about, and Lloyd tells him that magic learns from all sorts of knowledge and keeps evolving to new levels. Lloyd coolly takes a seat right in front of him and asks what his move is gonna be now. He straight up mocks Gizarm, telling him to hurry up and unleash his dark spears or cursed speech because they ain't nothing special. Gizarm's fuming at this point, getting up and laughing at Lloyd's audacity to talk like this to a demon. But Lloyd throws it back at him, asking if he remembers the last thing Jade said before kicking the bucket. Gizarm tries to recall, thinking about the time when Jade, all shriveled up and desperate, told him he'd lose right before he died. That shit sets Gizarm off the edge, and he starts cursing Jade and Lloyd as he teleports in for the attack. Lloyd kicks him right as he appears next to him, and Gizarm's sent screaming and rolling on the ground. Lloyd takes off after him, unleashing a storm of power-packed kicks infused with Kai, sending him dragging across the earth. Gizarm tries to teleport away, but Lloyd's right there, delivering a swift kick to his mouth. Gizarm's trying to calm down and come up with a new plan, but Lloyd ain't giving him a damn chance. He grabs Gizarm by the leg, spinning him around and slams him to the ground, starting to pummel him. Gizarm teleports away again, but Lloyd knows his moves and lands a solid kick to his face the moment he reappears. Gizarm crashes into a nearby boulder, shattering it to pieces. Then Lloyd pulls off a double cast and unleashes a massive attack on him. The force of it sends Gizarm crashing through the castle wall and into the hole Lloyd made with his earlier attack. Gizarm's still screaming in pain, but then Lloyd's kick sends him hurtling towards the magma below. He knows that falling into that lava's gonna be too much even for him, so he tries to teleport away, but Lloyd's right there at every spot he teleports to, keeping the hits coming, sending him flying into the sky. Lloyd asks the beaten-down Gizarm if he's got any other tricks up his sleeve because otherwise, it's time to meet his maker. Finally, Gizarm snaps and warns Lloyd not to underestimate a demon lord as he unveils his ultimate move. As a demon lord, he can manipulate the mana in the air like it's nothing, gathering it above him and condensing it into one massive black ball. He tells Lloyd that no matter what he does, he can't defend against his epic attack. Gizarm throws that dark sphere at Lloyd, but Lloyd ain't even impressed, so he just raises his hand and makes it disappear. Gizarm can't believe what just went down with his ultimate move, so he demands an explanation from Lloyd. But Lloyd ain't got much to say. Lloyd straight up nullified it by using the same damn technique. Gizarm can't wrap his head around a regular dude like Lloyd pulling off such a powerful spell, but Lloyd proves it by busting it out right in front of him. A few years back, he learned that spell by reading every magic book he could get his hands on, and after blowing up a bunch of mountains with it, Lloyd got curious. He wondered what would go down if he used 2 copies of the spell at once. So, to satisfy his curiosity, he set up a bunch of spells and made them crash into each other. Gizarm still can't believe Lloyd pulled that off, because using that spell even once takes a crazy amount of mana. But when Lloyd made them collide, they just went poof and vanished. So if he had to describe how he felt about it, he was just as let down as he is now that he knows Gizarm ain't got nothing more to offer. Gizarm starts going off, saying a regular mortal shouldn't talk shit to him like that. But Lloyd ain't even paying attention because he got a sneeze. Gizarm finds it even more disrespectful, so he teleports behind Lloyd and grabs his head. But damn, he regrets it right away because he gets a taste of Lloyd's real power up close. While Gizarm straight up froze in fear, Lloyd speaks up and says there's just one more thing he wants to find out. He asks if the void spell can kill a demon like Gizarm. He summons a bunch of void spells all at once and has them closing in on Gizarm. Gizarm tries to teleport away, but Lloyd knows how to keep track of that shit, so he still manages to land a hit on Gizarm. Back with the crew on the ground, because of all the damn fog the demons can't see shit. But Liru, Shiro, and Silpha, they still able to throw down because they got that keen sense of smell. And while they slashing through the demons, Silpha notices something off. These demons ain't as strong as before. Ren tells her it's because of her poison, and she trying her best to only hit the demons, but her control ain't top notch, so Silpha gotta be careful not to take too many deep breaths. Albert's stuck there, doing nothing because he can't see a damn thing. He just hoping the sun comes up soon so they can see something at least. But when he checks his watch, he damn shocked to find out that it's already morning. But the sky is still dark as hell for some reason. Up in the sky, Lloyd's mana got the whole area still in darkness, and Gizarm getting sucked into Lloyd's void spell, and ain't no regeneration gonna save his sorry ass, since he is about to die if things keep going like this. Gizarm decides to ditch his body and make a run for it, but Jade's body ain't having it, clamping down and keeping him trapped. Gizarm got no options left, so he starts playing mind games, trying to trick Lloyd into letting him go by pretending to be Jade. But Lloyd too damn smart for that shit. He doubles down on the spell, crushing Gizarm and finishing him off for good. Once Lloyd is sure Gizarm is dead, he hides his mana once more, and finally the sunlight breaks through. Ren looks up at the sky, and she has a flashback to when Jade told them about Lloyd. Jade heard rumors about the 7th Prince of Saloon, and even though Lloyd wasn't in line for the throne, there were mad interesting stories about him, like the fact that there was a massive explosion when he was born. Castle tried to cover it up, saying it was just a messed up gender reveal party. But Jade heard the real deal, that Lloyd was casting a spell right when he came into this world. The others found it hard to believe, but Jade thought it was a dope story. If there really was someone gifted enough to use magic from day one, maybe Lloyd could help them break their curses and live in the light again. At the time, it was just a joke, but they never thought it would actually become true. Once everything was settled, Lloyd and Grimm teamed up to build a badass memorial for Jade. But Grimm asks if it's really straight for it to be so far away from all the others. Lloyd thinks it's perfect because there ain't nobody getting buried anyway, and this memorial is all about remembering Jade. Grimm switches gears and gives props to Lloyd for pulling off that sick void spell on Gizarm, even though that thing moves slower than a snail. Lloyd explains it's because he analyzed the teleportation and knew exactly when it was going to go down. Once he had that intel, it was all about linking it to his reflexes, so he could dodge attacks like a boss and chase Gizarm whenever it tried to bounce. But don't get it twisted, the fight was far from easy. Gizarm was a beast, and Lloyd could have been 6 feet under if he slipped up even once. Analyzing teleportation in the middle of a fight was a crazy idea, but he had to do it to land a hit on Gizarm. And it was all about cracking the code on teleportation. Lloyd wouldn't have been satisfied if he didn't figure that shit out. But here's the deal, he can't even take credit for figuring it out, because Jade had already laid down the perfect groundwork. In his final moments, Jade wrote out the teleportation spell, leaving it behind, knowing someone would come along and fulfill his wish of taking down Gizarm. So the real hero who saved the day was Jade with no doubt. A little while later, Albert rolls up and asks who the grave is for. Lloyd's at a loss for words, but Albert says he already knows. It's a grave that belongs to the former leader of the Assassin's Guild and the previous ruler of Lordas Jade. The Assassin's Guild filled him in on Jade's revolt and reached out to Lloyd for help. Lloyd just goes along with it because the guild cooked up the story to cover his back. According to their version, Lloyd stepped up and took down the demon possessing Jade's body. But even if their motives were pure and their ambitions were high, they've been making their dough by taking lives all this time. And let's be real, they straight up nabbed a royal family member to join them in a war. so these charges are serious as hell and could get them executed. But they claim they want to make it right by serving Lloyd for the rest of their lives, and they ain't playing around. So Albert's got one question for Lloyd. It ain't gonna be like taking in a damn pet or something. If he agrees to have the Assassin's Guild as his crew, then everything they do becomes his responsibility, and he's gonna be held accountable for any damage caused. Lloyd tells him he gets it and is ready to take charge of the whole Assassin's Guild from now on. This is the first damn time any of them have seen Lloyd give a damn about others like this. So Albert reminds him that just because he's the 7th prince doesn't mean people don't give a damn about him or what he does, because besides being a prince, he's first and foremost Albert's adorable little brother. And Albert's always gonna love him, maybe a bit too much though. Just then, Tao comes busting in because she heard Lloyd was in trouble and ran all the way here. But damn, she realizes she missed all the action and feels hella embarrassed, so she turns around to bounce. Albert chases after her because he never got the chance to properly thank her for last time, so everyone follows him. Once they're alone, Grimm says he's surprised Lloyd actually has such a soft side to himself. But Lloyd denies any sentimentality and says he is just taking in the Assassin's Guild because they possess special mana, and that brings new magical discoveries. But Grimm knows deep down Lloyd actually gives a damn about them, or else he wouldn't have bothered making a grave for Jade. The Assassin's Guild members eventually get released because Lloyd said he's taking responsibility for them, and they promise to serve him with everything they got to repay the kindness he's shown. After that, Albert decides to hold a tea party since Tao had asked for one a while ago. But now that it's going down, Tao's feeling a bit nervous because half the damn royal family is there. Albert tells her to chill and forget about all the formal shit because it's a celebration, and everyone should just focus on having a blast. In that case, Tao's down to let loose, but Silpha still got a problem with her. So she straight up spills tea on Tao, and then they start fighting over it. Albert also tells the Assassin's Guild that there's no reason to hold themselves back either, since he knows they prefer more casual parties. So they straight up get wild and wasted to honor Jade. In the midst of it all, Crow starts bawling his eyes out at Jade's grave along with Tao. Even though she doesn't know him, she can feel that he was a hot dude. And then Talia tries to make moves on Albert, trying to get him to throw down a drink with her. But he refuses since he never drinks while he's on official business. But Talia ain't giving up. So since Albert won't get drunk, she uses her powers to share her feeling of drunkenness with him. But here's the thing, Albert's the type to get pissed when he's wasted. So he immediately goes after Galilei because he still hasn't gotten an explanation about how Lloyd ended up covered in his sticky stuff. While all that drama's going on, the other girls are kicking it by the castle river because all the heat Lloyd generated turned it into a freaking hot spring. They're all taking a soak, and Ren turns to Silpha and asks if she can be Lloyd's maid like her. But Silpha don't really have the authority to grant that, so she tells Ren to go ask Lloyd himself. And wouldn't you know it, Lloyd's right there above Silpha, and he says it's fine. But Ren wasn't expecting him to be there. She asks if Lloyd's really fine with rolling with a poison-blazed person like her, but he tells her she's still got a lot of work to do. For instance, she shouldn't be calling herself blazed anymore because once she masters her mana, she can control the type of poison she makes, and she could become a sick pharmacist with a power like that. That's when Ren realizes that even though her power is mad deadly, Lloyd never once thought she was a threat, so she promises to serve him with all she's got. After that, they all head back to Saloon Castle, where Ren becomes Lloyd's maid alongside Silpha. And after getting Lloyd all suited up for the day, he's gotta meet with his pops to explain everything that went down in Lordost, but he don't want to take no damn credit for it. So luckily, Albert did him a solid and took most of the credit. So Lloyd's still free to do his thing, and that means he can keep studying magic every damn day. The story picks back up with Lloyd engaged in combat, skillfully fending off his opponent's attacks. We soon notice his adversary resembles an angel, who lunges at Lloyd again. Lloyd swiftly counters using martial arts to redirect the strike, though the clash injures him slightly. But our psycho calmly licks his wound, while he heals himself, then simultaneously unleashes fire and water magic, striking the angel head-on. The angel dismisses the attack as pointless, conjuring several magical swords around him. He coldly warns Lloyd that it's far too late for remorse, branding him a devil's offspring, a remark Lloyd brushes off entirely. The story then briefly shifts backward in time, showing Ren entering Lloyd's room to announce breakfast. She notices only Grimm and Shiro present and looks around, puzzled for Lloyd. But suddenly, Lloyd greets her cheerfully from seemingly nowhere, making Ren jump in surprise. He proudly tells her he's finally mastered hiding his presence thanks to the mana blocking technique she taught him. Ren is genuinely impressed, admitting it took her a full year to master that trick herself. She starts to relax, praising Lloyd openly, but quickly catches herself, remembering she's supposed to maintain her formality as his maid. Lloyd observes that Ren is still adjusting to working at his place, mentioning it has already been a couple of days. Ren responds that just a couple of days isn't nearly enough to get comfortable, adding that Silpha has been diligently training her. Although Silpha is incredibly strict and mastering etiquette is challenging, Ren declares she'll do her absolute best to become a servant Lloyd can be proud of. However, Lloyd gently suggests she can relax and speak more casually when they're alone. But at that moment Silpha appears, sternly reprimanding Ren for trying to speak informally with Lloyd. Ren apologizes sincerely, and Lloyd quietly acknowledges how overwhelmed Ren must be. Grimm comments softly that everyone else probably feels just as burdened, prompting Lloyd to head off toward Lordost Manor. Upon arrival, Lloyd notices that Galilee's webbing has proven extremely useful for construction and asks him if he's adjusting to his new responsibilities as governor. Galilee admits he has, mentioning that his friends remain astonished at his sudden position. Galilee originally assumed Lloyd would assume leadership himself, but Lloyd clarifies that his father only granted him the power to appoint someone to govern. He expresses full trust in Galilee's capabilities, believing this place will soon become a haven for individuals passionate about research, just like them. Grimm soon realizes Lloyd's intention to fully exploit this place for his benefit, but speculates that it might take considerable time before the repairs are finished. Babylon arrives and agrees, noting it's natural given how badly the demons wrecked the place. Galilee firmly asserts he'll never let a disaster like that occur again, and Talia suggests it'd be wise to have some sort of protection. Grimm, being a demon himself, casually proposes obtaining divine magic for defense, which shocks Galilee and the others upon realizing Grimm's true identity. Grimm himself seems surprised that they hadn't figured it out already, then clarifies that divine sorcery is exclusive to those devoted to the church. By using divine sorcery, one can channel sacred power into their body to drive away evil. He admits it sounds like pure nonsense, but assures them it really works. Crow and Talia show little interest, explaining they've always managed without gods or salvation. Grimm argues this is exactly why they should now join the church, but neither seems enthusiastic, and even Lloyd hesitates. Grimm curiously asks Lloyd what he previously did at the church, prompting Lloyd to defensively respond that Grimm shouldn't jump to conclusions, though he reluctantly admits something did indeed happen, and he got kicked out. Lloyd hopes enough time has passed for the church to forget the incident, considering it's been 2 years. But even after what happened, he's willing to give the church another shot if it means getting access to divine magic. Later, Lloyd visits the church with Ren, who openly admits she's uncomfortable there. Lloyd tells her she doesn't need to come along, but Ren insists on fulfilling Silpha's role, as she's busy elsewhere, and she also confesses wanting to spend more time with Lloyd. Babylon is also tagging along, confirming Lloyd's plan is just joining and serving the church to acquire divine sorcery. Lloyd affirms this, explaining that consistent service will eventually reward them with the sacred magic. Babylon complains it seems tedious, and Lloyd readily agrees that it's going to be a real hassle, but they have no choice. Upon entering the church, they're greeted warmly by the priest, initially mistaking Lloyd for an innocent visitor. However, once recognizing him, the priest's tone abruptly shifts, angrily demanding why Lloyd has returned. He bitterly states he'll never forget Lloyd's actions 2 years ago, harshly labeling him the spawn of the devil. Babylon gets curious, wondering what the hell exactly Lloyd did to piss off the priest so damn badly. Just then, Escher walks in, gently reminding her father it's been 2 years since the incident and suggesting forgiveness. The priest insists Escher is too lenient, but she reminds him of his own teachings, that genuine repentance deserves forgiveness. Escher adds that no one else is holding a grudge against Lloyd anymore, though her father stubbornly remains upset, until Lloyd suddenly steps in, pulling off an innocent puppy dog look alongside Shiro, breaking down the priest's resolve with their adorable sincerity. Softened by their charm, the priest finally offers Lloyd a chance at redemption while affectionately cuddling Shiro. Later, Lloyd and the group prepare to fulfill their assigned duties at the church. However, within mere minutes, Lloyd seems entirely disinterested in cleaning and accidentally breaks a vase. He tries to sneak away unnoticed, but Escher catches him, gently asking where he's headed. Lloyd sheepishly admits to breaking the vase, and she inquires if he's unharmed, relieved when he confirms he's fine. Noticing the broken vase was her father's beloved stained glass piece, Escher offers to apologize on his behalf, but Lloyd insists he'll personally make amends. Ren and Babylon observe this interaction, sensing that Escher's sweet personality is throwing Lloyd off his game. After Lloyd leaves, Ren asks why Lloyd seems off, prompting Escher to fondly share how Lloyd has always been earnest, yet easily distracted by his passion for magic. Escher remarks that Lloyd likely returned to the church primarily to learn divine sorcery, an assumption Ren and Babylon feign ignorance about. Smiling, Escher recalls Lloyd's past incidents, mentioning how he often broke vases even as a child. She recounts a particular memory when he broke a vase, and she asked if he was alright. Relieved by his assurance, Lloyd had amusingly requested harsher discipline, even suggesting she punish him with divine magic. But she explained she couldn't casually use such sacred power, reserved only for genuine evil, but was touched by his sincerity. She then suggested they sing a hymn together, but by the time she finished speaking, Lloyd had already quietly disappeared. Then after a while, a demon suddenly attacked the church, prompting everyone to evacuate urgently. Amid the chaos, Escher spotted Lloyd hiding close to the demon, completely oblivious to a pile of debris falling toward him, and without hesitating, she rushed forward and shoved him aside, taking the full force of the debris herself. Lloyd immediately asked if she was alright, but instead of worrying about her own injuries, Escher frantically asked him if he was hurt. Lloyd assured her he was unharmed, but felt a deep guilt seeing her bleeding, fully aware it was his fault. It wasn't long after the incident that Lloyd admitted to everyone he had been the one who summoned the demon, prompting the father to expel him from the church. Escher remembered the incident vividly, noting the immense damage he caused and how afterward, people started labeling Lloyd a demon spawn. Despite this, she steadfastly believed in Lloyd's innocence, recalling his voice during hymns as almost heavenly. Hoping for another chance to sing together, she planned to invite Lloyd to join today's communion, mentioning that Saria would also attend. After disposing of the broken vase fragments, Lloyd stumbled upon his sister Saria being harassed by a group of thugs. Apparently, she'd bumped into them, but she seemed totally unfazed, simply asking if any of them could play an instrument. When the thugs sheepishly admitted they couldn't, Saria completely lost interest and tried walking away. Frustrated, the men grabbed her to stop her from leaving. Watching from afar, Lloyd sighed, explaining to his friends that Saria was the kingdom's fourth princess and a musical genius who couldn't care less about anything that wasn't related to music. So Ren and the others commented on how similar Saria was to Lloyd. Just then, one thug boldly declared that while they weren't skilled musicians, they knew how to play a lady's body to make her squeal. Saria remained completely disinterested until Escher appeared, confronting the thug and demanding that he release Saria immediately. But the lucky thug inappropriately grabbed Escher from her legendary melon, causing her to cry out, which Saria humorously mistook as impressive vocal notes. Seeing the escalating trouble, the father worriedly noted that the planned recital might have to be cancelled. Lloyd questioned what he meant, and Babylon explained that a special recital featuring Saria and Escher was scheduled later that day, known for its healing properties. Grimm quickly suggested to Lloyd that perhaps divine sorcery was cast through rituals instead of conventional mana signatures. Determined not to let the recital be cancelled, Lloyd urgently instructed Ren to handle the situation. At the same time, Saria casually tells the thugs that the sound Escher made earlier was actually pretty decent, but the fact that she was crying totally ruined it. She bluntly informs the thug that he's terrible at this, confidently adding that she herself could easily make Escher produce a much more pleasing sound. The thug is clearly annoyed and couldn't care less about her musical critique, preparing to snap back at her, prompting Ren to discreetly cast her poison spell, targeting only the thugs, the girls, and the priest, knocking them unconscious. Grimm admires Ren's precision, impressed at how effectively she managed to target specific individuals. Lloyd explains Ren's method as mana focus, a variation of mana block used by the guild, where mana is released through a singular aperture for precise control. Mana focus enables a concentrated and potent release of mana, making it easier to pinpoint targets accurately. Lloyd praises Ren for following his instructions and successfully converting her poison spell into a harmless knockout gas. However, the thugs quickly regain consciousness, prompting Ren to admit she's still refining the strength of her poison, explaining she'd formulated it to incapacitate an adult male briefly. Babylon advises Ren to increase the potency for tougher individuals, volunteering to handle the thugs directly. Lloyd decides otherwise, concerned they might awaken again, and swiftly uses Jade's teleportation spell to relocate them. Ren and Babylon stare in amazement, startled by Lloyd's sudden mastery of Jade's technique. Lloyd himself admits needing more practice, unsure exactly where he sent the thugs. Shortly after, the priest and the girls regain consciousness. Lloyd explains the situation, graciously crediting Babylon with taking care of the thugs. Babylon remains excited by Lloyd's impressive use of Jade's teleportation spell, while Ren wishes the others had witnessed his accomplishment. She speculates optimistically that Lloyd might soon master their unique spells if they learn how to mimic the mana signatures. As the father and Escher leave to prepare for the recital, Saria briefly approaches Lloyd, barely recalling his name. Babylon is taken aback by Saria's forgetfulness, but Escher explains that Saria rarely remembers anyone's name unless they're connected to music. Hearing this, Ren curiously wonders aloud if Lloyd might secretly play an instrument. Escher excitedly recalls that Lloyd can sing and quickly asks him to join the performance. However, Saria firmly objects, insisting Lloyd hasn't practiced enough and would compromise their recital. She promises they can perform together as a trio once Lloyd has sufficiently trained, urging him to pay close attention during their performance instead. Ren then suggests exploring the church further, but Lloyd insists he needs to listen to the recital closely. Grimm explains there's a possibility that divine magic is cast through rituals rather than traditional mana signatures, and he elaborates that while mana signatures alone can produce various effects, rituals enable people with adequate mana to create similar outcomes through singing or dancing. Soon, the girls begin their recital, captivating everyone present. Their performance moves the audience deeply, even prompting tears from some listeners. Lloyd himself is genuinely impressed, with Grimm confirming that divine magic has indeed been activated. Grimm hands Lloyd a sword, which he uses to closely analyze the spell. He notices its mana signature is oddly structured, composed of geometric patterns unlike anything he's previously encountered. Lloyd remarks that the spell's effects resemble health class magic and checks if Grimm is safe around this divine spell. Grimm admits feeling slightly uncomfortable, though reassures Lloyd that due to Escher's limited mana, he's fine for now. Lloyd finds this new type of mana signature intriguing, admitting he can't fully interpret it, and Grimm wonders what Lloyd plans to do next. Lloyd abruptly changes the topic, mentioning he's felt an unusual gaze directed at them throughout the recital. Grimm confirms he senses it as well, and they conclude it originates from above, not the church ceiling, but somewhere much higher. Lloyd enthusiastically considers the possibility that it might be one of the deity's servants, deciding to use a teleportation spell to pursue the source of this mysterious gaze. The teleportation takes longer than usual due to the immense distance, surprising Lloyd. When they finally arrive, Lloyd finds himself standing atop clouds, unsure of their exact location. Grimm speculates they might be dead, but Lloyd confidently dismisses the idea. Recalling his previous death felt entirely different. They begin walking toward the direction of the strange gaze, eventually discovering an altar, and above this altar stands the figure who had been observing their recital from afar. Lloyd wonders what this pervert is scheming. Noticing how he's obsessively ogling Escher and Saria, the angel mutters to himself, fantasizing about descending to Earth to have some wild fun. But suddenly, Lloyd hurls a few cloud balls shaped suspiciously like poop right at his face, instantly pissing him off, and he yells out, demanding to know who threw them. Spotting that it's just some random human, he gets baffled, questioning how someone like him even got into paradise. He tells Lloyd to know his place, arrogantly introducing himself as Giariel the Angel, servant to the 64 divine rulers of paradise. He demands to know how they managed to get here, saying paradise is cut off from the human world, and even if humans wanted to break in, the barriers between realms should have stopped them. Lloyd doesn't feel like wasting his breath explaining boring stuff and bluntly asks if Giariel can teach him some divine sorcery. Giariel just scoffs, wondering out loud if Lloyd's lost his mind after witnessing his majestic beauty. He graciously gives Lloyd permission to kneel down and kiss his shoes, but Grimm snaps at him, telling the angel to stop acting high and mighty and cough up some answers, unless he wants them spreading rumors back on Earth about how creepy he is. Giariel confidently declares nobody would ever believe that nonsense anyway, and although he's indeed capable of granting divine sorcery, He says it's only meant for those he personally considers deserving. He generously tells Lloyd to get lost peacefully, promising not to punish him for his transgressions if he just leaves quietly. Jihuriel threatens he won't ask politely a second time, but Lloyd ignores him completely, again asking to learn some angel spells. Jihuriel fires off an attack called Luxa at him, but Lloyd effortlessly blocks it with his barrier, making the angel realize Lloyd isn't just some weak brat. Back on Earth, Ren is anxiously wondering where Lloyd disappeared to, and Babylon tells her to relax a little, asking if Lloyd mentioned anything unusual before leaving. Ren recalls Lloyd saying something about sensing someone watching them, but Babylon noticed something else entirely. Deciding to investigate, Babylon steps outside, feeling something seriously fishy about the place, and he sincerely hopes nothing serious has happened. Meanwhile in paradise, Lloyd continues effortlessly blocking Jihuriel's magic, thinking to himself how cool divine magic is. He notices the angel's swords appear to be feathers, yet they're hard enough to stop steel, and he realizes his sword can't break down these spells since they become solid objects once summoned. He also can't copy these attacks with his sword, thinking the angel must be able to keep summoning swords indefinitely as long as he has enough mana. Lloyd admits to himself it's an insanely powerful ability, and out of curiosity, he decides to test their strength. So he launches 4 different elemental spells simultaneously at the angel, forcing him to dodge quickly, and Jihuriel watches in shock as Lloyd's magic ends up cracking the heavenly realm's walls. Lloyd then asks Jihuriel why he keeps dodging, and annoyed Jihuriel launches another attack, only for Lloyd to vanish using teleportation. Jihuriel arrogantly remarks that he refuses to be contaminated by Lloyd's filthy earthly magic, which is exactly why he's avoiding direct contact. He quickly realizes Lloyd is nowhere around and smugly wonders if the annoying kid finally took off. However, he soon spots Lloyd chilling right on top of his sacred altar, casually wondering aloud how he's supposed to test things out properly when Jihuriel won't even take a single hit. Jihuriel confidently claims that Lloyd's attacks won't ever touch him, boasting he'll dodge each and every one. Lloyd calmly informs him that dodging isn't an option anymore, casting his Shadow Wolf spell to teleport 4 separate elemental attacks directly at Jihuriel simultaneously. Jihuriel somehow manages to dodge them again, causing Lloyd to wonder if he screwed up his timing or teleportation distance. Grimm immediately realizes Lloyd is mimicking Gizarm's earlier move, directly teleporting magical energy onto a target, except Lloyd's version is way stronger and far more flexible. Grimm admits the move is pretty amazing but warns Lloyd that it's extremely risky, noting that if he keeps this up, this angel dude is probably going to end up as a ghost. But Lloyd reassures him it'll be fine since Jihuriel claimed his Luxa is unbeatable, confident these attacks won't be enough to break it. Grimm nervously suggests Jihuriel might have been bluffing, but Lloyd calmly tells him to chill out, clarifying he's not planning to use the spell the way Grimm thinks. He reassures Grimm he won't misuse Jade's abilities like that, and Grimm is genuinely relieved to hear him say it. Lloyd then teleports a flame spell right in front of Jihuriel, but Jihuriel effortlessly evades again. Grimm shouts at Jihuriel to quit acting cocky and just teach Lloyd the divine sorcery already, emphasizing they have no intention of killing him. But Jihuriel stubbornly insists again that his Luxa spell is unbeatable, arrogantly claiming their pathetic little tricks won't ever work on him. Lloyd admits aloud that this method does have a few weak spots, realizing he needs to switch tactics if he wants to land a real hit. He decides to aim his spells even closer to Jihuriel this time, casting again. But Jihuriel still dodges smoothly. Lloyd recognizes the issue isn't how close he's aiming. It's that the spells appearing gives the angel just enough time to dodge. He figures hitting a moving target this way is almost impossible, realizing teleporting the spell before activating it just isn't working. So he concludes that he needs to teleport it exactly as it's being activated. Jihuriel then charges straight toward him to attack, and Lloyd puts this new idea into action immediately, successfully landing a direct hit. Jihuriel is completely baffled, wondering how Lloyd is suddenly able to cast spells this insanely fast, realizing this is nothing like what he was doing before. Grimm impatiently tells Jihuriel to just apologize already and get it over with, but Jihuriel arrogantly refuses, confidently boasting that his Luxa might be cracked, but it's infinite and can regenerate endlessly. Lloyd's eyes light up with curiosity at hearing that, excitedly wondering aloud just how infinite Jihuriel's regeneration is. Jihuriel instantly panics, realizing he's just dug his own grave with his bragging, quickly backtracking and nervously claiming his Luxa isn't actually all that impressive after all. In desperation, Jihuriel hurriedly throws up a Luxa barrier around himself, offering Lloyd one last chance to retreat safely, and he even desperately sweetens the deal, promising Lloyd an autograph and permission to kiss his feet if he just leaves him alone now. But Lloyd's not even listening, calmly surrounding Jihuriel on all four sides with multiple spells. Completely terrified, Jihuriel finally blurts out an apology, admitting he was lying earlier, and that his Luxa isn't infinite at all. But Lloyd is past listening, and simply hits him with the spell anyway. After the spell hits, Lloyd is surprised to see Jihuriel collapsed on the ground, looking like a freaking ghost. Grimm calmly explains that angels, like demons, are actually ethereal beings made entirely of mana. From these tests, Lloyd realizes Jihuriel's Luxa isn't really infinite or invincible. It's just a skill that uses mana to create and maintain weapons, meaning, as long as the caster has enough mana, they can keep regenerating them. Weakly, Jihuriel compliments Lloyd's fighting skills, but says it's too late now because he's fading away, and Lloyd has lost his only chance to learn divine sorcery. Not giving up, Lloyd suddenly floods Jihuriel with a huge burst of mana, confidently assuring him that this will fix him up in no time. Jihuriel gets shocked and reminds Lloyd that he literally tried to kill him just minutes ago, but Lloyd casually brushes it off, insisting he doesn't care and only wants to learn divine sorcery from him. Then a moment later, Jihuriel is transformed into a chubby little giant, and Lloyd is genuinely confused, asking Grimm what just happened. So Grimm plainly explains that Lloyd obviously gave Jihuriel way too much mana. So Jihuriel becomes completely surprised by how much mana this seemingly innocent kid possesses, and secretly plots how he can exploit this opportunity. He figures he can use this moment to finally descend to Earth and openly tells Lloyd he'll gladly teach him divine sorcery. Jihuriel then eagerly says that they need to form a pact first, reaching out to shake Lloyd's hand, thinking he's found the perfect chance to possess Lloyd's body under the cover of forming a pact. Jihuriel excitedly imagines getting to visit all his favorite girls down on Earth, especially Saria and Escher. Grimm instantly guesses what's running through his perverted mind, watching as Jihuriel tries to possess Lloyd. But just like Grimm before him, he pathetically finds himself stuck, possessing only Lloyd's hand. Grimm bursts out laughing at Jihuriel's failure, telling him he seriously messed up big time. He explains that no matter how much mana Jihuriel expected Lloyd to have, this kid's got way more juice than he can handle. The angel only managed to possess a single palm, just like Grimm himself did before. Jihuriel immediately guesses that Grimm probably tried the same thing and got stuck too. Feeling kind of humiliated now, Lloyd then innocently asks if the pact is finally complete, completely oblivious to Jihuriel's embarrassment. Jihuriel composes himself and explains that divine sorcery works by engraving an angel's unique mana signature onto the caster's soul, creating a path activated by song or another trigger. Lloyd awkwardly asks if he really has to do the singing part, sounding less than thrilled at the idea. But Jihuriel tells him that luckily, since he's already merged with Lloyd's hand, their pact is permanently active, and Lloyd only has to call out with his soul to use the power. As Lloyd tries calling out, he suddenly experiences a vivid vision filled with the mysterious symbols from the sorceress language he saw before. Instead of logically learning the spells step by step, he now intuitively grasps divine sorcery at an instinctual level, and he's absolutely blown away by how incredible it feels. Grimm silently thinks to himself that Jihuriel probably has no clue what he's done, because now that Lloyd fully understands divine sorcery, he has enough raw power to dominate both Paradise and the Netherworld. Lloyd could easily take over the throne of the Demon Lord if he felt like it. Yet Lloyd surprisingly just sighs, looking disappointed that learning divine sorcery was way too easy. Jihuriel can't believe Lloyd's reaction, genuinely puzzled why anyone would feel disappointed about achieving ultimate power so effortlessly. Lloyd explains that he actually enjoys the entire journey, not just the end result. He loves breaking down magic, studying spell books until they practically fall apart, and questioning why each spell works. Sometimes, he even feels like he can glimpse the faces of those who created these spells long ago. To Lloyd, the process itself has value, so achieving power too quickly feels kind of empty. But then Lloyd eagerly jumps back to divine sorcery, asking if Jihuriel's famous Luxa spell falls under this same category. Jihuriel confirms that it does, mentioning that Luxa appears differently based on who's casting it. He instructs Lloyd to try conjuring a sword first, just to get a feel for it. As Lloyd focuses, Jihuriel quietly reflects that he initially wondered why this kid traveled all the way to paradise just to seek divine sorcery. But now that he's linked with Lloyd, he can sense his pure, sincere emotions directly. It reminds him of someone he deeply respected in the distant past, someone whose kindness and determination left a mark on him. Suddenly, Jihuriel snaps out of his thoughts when he notices Lloyd's Luxa manifesting. Except it's nothing like a simple sword. Instead, Lloyd has somehow summoned the freaking Godzilla. Grim and Jihuriel stare at the thing in absolute terror as it continues to swell uncontrollably. Grim desperately pleads with Lloyd to stop whatever the hell he's doing, but Lloyd calmly replies that he's still working on it. Jihuriel watches in shock, unable to believe Lloyd is still constructing the damn thing. He had always known that Luxa's shape changed depending on the nature and quantity of the mana, but he never imagined it had become something as freakish as this. Jihuriel tries to reassure himself, thinking maybe it resembles the radiant wings of an archangel, but Grim bluntly interrupts, saying it looks nothing like that, and begs Jihuriel to snap out of it already and stop Lloyd before this freaking Godzilla grows even bigger. Meanwhile, back down in the human world, Babylon carefully follows the unusual scent he's been tracking. Eventually arriving at a peaceful rose garden, he tries to pinpoint the exact source, impressed by how the fragrance of the roses nearly manages to conceal it. Fortunately for him, his sense of smell is incredibly sharp, and normally he's not the type to poke his nose into suspicious stuff like this. But he suspects this scent might actually be connected to the divine sorcery Lloyd's currently after. Suddenly, a pastor approaches him, kindly asking if he's lost and offering to escort him back to the recital hall. Babylon smoothly covers by mentioning he's always admired roses and wandered here because he caught their scent. He politely hopes the pastor doesn't mind him exploring for a bit, but the pastor smiles, gently remarking it's quite a shame since Babylon probably came here to enjoy the performance. Babylon then curiously asks why the pastor himself isn't attending, to which he humbly replies he's simply a clergyman whose responsibility is guiding parishioners who've strayed off course. Though amusingly, even after years of service, the pastor admits he's prone to getting turned around in his own church occasionally. Babylon quietly thinks it's pretty ironic for someone who's constantly getting lost to be guiding others. Out loud, he lightly teases the pastor, wondering if perhaps this clumsiness is why he's not wearing his rosary, and casually mentions he'd been informed that members of the clergy are required to keep their rosaries on at all times. He quickly adds he's just a new arrival himself, but was still handed one immediately. The pastor, clearly embarrassed, quickly acknowledges his mistake and pulls out his rosary, admitting sheepishly that he's always forgetting to put it on. He encourages Babylon not to follow his sloppy example, reminding him gently that certain rules shouldn't be broken. He then solemnly explains that even this rose garden is considered sacred ground, not meant to be casually stepped into, prompting Babylon to sincerely apologize and explain he's still learning his way around. At that very moment, Shiro and Ren arrive, and Ren quickly asks Babylon if there's an issue. She gently reminds him that the recital's almost over, but the second Shiro spots the pastor, he immediately becomes hostile. Babylon then casually remarks to the pastor that he must be incredibly faithful, joking that either he meticulously polishes his rosary daily or he barely ever wears it, since it looks brand spanking new. The pastor calmly agrees, brushing it off as he eyes Shiro, complimenting the beast's fine fur and noting that he's clearly well cared for. Then he moves slightly, clearly planning to take some action. But Lloyd suddenly teleports into the area before he has the chance. Lloyd questions them about why they're all here instead of watching the performance, but they're quick to counter with their own questions about where exactly he's been. Lloyd gently pushes past the pastor to reach his companions, and Shiro excitedly rushes into his arms. The group then heads back towards the recital, but Jihuriel immediately recognizes who the pastor truly is. Meanwhile, at the church, Escher warmly asks Lloyd if he enjoyed the recital, and Lloyd enthusiastically praises it, claiming he watched every second from beginning to end. Escher gets confused and points out that the recital had to be stopped halfway through due to sudden thunder, while Jithriel eagerly anticipates finally getting to meet both Saria and Escher face to face. Babylon then curiously asks Escher if the inner garden is regarded as holy ground, and she confirms it is, explaining it's frequently used as a burial site for beloved pets of church members. Babylon quietly ponders if that was actually the source of the foul smell he'd detected, wondering if perhaps he's just overly suspicious due to his past life as an assassin. He eventually decides he's just imagining things, as the recital concluded peacefully, noting that even Lloyd appears unconcerned. Still, a handful of troubling questions remain unanswered in his mind. Lloyd then politely informs the father that he's preparing to leave the church now, and Babylon quickly realizes Lloyd likely found whatever he was searching for. Babylon figures the church's future isn't his problem anymore and attempts to exit quietly, but Escher stops him, sincerely thanking him for helping her earlier that afternoon. Back in the inner garden, the pastor angrily kicks dirt onto his rosary, muttering bitterly about how annoyingly clean it looks. He recalls having misplaced his original rosary and recently acquiring this new replacement. Suddenly, a hidden entrance creaks open, and an unsettling creature slowly emerges from the darkness. The pastor calmly tells the creature there's no need to chase after Lloyd's group, but he orders heightened security, emphasizing they can't afford distractions now that the crucial day draws near. The following day, Jiriel starts showing Lloyd's friends how to use the Luxa spell, and Lloyd says he needs them for his research, so he asks Jiriel to open a path for them that skips the usual ritual process. Jiriel isn't exactly thrilled about having to teach them Luxa, but Lloyd ignores that and points out that his appearance makes him stand out and asks if he can shrink down like Grimm. In response, Jiriel morphs into a bird and asks for Lloyd's opinion, but Lloyd ignores him like background noise. Jiriel then goes on to explain that Escher used a purification class divine sorcery, the kind that heals wounds and wipes out evil beings. But before they could discuss it further, the thugs that Lloyd teleported them to nowhere did actually find their way back, and they were shocked to see Lloyd there. They start hurling threats, but it's revealed they work for Galilei, who tries to make amends by offering to cut his own finger because of what they did earlier. Talia then comments on the poor manners of Lordost's people, while Crow notes that they just follow whoever's strongest. The thugs can't figure out why everyone's treating Lloyd well, so they just move to attack him. But Lloyd casts his glow spell, which instantly changes their attitude, and they backtrack and apologize for everything. They even promise to apologize to Saria and Escher as well. And hearing that, Jiriel realizes those idiots had put their hands on them, so he moves to butcher their sorry asses. But Grimm stops the angry bird, and curiously wonders why Ren and Babylon didn't recognize the thugs. So Talia explains it's because they haven't been with the group recently. We then see Babylon in the church, and everyone is glad he stayed because his cooking is absurdly good. The pastor isn't happy that Lloyd left after a day, and we learn Jiriel also taught Babylon divine sorcery, but Lloyd told him to take care of everything while he's gone. Then when Lloyd comes back home, Jiriel is pleased he chose to stick around, saying his life is incredible. Then out of nowhere, another Lloyd appears, leaving Jiriel baffled, so Grimm clears things up, explaining it's actually a wooden doll Lloyd made to take care of simple chores. Lloyd then says they should go hunt ghouls, explaining that fighting undead is the perfect way to test divine sorcery, and he knows exactly where to find them. Right then, Silpha shows up, and when he invites her to join the ghoul hunt, she instantly gets ready to go. Not long after, they make their way to the Great Dean Bridge, a spot rumored to have ghoul activity, but Ren has a hard time believing any are hiding there since the place looks full of life. Lloyd then asks if Silpha can use her senses to locate their nest, but she says no because the stench of their rotting flesh is too similar to regular food waste. Out of nowhere, Saria and Escher show up and invite Lloyd to join them for pancakes. Grimm reminds him they still have ghouls to deal with, but Lloyd chooses pancakes without a second thought. At the restaurant, Grimm is surprised to see him this excited, and Lloyd claims pancakes are so good they might as well be magic. Saria even gives him tips on the best way to eat them, and Grimm catches on that they share the same taste in food. Everyone digs in. Then Escher asks Lloyd and Silpha what brought them to town, and they explain they're here on a ghoul hunt. Escher reveals that countless people have been sheltering in the church after being attacked by ghouls and points out the areas where they've been seen. She also notes that the adventurers sent to wipe them out never came back, which leaves Lloyd wondering what happened to them. Saria worries their upcoming recital could be cancelled, and when Ren asks if she'll sing again, Escher says the performance will be massive since both the king and the pope plan to attend. After that, Ren is determined to get rid of the ghouls because she doesn't want them ruining everyone's lives. Silpha then says the bridge is where most sightings happen, but Ren still doubts they're hiding there, so Lloyd figures they could be using the sewers instead. Silpha comments on the awful smell, but Lloyd insists they check it out because he's concerned about the missing adventurers and explains that he first heard about the ghouls from another adventurer. At that moment, Tao suddenly threw her arms around him, thinking he was worried about her. Silpha smacks her and bluntly says he's only here to test his divine sorcery on the ghouls, so she's just a second goal. Lloyd then starts thinking the ghouls might be using the sewers as their hideout, but Tao explains she couldn't find anything useful and ended up getting lost in the muck, and she only managed to get out the moment she sensed his presence like a beacon. She adds that she can't channel Kai in that place because the air is clogged with miasma, so she seriously considers going home. But Lloyd tells her it won't be a problem and casts his purification class divine sorcery, blasting the tunnels clean and burning off the foul haze. They then start searching the sewers as his friends notice that his magic has polished the whole area, and Tao says the fatigue that was dragging her down is gone, but Grim complains the holy glow is stabbing him in the eyes. Tao realizes she can channel Kai again now that the air is actually breathable, so she fires up her detection skill to comb the corridors, and she manages to pinpoint the ghouls' hideout. She throws on a maid outfit for the bit and leads everyone straight there, where Shiro starts checking corners. But he steps outside Lloyd's spell and immediately gasps for air because of the damn miasma. He keeps pressing on anyway, and Lloyd figures he can't pick up any scent that helps, so he considers switching to a detection skill, but Tao cuts him off, demanding to know how he keeps copying her technique like it's his. Silpha clips her again and they start squabbling, while Tao asks why Silpha didn't bring her sword, and Silpha says she wants to keep it spotless. Tao then decides this is the perfect chance to challenge her, but Silpha isn't into it, so Tao raises the stakes and says the winner gets a date with Lloyd, which makes Silpha enter on the spot, and Ren casually adds that she wants him too. Then a swarm of ghouls barrels after Shiro, and Tao announces the rule that whoever racks up the most kills wins the game, so the girls square up and get ready to shred. So Lloyd suddenly channels his divine sorcery to shape Luxa weapons on the fly, because he wants the girls to test them in battle. Tao then charges forward, cutting down 4 ghouls in quick succession, but Silpha suddenly swoops in and starts stealing her kills, and before long, she matches Tao's score. Tao tells her to quit tailing her, but Silpha claims she's just trying out her Luxa weapon. She then points out that Tao's kills don't even count since she isn't using her Luxa gauntlet. That sparks an argument, and soon they're chasing each other's targets just to snatch the points. They seem evenly matched, but Ren is falling behind, mostly because she's fighting at a laid-back pace. Then it hits her. She wants that date with Lloyd too, so she enchants her blade with poison to boost its damage. But the moment she swings at a ghoul, her knife snaps apart. Lloyd quickly figures out that divine sorcery weakens when it's altered, but he thanks her anyway for sparking an idea. He hands her a new weapon, which she assumes is identical to the last one, but when she slashes a ghoul with it, the creature crumbles instantly. She realizes it's been infused with poison, so Lloyd explains he tweaked his divine sorcery, while Grim clarifies that the blade isn't actually poisonous. The purifying magic spreads through the wound after even the smallest cut. Grim also realizes that divine sorcery is on the verge of evolving now that Lloyd is experimenting with it. The girls keep cutting through the ghouls, and before long, their scores are neck and neck. The pace heats up as the horde thins out, but before they can finish the fight, a massive monster bursts onto the scene and sends them all flying. Meanwhile, we see the mysterious man has the pastor by the throat, saying security in the area needs to be tightened. He then orders a wraith to possess the pastor's body so it can freely move around inside the church. But Escher sees this unfold, so she panically demands to know what the hell the man thinks he's doing. Then we see that the girls got back on their feet, and Tao immediately rushed forward, ready to strike, but before she could reach the enemy, a thin thread extended from the monster, and her legs suddenly froze in place. Confused, she found herself sitting on the ground, unsure how it happened. As the creature moved in to grab her, Silpha swooped in and saved her just in time. Tao tried to explain what had just occurred, but Silpha revealed that her arms were also feeling numb and unresponsive. That's when Tao realized neither of them understood what was going on with their bodies. The monster then launched one of its threads toward Lloyd. He caught it in his hand without hesitation, and the creature immediately sensed the immense strength radiating from him. But before it could react, the girls launched a coordinated sneak attack, but the monster narrowly avoided it. While examining the thread he'd grabbed, Lloyd quickly identified it as a spinal cord fiber. Ren confirmed she could see the threads too, and revealed she recognized the creature because she had heard about him before. Flashback time, and Jade is seen telling Ren about a terrifying entity entity called the neuron blighted, and this being generates spinal threads directly from his body, infused with mana. When those threads made contact with someone's limbs, they disrupted their motor control, allowing the blighted to manipulate their movements. According to Jade, his entire body was laced with these threads, each designed for swift counters and evasive maneuvers through their mana signatures. And during the Civil War, he was deployed as a living weapon and butchered everyone he came across, friend or foe. They tried to eliminate him, but even a shot to the heart couldn't stop him. So in the end, they blasted him off a cliff, sending him into the ocean, where his body sank, still violently thrashing the entire way down. Back in the present, the girls observed the same spinal threads emerging from the blighted. Sylpha questioned how he was still moving, considering he should be dead, so Ren speculated it might be due to some sort of automatic response. But Lloyd disagrees because he doesn't believe the blighted is just some reanimated corpse. After all, the way he moves shows he still has traces of his old memories. The girls go in for another attack, and Tao says they just need to stay away from the threads, but they quickly realize the strands are everywhere, and all of them hit the ground hard. We then cut to a shadowy figure, as the Wraith speaks to him, saying it wants to take over Escher's body because it finds her so damn hot. The man casually tells the Wraith to go ahead, but as the Wraith begins the possession, Babylon suddenly appears and destroys it in a single strike, and also drives a blade into the man's arm, offering to guide him, saying he looks lost, but the man coolly replies that he has no need for directions, and right then, he transforms his arm into something monstrous. At the same time, the girls recover and the blighted lashes out with his threads again, but they manage to evade every single one, quickly closing the gap between them. However, he blocks all of their strikes and sends both Tao and Ren flying with a couple of heavy punches. Sylpha then attempts to pierce him with her blade, but he grabs it with both hands, giving her just enough time to note that now his hands are tied up. Ren follows up by unleashing her poisonous butterflies, and Jihariel immediately points out that toxins have no effect on ghouls, but then the blighted suddenly weaken. Lloyd observes that the poison wasn't a standard one, it was a neurotoxin. He explains that the spinal threads are tied directly to the blighted's nervous system, so once he's paralyzed, he loses control over them. But Ren warns them that the effect won't last long, and they have to finish it now. So Tao rushes in and begins hammering him with strikes, but pauses when one of his spinal cords whips out, and she barely manages to avoid getting hit. The threads slice through everything they touch, and he lashes out again. But she activates her skill, grabs the cords midair, and flings him straight at Sylpha. Sylpha gets ready for the final blow, declaring that she'll send him to the other side, where he can finally be at peace, and she activates her Lion's Roar ability to end it once and for all. The blast sends him flying, and Ren assumes they got him, but Sylpha senses he's still alive, since he managed to reactivate his automatic reflexes right before her attack landed. We then see the blighted fleeing, thinking about enjoying himself on the surface for a while before returning to his master. But Lloyd suddenly appears and blows his leg off. The blighted panics when he sees him and starts remembering the life he had before his death, one filled with suffering and misery, and that's when he became a wraith. Back then, he was too weak to take over people with strong bodies, and he thought he'd never get revenge on those who made his life hell. Then he met his master, who offered the monster's body, and to his surprise, the body accepted him without resistance. He asked what his master wanted in return, but the answer was simple. He was free to use the vessel however he wanted, so he hunted down and slaughtered everyone who tormented him when he was alive. But after fulfilling that vengeance, he was left without direction, so he returned to the one person who gave him purpose. His master welcomed him back, and in that moment, the blighted understood that his master had become the center of his entire world. Back in the present, Lloyd calls upon his Luxa, summoning a colossal angel to the battlefield. The blighted stares in disbelief, overwhelmed by the sheer strength radiating from him, and briefly considers retreating. But then he thinks of his master, realizing Lloyd poses a real danger to him, and decides he has no choice but to fight. He sews his leg back together and charges forward, weaving past the angel's massive strikes, though he loses an arm in the process. Still, he grits his teeth, insisting he can keep going. He pushes ahead and manages to close the gap between them, only to crash straight into Lloyd's barrier, where it becomes clear he never stood a real chance. As he collapses, one of the angels gently catches him, and Lloyd feels a sense of relief, glad the blighted has finally stopped acting purely on reflex. The blighted looks up, confused about why Lloyd let him live, and Lloyd replies that he intends to study him because he finds him fascinating. Then he's taken aback when the blighted actually speaks, speaks, and he tells him he should have spoken up earlier because if he'd known, he might have held back a bit more. Anyway, Lloyd starts asking him questions about his life, saying he genuinely wants to understand him better, and he extends his hand in friendship. The Blighted is moved by this unexpected kindness, and as he reaches out and grasps Lloyd's hand, tears begin streaming down his face. Grimm and Jihariel commend him for not backing down against Lloyd, and it hits him just how much bravery it took to stand his ground. He thinks back on all his previous suffering and realizes that none of it compares to what he just faced, and he never believed he'd be able to touch Lloyd's hand, so he's overcome with gratitude. Then he remembers his master had once given him a marble containing the divine incantation Luma Maxima, a spell that would obliterate his body if ever triggered, but without warning, it activates, and his body disintegrates instantly, and the mysterious man senses that one of his own has fallen. Grimm is injured by the explosion, and Lloyd heals him on the spot. Jihariel questions how the Blighted was even able to use Luma Maxima, pointing out it's an elite spell accessible to only the rarest beings. Lloyd then remembers hearing the Blighted's fading voice urging him to deal with his master, so Lloyd draws the blade embedded in the Blighted's skull, wondering just who he meant. Meanwhile, Babylon tells Escher to flee with the pastor, and firmly instructs her not to call for reinforcements, and she obeys, carrying the pastor away from danger. Babylon quietly hopes she won't drag anyone else into the mess, because in his eyes, no one out there would be able to make a difference. As the man continues to stand still, silently staring at the ground, Babylon wonders why he hasn't moved yet, secretly wishing he stays like that long enough for him to bolt once Escher's safe. But the man suddenly lashes out with his arm, forcing Babylon to leap back, and he recalls how Lloyd had taken note of the man earlier. Lloyd explained that he trusted Babylon's gut, since he spent his life evading death and developed a kind of sixth sense for lethal threat. He mentioned it might have nothing to do with sorcery, but Lloyd isn't so sure, and he had placed a hand on Babylon's chest and simply told him to take care of things until he returned. Babylon then weaves through the man's attacks, but questions why he doesn't feel fear, even though he knows his opponent outmatches him. So he figures Lloyd must have cast some kind of enhancement on him. Taking advantage of the moment, he maneuvers behind the man, realizing that physical strikes won't do any good, so he casts his glow spell in an attempt to reach the man's heart. But with his mana pool too low to finish it in one go, he keeps firing off the spell in rapid bursts, hoping that the blinding light will stop the man from attacking. However, in a sudden twist, the man drives a weapon straight through Babylon's chest because he had located him by scent. Babylon crashes to the ground, wounded and unable to continue. But despite the injury, it becomes clear that his efforts weren't in vain because he successfully bought enough time for Escher to escape. But then Babylon suddenly springs back to his feet, and we find out that he managed to contort his body using his extreme flexibility to slip past the man's strike. He can also manipulate his muscle fibers to the brink, generating a devastating amount of power, but his opponent is far too strong, and the strain of his attacks ends up hurting himself more than the target. He unleashes everything he's got, going full force, but the man effortlessly knocks him aside. Taking interest in Babylon's physique, the man activates his own Luxa and conjures a storm of spectral swords. Meanwhile, a group of adventurers is gathered inside the guild, taking shelter from the downpour, when Escher suddenly bursts in with the pastor. Katerina, the receptionist, immediately asks if she's alright, and a few of the adventurers offer their help. But Escher recalls Babylon's warning not to involve anyone else, so she lies and says the pastor just slipped in the rain. She asks them to care for him, then hurries off, determined to find some way to rescue Babylon. As she runs, she pleads with God for aid, offering her own life in return, but eventually stumbles and collapses. Just as she begins to sink into hopelessness, Lloyd appears, casually mentioning he was headed to the guild. In a burst of emotion, she cries out and begs him to save Babylon, but then immediately questions herself for doing so. Embarrassed, she tells him to ignore her words, but in the blink of an eye, Lloyd vanishes. Elsewhere, we see Babylon impaled by the man's summoned blades, and Lloyd, arriving too late, realizes he didn't make it in time. We cut to Babylon's consciousness as he begins to fade, though he's comforted by the fact that Escher was able to escape. He notices Jade and would love to grab a drink with him, but suddenly hears Escher's voice singing. That melody pulls him back, and he realizes it's not his time to go, so he follows the sound and awakens. The moment he regains consciousness, everyone around him is filled with joy. But Escher collapses from exhaustion, having spent all her energy healing him. It's revealed that 3 days have passed since Lloyd carried Babylon back. He and Jihariel had cast healing magic on him for over 10 hours, but Babylon is told to thank Escher most of all, as she never left his side. Lloyd then questions him about what happened back at the church. Babylon recounts the battle with the mysterious man, and Jihril is stunned that a creature like him could also wield Luxa. Babylon describes how he tried using the glow spell to reach his heart, but it did not affect him. So that leads Lloyd to conclude the man likely doesn't believe he's done anything wrong, since purification spells only work when guilt is present in the heart. Afterward, they speak with the pastor and try to make sense of the man's intentions, especially since he mentioned something about boosting security. Lloyd suggests they return to the church garden to investigate further, so the group heads back and sees that the repair work is coming along nicely. He thanks Tao for standing guard over the church and asks if anything unusual happened, and she says that Katarina dropped by earlier. At that moment, Katarina shows up clearly irritated and reveals that she contacted the church's central office and gave them a full description of the man. The Pope inquires about the situation, prompting his aide to explain that the man had used Luxa. This sparks panic among the priests, who find it unthinkable that someone with their powers could be some kind of beast. They question the origin of the claim, and the woman says it came from Babylon, but then reminds them he's a former criminal. The priests dismiss his testimony, insisting there must be solid proof if such accusations are to be taken seriously. She adds that the guild is powerless to intervene, but Lloyd believes the solution is simple. They need to uncover that proof themselves. They begin digging through the garden, but the pastor hesitates, explaining that the area is sacred ground used for burying beloved pets, so they shouldn't disturb it. Lloyd considers using Shiro's sense of smell, but for some reason, Shiro appears to be keeping his distance. Crow then steps up and uses his cursed speech to ask nearby crows for assistance in the search, and soon Saria joins the group. She's relieved to see Escher unharmed, but scolds her for skipping their music session and punishing her by tapping out a Beethoven piece on her legendary melon. And after the epic piece is over, she asks if Escher is ready for the upcoming recital. But Babylon points out she might still be a target, and suggests calling it off. So Saria decides she'll go on stage solo. Soon after, the crows flock to a specific stone tile, which creaks open to reveal a hidden tunnel entrance. Lloyd notices that the doorway is built from a rare type of wood that suppresses both mana and kai, explaining why no one had discovered it before. As a strange odor fills the air, Crow warns Escher to stay behind, but she pleads with them to let her come. Babylon reminds her that she's still at risk, but before he can argue further, Talia yanks him away. She cheerfully admits she's become an Escher fan and doesn't want this incident to discourage her. Then as Escher walks into the tunnel, she reflects on the fear she still carries and how she must conquer it if she ever wants to move forward and sing again. Meanwhile, Shiro, who had been too frightened to act, gathers his courage after watching Escher and follows her down. Before long, the entire group is left stunned as they stumble upon a hidden laboratory filled with horrifying experiments. Escher was shaken to the core, and Silpha figured they had stumbled right into the man's den. But the others believed he wouldn't return after the stunt he pulled in the garden. Ren pointed out that one of the test subjects looked like the ghouls they fought in the sewers, and Silpha noticed another one with a claw. So Lloyd assumed the bastard used some kind of synthesis to forge monsters. He elaborates, saying the method involves using tissue from living beings to cultivate new limbs, and guesses that it might have been an effort to merge wraiths with humans. But Escher was horrified that this nightmare had been happening right beneath the church. Silpha realized the creatures they fought weren't real ghouls at all but twisted experiments, basically chimeras. Lloyd thought the guy was scum, but he still burned with excitement to see the body he created, believing it was the peak of his research. Silpha and Galilei wanted the lab wiped out, and Lloyd wasn't thrilled to hear it, so he tried to talk them down. But before anyone could respond, a beast lunged at them, and Crow immediately unleashed his cursed speech to shield the group. And that's when they realized the monster was a Lamia. Lloyd urges Crow not to kill her, but she kept striking at them. Lloyd then notices she is casting an air-type spell, so he orders Galilei to cover everyone with his web. Crow then uses his ability to open a path through the chaos for him and Ren rushes in to hit the Lamia, but a barrier flung her back. Galilei thought they didn't stand much of a chance, but Crow tapped into his recitation loop, shattered the barrier, and dropped her with his cursed speech. Everyone was stunned he managed it, and Ren pointed out that his control had clearly leveled up since he learned how to master it. Lloyd revealed the Lamia was still human, even if half her body was monstrous, and everyone was disgusted that the man experimented on her while she was alive. Ren quietly asks what they can do to help her, and Crow gets ready to end her suffering. But Escher intervenes, stepping in and softly telling the Lamia not to be afraid. The Lamia strikes Escher in response, but Escher understood the reaction because she knows all too well what it feels like to be paralyzed by fear. Wondering what she could do to reach the Lamia's heart, Escher suddenly hears Saria's piano playing from above, so she began to sing her song to the Lamia. Nobody can wrap their heads around how she's still going, especially after she spent 12 straight hours singing to heal Babylon, and it's clear she's not using divine sorcery anymore because she's totally drained. They all wonder how the hell she's even upright, completely wiped out like that. But her voice gently reaches the Lamia, who starts to remember hearing that same song echoing through the lab while she was trapped in those brutal experiments. That melody was the one thing that kept her sane in the middle of all that torment, and it even made the bastard pause during his torture. She starts apologizing through her tears, saying she's still human underneath it all. As she breaks down, Escher pulls her into a hug and quietly says sorry for never being able to save her, even though she was always so close. Later on, Albert finds out about the secret lab underground, and Lloyd notices the Lamia can't remember her name anymore, guessing it's probably a side effect from all the awful things they did to her. But he figures she was once an adventurer, and Galilei agrees that it makes sense, especially with her ability to use magic. She's convinced she can't live a normal life looking the way she does now. But Galilei straight up invites her to come live with them in Lordost, where she can have a real life, and that offer actually brings a bit of light back to her face. Lloyd, still curious, asks her about the guy behind all this, and she hands him a rosary the man left behind in the lab and admits she doesn't know much, just that he seemed to have a deep hatred for the divinities. Lloyd then gives her the lab notes he collected, and Escher instantly says she shouldn't read any of it. But Lloyd gently tells her that maybe, just maybe, there's something in there that can help turn her back. He explains that her body's still functioning thanks to some crazy complicated mana patterns, stuff he can't even begin to decode. But he believes she might be able to reverse the damage if she figures them out herself. She takes the notes and promises she'll do whatever it takes to get her old self back. But Escher looks crushed and bolts from the room. Galilei and Crow both promise they've got Lamia's back, and they agree she needs a proper name, so Lloyd calls her Lami. Meanwhile, Escher is shocked to find Saria still hanging around the church, and she tells her she's just on a break from her music rehearsals. Escher then asks if she can sing with her, saying it's the one thing she actually feels good at. That makes Saria smile, and she suggests they turn it into a real show. Later, Albert brings up that the festival probably needs to be shut down, and Escher just snaps. But he reminds her that the psycho is still out there, and it's not safe. While the girls goof around with Shiro, Silver roughs them up a bit and starts thinking hard about what the guy was really aiming for. They all assume he was trying to use the experiments to wreck the festival and assassinate the Pope. That's when Albert finally admits they'll have to cancel the whole thing, even if the townspeople won't be happy about it. Silpha then starts searching for the man's rosary, only to realize that Shiro has been wearing it the whole time. She moves to take it off him, while Escher points out that the one she's holding is silver. Babylon chimes in, saying he remembers the guy wearing a completely different rosary, most likely a replacement after losing the original. But Silpha adds that the one the man had was made of solid gold. The pastor then mentions that only the 11 bishops and the Pope are allowed to wear golden rosaries, which makes Ren ask if the man could actually be a bishop. The pastor immediately shoots the idea down, calling it impossible. But Silpha pushes back, reminding them that the guy could alter his appearance at will. Babylon also remembers seeing him use divine magic without performing a ritual, which could only happen if he had a past. That revelation stuns the pastor, who now believes the man must have been a bishop, since they're the only ones granted permission to cast divine spells freely. Grimm starts to question it, so Jihariel explains that he gave the divine pass to the Pope, who then allowed the bishops to share it, just like Lloyd did when he taught the others how to use divine magic. Later, Albert informs the group that the church has dismissed Babylon's testimony entirely, meaning the festival will continue as planned. He's convinced the Pope's life is now in serious danger, because the church has already been infiltrated. Silpha stresses that time's running out fast, and they have to isolate the Pope from the bishops so they can keep a closer eye on them. Albert agrees, saying it's the only move they've got. But he also warns that they can't rely on anyone who's still in the dark about what's really going on. So it's up to them to keep tabs on the bishops and be ready to act. That night, we shift to one of the bishops, Anastasia, as she stops her sister, who's delivering a sealed letter from Albert. The sister explains it's meant for the Pope directly, but Anastasia takes it anyway and smiles as she reads it herself. She then heads off to a secluded room, opens a hidden door, and steps into a secret passage that leads straight to the man's hideout. Once there, she hands over the letter and tells him what it says, revealing that Albert is planning an inspection of the church's facilities and wants to split the Pope and the bishops into separate groups during the tour. The man suspects the Lamia must have ratted him out, then looks down at the blighted severed arm and says that this is all that remains of him because the rest has been turned to ash. He then absorbs the arm, claiming the creature's power for himself and muttering that nothing can stand in his way now. Then it's revealed that the lab they destroyed was just one of many, and he still has access to more chimeras, and he's fully prepared to launch his twisted plan during the festival. The next day, Pope Gitane arrives with his bishops for the festival, but Silpha informs him that his welcome parade has been called off, and the bishops will each be watched over by members of their squad. Bishop Ganmo blows up at the idea of being split away from Gitane, but the Pope calmly explains that this is Albert's plan to keep them safe after the recent attack. Silpha reassures them that her team will keep them protected and directs them into the carriages waiting to take them to their assigned locations. Once everyone begins moving out, she walks up to Anastasia and tells her she'll be the one acting as her escort. One of the bishops named Bat scoffs and says he doesn't need protection, bragging that he can crush anyone dumb enough to get in his way. Another bishop named Dante cuts him off, saying men shouldn't waste their breath, they should speak with their backs instead. Bats just stares, totally lost at the phrase, so Dante flat out calls him an idiot, which makes Bats boil with rage. Ren steps in, telling Dante it's time to get moving, while Bats mutters that their fight isn't over yet. But Bishop Melissa yanks him toward their carriage before he can start more trouble. Meanwhile, Tao hopes she'd get assigned to guard someone handsome, but ends up stuck with the two bald-headed bishops, Akamaki and Aomaki, leaving her bitterly disappointed. At the same time, Bishop Roseleys recognizes Babylon as the one who reported about the mysterious man posing as a pastor, and he can't believe Babylon suspects the intruder is actually part of the church. Bishop Thor takes it as an insult, while Roseleys presses Babylon for a lead, but Babylon admits he doesn't have one yet. Meanwhile, Talia prepares to depart with Ganmo, who notices she's carrying something. When she reveals it's just a drink to set the mood, he snaps at her, calling her a fool since she's supposed to be on guard duty. At the church, the king stands with Albert, noting that Gitane should be arriving soon. The king says he's eager to see him again, since they go way back as friends. Albert argues that splitting the bishops is the smartest option, because if the intruder really is hiding among them, then he won't be able to get close enough to assassinate the Pope. Not long after, Gitane's carriage pulls in, and the king warmly greets him, saying he's been looking forward to this meeting. As the final preparations for the festival get underway, Albert can't shake the worry that something could go wrong, especially with security being so thin and with weapons forbidden at the event. We then flash back to a conversation where Albert warned the king about the mysterious man, but the king didn't recognize the description and pointed out it was far too late to cancel the festival. He told Albert he'd have to wait until it was over before launching an investigation, though he agreed to tighten security for the day itself. Back in the present, Albert silently hopes that nothing goes wrong so that the celebration can play out peacefully and everyone gets to head home unharmed. Meanwhile, a group of guys nearby can't take their eyes off Silpha, clearly finding her attractive, and Anastasia casually remarks that she's drawing quite a bit of attention. Silpha, however, can't shake the uneasy feeling that Anastasia might be working with the enemy because there's something dangerous about her vibe. She then remembers when Anastasia told her to change out of her outfit. Silpha said she didn't have anything else to wear, but Anastasia lifted her skirt and discovered she'd been hiding a sword, so she told her to ditch the weapon and switch to a shorter dress instead. Silpha realized then just how sharp Anastasia really was, and silently prayed she wasn't on the wrong side. Anastasia, for her part, mentioned that Silpha seemed competent enough even without the sword, though she might struggle to pull things off. Still, she shrugged it off, thinking it wouldn't matter anyway because nothing could stop what was about to unfold. Suddenly, the ground began to rumble, but most people thought it was just a part of the show. But Albert immediately sensed something was off, and then a towering monster emerged right near the church. Chaos broke out as people panicked, while Gitane calmly declared that the gate to hell had been opened, and everything was happening exactly as planned. We then flash back to a memory when a group of pastors visited Gitane at his home. They inform him he's been selected as a candidate for Pope and ask if he's willing to go through the ritual. he agrees to join them, and they explain that they'll bathe him in Luma Maxima to see if he's worthy of becoming the next pope. They then cast their spell, but nothing happens, and Gitane calmly notes that his soul holds no shadows, and with that, the pastors applaud and crown him. But in truth, he can feel a heavy darkness festering inside him, so vile that even the divinities themselves couldn't erase it. Back in the present, Gitane admits that his original plan was to flood the church with chimeras, but Albert ruined that by taking down the lab. Still, he says it doesn't matter because his army is already pouring into the city through a massive hole. Albert is struck with horror, realizing the Pope is the villain, and curses himself for choosing to protect him instead of his own father. Gitane goes on, declaring that he will wipe out anyone who follows the will of the deity. He sees the teachings of the divine as flawed, and he believes there's nothing wrong with killing or stealing so long as the motive behind it feels right. Out of nowhere, Jihariel calls out to him, asking what the hell he is doing. So Gitane responds by saying he wanted the deity to descend to the mortal world. So he tore through everything in a frenzy to provoke him. But even that wasn't enough to make the deity show his face. Jihariel, clearly disturbed, asks what pushed him down this path, but Gitane refuses to explain. Instead, he grabs Albert and the king, taking them hostage. The king quietly says that when he saw the photo earlier, it reminded him of Gitane's son, and he asks if losing him is what made Gitane change. But Gitane just asks if those are the last words he wants to say, then moves in to kill him, calmly declaring that he'll send the entire royal bloodline straight to the heavens. But before he can strike, everyone is suddenly teleported to safety. Jihariel tells Gitane he's about to face his reckoning because Lloyd has arrived. Gitane instantly remembers the first time they crossed paths, how his whole body tensed just sensing Lloyd's presence. Now, as Lloyd stands before him again, Gitane readies for the fight, convinced that killing him will be the final step into full-blown darkness. We then cut to the royal palace, where Diane is stunned to see everyone suddenly appear. The king, confused but unharmed, tries to make sense of what just happened. Albert suggests that the enemy must have taken Gitane's form, and the king agrees, concluding that the church has fallen into enemy hands. So he wastes no time and orders his soldiers to prioritize protecting the citizens. Back at the church, Gitane realizes Lloyd is suppressing his mana to stay hidden. Lloyd then commands Grimm and Jihariel to go support the city's defenders. Jihariel says he'd prefer to fight Gitane himself, but Lloyd tells him he's out of his league. Grimm then recalls that Lloyd mentioned Gitane is also concealing his mana, so that makes Grimm realize that Gitane's power is on par with a damn demon lord. He then warns Lloyd not to do anything reckless, and after Lloyd promises to be careful, Grimm and Jihariel head out. Gitane tries to stop them by unleashing his holy blades, but Lloyd fires off a searing wave of flame that forces Gitane to block. Lloyd then channels more mana and upgrades the flame into a beam of radiant energy, punching straight through Gitane's defenses, though Gitane narrowly deflects it. But suddenly Lloyd vanishes from view and reappears behind him, landing a flurry of brutal kicks before summoning spears of divine light that pierce straight into Gitane, launching him skyward by the force of the attack. And both Grimm and Jihariel look on in shock at Lloyd's overwhelming strength, while Lloyd declares that Gitane has crossed the damn line. At the same time, chaos erupts as the monsters begin tearing through the city, and one of them hurls a carriage that's about to crush a bystander, but Galilei steps in just in time to save them. Standing ready to face the creatures alongside Talia, he notes that everything is unfolding exactly how Lloyd predicted. The scene then cuts to a few days earlier, where Lloyd offers to participate in the upcoming musical event. Albert finds the request a bit strange, especially since the group had been focused on how best to safeguard the Pope. But Lloyd casually says everything will be fine after all. He's not exactly suited for bodyguard work. Albert realizes he's right, figuring Lloyd would be safest remaining within the church. Grimm then questions what's really on Lloyd's mind, prompting him to explain his suspicions. The Pope might actually be behind it all. He has way too much free time and more than enough funds to have built the hidden laboratory. With that, Lloyd announces his plan to wait at the church for the situation to erupt, and tells the others to rest while they still have the chance. Back in the present, Gitane realizes Lloyd isn't just a regular royal. Drawing on his curse swords, he shatters his restraints and breaks free. Grimm and Jihariel are stunned that he's still standing, so Grimm quickly points out that they have to eliminate all the chimera in town. Jihariel wonders if Lloyd needs help from them, so Grimm explains that Gitane could rival Lloyd's power. and their best move is to quickly eliminate the chimeras so they can hurry back to assist him. Meanwhile, Jitane declares that he no longer has any loyalty to Jihuriel or the king because he now sees Lloyd as a divine being, and by destroying Lloyd, he believes he'll fully fall into darkness, but Lloyd simply tells him to bring it on with a B word. Elsewhere, Lloyd's allies gather around the messenger crows and realize the Pope is the true culprit. Ren suspects the other bishops might be in on it too, and she begins to suspect Dante is a chimera himself, noting the stitches across his face. Just then, a monster appears behind her, but a bishop quickly purifies it. Grateful, Ren thanks him and asks for his name, but he begins acting disturbingly weird. Acting on instinct, she drops him with a poisoned punch, only to realize too late that she might have made a mistake. It was purely a reflex. At the same time, Anastasia suddenly launches an attack on Silpha, who grabs a nearby pole to defend herself, and Anastasia admits she planned to behead her during the confusion. Silpha gets disgusted by such behavior and thinks Anastasia is unfit to wear the title of bishop. But Anastasia declares that she was already planning to do that, so Silpha knows she was right about her from the start. We then return to Galilee's group as they dodge waves of fiery projectiles, realizing that their opponent possesses an absurd level of mana. The Chimera then introduces himself as Grim, and Ganmo freezes in disbelief because he recognizes the name. Grim is the fabled demon who once devastated an entire kingdom before being sealed away. Convinced that they're all doomed now that the seal has broken, Ganmo panics, but Galilee and Talia are confused as to why he's so afraid, since Grim doesn't seem hostile at all. Meanwhile, Crow and Bats are sprinting through the streets with monsters on their tail. Crow worries aloud whether the church will be alright, and Bats replies confidently that they'll be fine because with Melissa there, they have nothing to fear. He adds that she's incredible, though he quickly boasts that he's still stronger. But when he looks back, he realizes Crow isn't even paying attention. Crow is deep in thought, studying the situation and noticing that his messenger birds near the town center are acting abnormally. Crow then scales a nearby building for a better view, and what he sees leaves him stunned. Bats soon climbs up after him, only to freeze at the sight of a double S-ranked dragon tearing through the city. Unsure what to do, Bats turns to speak, but Crow suddenly vanishes from sight. Looking ahead, he spots him already charging toward the beast. Bats then recalls Dante's words, "Real men speak through their backs," and suddenly understands what that meant. Grinning, he draws his weapon and charges into battle, shouting that this fight will be his next step toward becoming a great bishop. Elsewhere, Tao lunges at the Chimera, but the creature catches her midair and slams her into the ground. He assumes she's dead, confident that his Rakaken martial art kills in a single strike. The bishops gasp in horror and rush to check on her, but the Chimera snarls a threat to slaughter them too, forcing them to stand their ground. Then to his shock, Tao rises to her feet. The Chimera looks down and realizes one of his 6 hands is missing, so Tao smirks and reveals that she used it to cushion her fall. Recognizing the name Rakaken, Tao recalls it as a lost martial art that vanished after a single generation when its founder Chakra failed to find a successor. She then deduces that Chakra's very soul must be possessing the Chimera's body. The creature confirms it, boasting that he perfected his style after gaining this monstrous form and its 6 arms. Tao asks why he's so obsessed with power and admits that she trains relentlessly too, but only because she wants to be admired. The Chimera calls her insane, but she fires back, saying he's even worse for throwing away his humanity just to grow stronger. Tao then pulls the ties from her hair, declaring she won't lose to someone who's forsaken what it means to be human. Seeing her stance, the Chimera narrows his eyes. He recognizes it instantly. It's the 100-flower fist technique, a style he once fought against long ago. We then cut to a memory of Chakra, moments after his defeat at the hands of the master of the 100-flower fists. The master encouraged him not to give up, that one loss didn't define him, but Chakra's mind was too rigid for hope. He chose to forsake his humanity in exchange for superhuman strength, and to this day, he has no regrets. Back in the present, he sees Tao bracing to charge again and scoffs, calling her a fool. He prepares to catch her mid-attack and slam her down, just as before. But Tao channels her energy and blasts forward with stunning speed. As she races toward him, Chakra recalls the pain of begging others to become his disciples, only to be rejected. No one wanted to follow the man who had lost to the 100-flower master. They told him to shut down his school, and with that, he realized Rakaken had come to its end. With nothing left, he chose to end his own life. Consumed by bitterness, he passed with rage in his heart and became a wraith. That's when Gwitain approached him, offering a second chance, a new body, and a purpose. Tao then lands a crushing strike that jerks Chakra's focus back to the present. She presses the assault, hammering him again and again as he struggles to keep up. Despite all his enhancements, he's still no match for the 100-flower fists. She ultimately takes him down, and the bald bishops erupt in cheers. But their celebration is short-lived because they realize the win came at a brutal cost, as Tao had to rip apart his limbs just to bring him down. They marvel at her strength, defeating a being who gave up his very soul for power. Chakra, still conscious, asks what she thinks of Rakeikin. Tao replies honestly, his technique was impressive. She points out that he's still trying to grab her even now, and praises him for never quitting. Hearing this, Chakra breaks down in tears. As his form begins to fade, he realizes that all he ever wanted was someone to acknowledge his effort. At the same time, the battle rages on as the mage continues his onslaught against Galilee's group. Talia tries using her powers, but they have no effect on the chimeras. Galilee begins strategizing, instructing the bishops to defend the church while Talia backs him up with divine magic. He intends to trap the enemies in his web, but the mage scoffs and claims it's pointless. He boldly declares that he's the legendary Grimm. Talia then snaps back, telling him to quit the act because they already know he's a fake. Galilee, however, has doubts. The version of Grimm he's met is far too sweet and gentle, which makes him wonder if that one might be the impersonator instead. So Talia considers it that maybe he's right. But before the imposter mage can make his next move, a mysterious voice interrupts, followed by a brutal kick that knocks the mage's head clean off. The real Grimm has arrived, and with a wave of his hand, he fires a massive beam that wipes out the chimeras in an instant. Everyone stares, stunned by his overwhelming power. Grimm, though, just sighs because he's disappointed. The wraith wasn't even a proper demon. He instructs Galilee to purify the remains and begins flying off. Talia, still curious, asks the wraith who he really was. So the creature replies simply that he was just a mage who admired Grimm. Realizing she was tricked, Talia wastes no time and immediately purifies his ass on the spot. Then they're left wondering if that boy is truly the real Grimm. High above the battlefield, Gwitain collides with Lloyd in midair, thrilled by the encounter. He can't see any ceiling to Lloyd's strength, but he believes he still has the upper hand thanks to his unique abilities. Meanwhile, down below, Rosalie's attempts to slice through a pig-headed monster, only to realize its hide is incredibly durable. Thor and Babylon jump in to assist, but the pig regenerates instantly. No matter how many times they strike it down, it continues to rebuild itself, and even grows tougher each time. The monster finally speaks, claiming to be something far more than what they think, but even it doesn't fully understand how its body functions. That's when Babylon realizes it's not a chimera at all. But before he can say more, the pig launches a devastating punch, sending him flying through buildings. As Babylon wonders why he's always getting knocked around, the pig-like beast closes in to deliver the final blow. But Babylon tells the pig to stop because he wants to know first why pig like him resents humans so deeply. Thor understands what Babylon is doing and echoes the sentiment, saying he also wants to hear its story, because he believes there's still a chance to steer it in a better direction. Hearing this, the pig agrees to tell them everything. In a flashback, we see that the beast was born in an alchemist's lab. Its creator praises it as a marvel, an organism whose meat will never run out. He slices into it repeatedly, watching the pig regenerate and become even larger than before. Proud of his work, the alchemist names it Mega Meat, believing it could be the key to ending world hunger. The pig is overjoyed, proud to fulfill its purpose. But when the alchemist tastes a sample, he finds the flavor worse than the shit. Declaring it inedible, he gives up on it entirely. Devastated, Mega Meat loses control, burning down the lab and escaping into the night. From then on, he wanders, forcing people to sample his meat, but they all vomit in disgust. Over time, despair takes root. He was created to be eaten, but even worms refuse to touch him. At one point, Gwitain finds him sobbing. Without hesitation, he tears off a piece and eats it. He's intrigued, not by the flavor, which is strange, but by the regenerative quality of the flesh. Gwitain tells Mega Meat that his power was never meant for humans to enjoy. Instead, it's the perfect tool for revenge. He encourages the pig to lash out at those who treated him like livestock and discarded him. Back in the present, Mega Meat declares that humanity will suffer for labeling him inedible. But Babylon recalls a time when he and his guildmates were so poor, they barely had anything to eat. He tells Mega Meat that if they had met back then, he would have been welcomed as a miracle. The pig doubts he'd say that after tasting him, but Babylon makes a promise to find a way to turn him into a proper pork dish. Babylon then gets ready to cook the creature's meat, though Rosalie's hesitates, concerned by the ominous purple aura radiating from it. Thor points out that they don't really have a choice. It's either eat it or die. Babylon notices the flesh is as firm as metal, and Mega Meat assumes he's going to fail because of how tough his body is. But as Babylon gently presses his hand against the surface, the meat suddenly softens like a baby. Babylon then apologizes for hurting him earlier, and in response, the creature covers itself in a layer of crispy breading. Mega Meat can't believe what's happening because it's actually allowing itself to be cooked. Babylon prepares to fry it, but Mega Meat suspects something else will go wrong, thinking the intense odor will overwhelm the place. But as Babylon drops it into the oil, no foul scent escapes, and the cooking goes off without a hitch. He plates the dish and presents it to the bishops, announcing it as a pork cutlet. The bishops admit that it looks surprisingly appetizing, so Mega Meat encourages them to take a bite, promising to change his ways if they can eat it without throwing up. He assumes Babylon simply trapped the foul odor beneath a thick crust, and the bishops look uneasy, worried about what's to come. Still, they go ahead and take a bite. Suddenly, they're blown away by how incredible it tastes, and they imagine themselves enjoying every juicy bite, laughing and having fun. They exclaim that it's incredible, and Mega Meat is in disbelief. He accuses them of lying, but they assure him that the flavor is genuinely amazing, and they can't stop eating. He turns to Babylon, asking how he managed to pull it off. Babylon explains that before cooking, he purified the meat, removing all the negativity and emotional decay built up over time. He tells Mega Meat that he knows he was never evil. He just wanted to help people, but was cast aside and consumed by despair, which twisted his power. Afterward, Babylon shares the dish with everyone, and they all enjoy it, one after another. Overwhelmed, Mega Meat begins to cry because he finally feels accepted. A girl then thanks him for the meal, and he tells her to bring the rest to those waiting in the shelter. Rosalie's then sees potential in this and wants to use the meat to gain followers, so he offers to adopt Mega Meat. The creature declines and instead asks Babylon to purify him fully. Rosalie's warns him that purification will strip away his regeneration, which is tied to his grief and rage, but Mega Meat is okay with that. He says he's fine becoming an ordinary pig and just wants Babylon to eat the best part of him when he dies. With a solemn nod, Babylon uses his purification spell. As the energy flows through him, Mega Meat reflects that he simply wants to nourish the one person who finally understood him. After the ritual, his body transforms into a small, adorable piglet. He walks over to the fireplace, ready to jump in, but Babylon catches him, unable to bring himself to eat him, not to someone who only ever wanted to be loved. At the same time, Sylpha parries Anastasia's strikes, gradually gaining ground as she pushes her back. Anastasia is impressed that Sylpha can hold her own using nothing but a candlestick, though she remarks that Sylpha is nothing compared to her own master. Intrigued, Sylpha expresses interest in learning more about him. Anastasia, aware of Sylpha's renowned past as an adventurer, asks why she gave it all up to become a maid. Sylpha responds that it's because she met someone she wanted to stay beside. The answer catches Anastasia off guard, but she quickly realizes they're both fighting for the ones they serve, and activates her divine sorcery to weave an illusion. Sylpha suddenly finds herself surrounded by towering giants. At first, she believes they're real, and when they begin to attack, she raises her candlestick to defend herself. Though she struggles to keep up with their assault, we glimpse the amulet around her neck and understand she's waiting for the perfect moment to strike when Anastasia lets her guard down. Anastasia watches as Sylpha evades the giants and starts to see a glimpse of nobility and grace in her, something beautiful and dignified. But in contrast, Anastasia sees herself as repulsive and unworthy. She recalls how her master once told her to walk away if she wasn't willing to follow him. Still, she chose to stay by his side. As she reflects, she realizes Sylpha's candlestick has shattered, and she prepares to land the final blow. But before she can strike, Sylpha activates her amulet, summoning Lux's sword. With it in hand, she overwhelms Anastasia with a flurry of strikes. She prepares to end the fight, but her summoned blade fades away at the last moment. Anastasia, stunned, wonders why Sylpha didn't finish her, because she knew that Sylpha dulled the sword on purpose, holding back to avoid killing her. Sylpha explains that Lloyd gave her a marble that lets her recreate her Luxa, knowing the church would confiscate her original weapon. She calls her master both brilliant and brave, but admits she has to scold him now and then, because he tends to mess things up. She also knows he's hiding things from her, and she's willing to wait until he's ready to reveal them. But as she speaks, she realizes her mana is completely drained, and she's shocked that conjuring the Luxa sword cost her that much energy. Anastasia quietly says she could never imagine reprimanding her own master. She believes he's waiting for someone to stop him, but she knows her voice will never reach him. His heart has been swallowed by darkness from something in his past, and she feels helpless to pull him out of it. Sylpha replies that she has no right to judge them, though she hopes that he hears it. Anastasia then expresses a quiet hope that through this battle, someone's voice can reach her master's heart. Soon after, Escher and Saria reach the heart of the burning city. Saria quickly set up the piano and told Escher to get ready for their performance. Meanwhile, amid the raging flames, the dragon continued its rampage, and Bats shielded Crow, urging him to stop using his powers, which were clearly taking a severe toll on his body. But when Bats notices a child about to be crushed, Crow instinctively uses his cursed speech to halt the dragon, allowing Bats to rush in and rescue the boy. However, Crow finally reaches his breaking point, and when Bats tries to speak to him, he gets no response. Elsewhere on the battlefield, Dante casually smokes as chaos unfolds around him. Ren wonders if he's actually one of the villains, but the poison bishop she had earlier attacked begs for help, so she drags him aside to safety. Dante then asks if she knows who's responsible for the destruction, and though she hesitates, unsure of what to say, she ultimately decides to trust him and reveals that Gitane is the one behind it all. Back on the front lines, Lloyd blocks Gitane's incoming blade with a magic barrier, and quickly realizes that his opponent is wielding purification-based sorcery. He notices strange symbols etched into Gitane's swords, and as Lloyd dodges through the air, it dawns on him that Gitane is assigning specific purification targets to each blade. In response, Lloyd fires off a fireball, prompting Gitane to alter one of the sword's symbols, instantly purifying the fire magic on contact. Lloyd observes that each symbol determines what the sword purifies, but switching symbols takes a few seconds, and each must be precisely configured to a specific magic type. He also notices that Gitane can only manage 3 active symbols at any one time. But despite this limitation, Lloyd finds him fascinating, especially his ability to alter the mana patterns of divine beings. Back on the ground, Bats urges the rescued boy to run to the shelter, where his mother is waiting. The dragon then lunges toward Crow, but Bats managed to save him at the last second. He tells Crow the civilians are now safe, and we learn that Crow had used his powers to protect them. Even while in a critical state, Bats suddenly notices the dragon is laughing at them, and angered by its mockery of everything Crow endured, he summons his divine weapon to strike back, but the dragon effortlessly knocks him aside. Furious that it dared to mock everything Crow had endured, Bats struggled to rise as he watches as the beast moves in on Crow again, only for Tao and Sylpha to arrive in the nick of time, driving the monster back. Moments later, the bald bishops rush over and kneel beside Crow, trying desperately to heal him, only to inform Bats with heavy hearts that he was already gone. The dragon then charges up its energy breath, aiming it directly at the girls, but they retaliate with a coordinated strike using their abilities, forcing the blast to miss its mark. Sylpha quickly notices that Tao's hand is injured, but Tao brushes it off, assuring her she'll manage, adding that their top priority is defeating the dragon to save everyone. In a flashback, we learn that from the moment it was born, the dragon instinctively understood that it existed as a servant to Gizarm. Believing its sole purpose was to serve him, it remained loyal and helped him make his way to Lordost. But once Gizarm finally succeeded in obtaining Jade's body, he coldly declared the dragon useless and finished him off. As the creature neared death, Gitane stumbled upon its sliced body. Anastasia then remarks that a demon lord exists within Lordost, and she believes that with Gitane's divine sorcery, he has the power to defeat it. The dragon wonders why these people aren't afraid, even while standing within Gizarm's domain. Gitane explains that purifying a demon lord's heart is impossible because monsters don't act out of malice. Their hearts aren't tainted, and they don't truly understand good or evil. He approaches the dragon, who slowly realizes that this man is its new master. Soon after, Gitane reshapes it into a chimera, instructing it to use its altered form to discover its true identity. The beast realizes much of its body has been replaced with foreign parts, but its mind remains whole. Gitane then tells it to follow him if it has nowhere else to go. and he mentions preparing for something grand, yet admits he's also lost, uncertain about what lies beyond his final goal. Back in the present, the dragon reflects that it's beginning to understand what it truly is. It swings its massive arm down at Tao, but Sylpha sees it's going in for the kill and leaps forward, slicing through its hand with her sword technique. But the dragon retaliated by hammering her into the ground, chuckling as it claimed it was finally enjoying itself. It looked toward Bats, who was pleading with the bishops to save Crow, and realized it was having fun watching their desperation. But when it sets its sights on the nearby shelter, panic breaks out. Tao and Bats rush to intercept, but the dragon swats them aside effortlessly. The people inside realize their moments from death, while Bats cries out for help from anyone, even a devil, and suddenly Grim slams into the dragon with a powerful punch. Shock ripples through the crowd, and Jihariel appears, approaching the bishops and telling Grim he'll handle Crow's healing. The dragon panics the moment it spots Grim, while the girls, clearly confused, ask who the hell he is. Grim casually introduces himself as a wandering adventurer. They point out that his horns look unusual, prompting him to explain that they're just accessories. It's then revealed that Jihariel had instructed him to disguise himself as a human, fearing he might otherwise be mistaken for a chimera. The dragon lunges to grab him, but Grim effortlessly shatters its hand and reassures everyone that Crow will be fine because Jihariel is healing him, and he firmly declares he won't let Crow die. Grim then turns to Tao, asking if there are still civilians nearby. She informs him that all non-combatants have already been evacuated. Hearing this, Grim smirks and launches into combat, aggressively attacking the dragon while mocking it in between blows. He says he heard it laughing while targeting his friends, and points out that a black dragon couldn't have reached the human realm on its own. He concludes it must have been abandoned by its master. Still, he shows no sympathy, remarking that the weak are destined to fall in the netherworld, and their reckless fight has already thrown the city into chaos. Standing atop the dragon's trembling body, Grim remarks that it's so pitiful, he doesn't even feel like finishing it off. He tells it to run away, but the dragon refuses to flee. Instead, it charges up another energy breath. Grim gets ready to activate his skill, and the dragon silently notes that Grim is merciful because he's still offering it a chance to escape. But the dragon doesn't want to retreat. It wants to die as a dragon, and with a final roar, it releases its energy breath, and Grim responds by unleashing his Arctes Obscura, overwhelming it completely. As the dragon begins to disintegrate into ash, it remembers that Gitane had given all his chimeras a special sphere containing Luma Maxima, instructing them to use it only if they wished to pass on. He clarified that using it wouldn't be considered betrayal, since he never saw them as comrades to begin with. Yet the dragon chooses not to activate it. Instead, it feels grateful that Gitane gave it the opportunity to die in battle. Grim then absorbs the dragon's remains and notes that doing so has made him stronger by boosting his mana. But even with this new power, he still doubts he's strong enough to face a demon lord. Jihariel then walks up to him and confirms that Crow has been saved, though he's completely drained and barely able to stand. Grim looks around and remarks that the civilians are finally safe, so he starts flying and says they should ascend above the clouds to reunite with Lloyd and support him in his fight against Gitane. A short while earlier, Gitane witnesses Grim's Arctes Obscura ability and immediately realizes that his chimeras have been defeated. In response, he activates his own spell, the 10 Commandments, causing massive eggs to fall across the city. One of them crashes directly into a shelter, and from it emerges an S-rank chimera, sending the entire crowd into a panic. Gitane casually remarks that all of his chimeras are equally powerful, so Lloyd considers using his teleportation magic to evacuate the area. But Gitane launches a non-stop assault, knowing that if Lloyd can't focus, he can't cast his spell. Meanwhile, on the ground, one of the chimeras overpowers Galilei and destroys his protective web, leaving the city vulnerable as the monsters pour in. Talia observes that this chimera is clearly more powerful than the previous one they faced, and Galilei urges a retreat, believing they're outmatched. At the same time, panic erupts inside the shelter. The civilians rush to the door, pleading with the guards to let them out. Katarina explains that they can't open the gates because there are still monsters swarming outside. One desperate man argues that staying put guarantees death, as this freaking chimera will kill them all if they remain here. The beast then prepares to strike her from behind, but a group of injured adventurers intervenes, shielding her and telling her to run while they hold the creature off. Despair begins to settle in as many start questioning whether the deity they believe in has forsaken them. Back above, Gutane continues his ruthless assault on Lloyd, who still struggles to activate his teleportation spell. Gutane declares that he doesn't believe in any divine being, and questions whether Lloyd truly thinks himself worthy of that title. Elsewhere, Lloyd's companions brace to confront the incoming chimeras, but it's clear that they're already worn down and low on strength. One of the chimeras closes in on Anastasia, who starts to accept that her end might be near. At the same time, Gutane reveals his true ambition, to conquer the nation and reshape its faith, replacing a religion centered around a deity he believes doesn't exist. He admits that such a vision won't come without sacrifice. Suddenly, Escher and Saria begin their performance. It's revealed that Escher's divine sorcery extends the reach of their music, allowing their song to resonate across the entire city. Though the melody lacks magical force, Escher's voice alone is enough to calm the hearts of the frightened people, and even the chimeras freeze in place, mesmerized by the sound. Gutane also halts, his mind pulled back to memories of his past. Lloyd seizes the opportunity and casts his teleportation spell, wiping out the chimeras in one swift move. He coldly states that Gutane's past doesn't concern him. The only thing that matters is the power behind his magic. Lloyd then displays the severed heads of the chimeras and tells Gutane he'll never comprehend the true depths of sorcery. With a steely gaze, he declares that it's time for the final round. Meanwhile, Dante tells Ren that the situation has shifted dramatically, but he suspects the song might be dangerous, pointing out how the chimera's heads began to explode the moment it started playing. He reveals that he knows who's behind this entire catastrophe, and vows to slaughter every last monster. Just then, a chimera attacks him, but he swiftly unleashes his divine sorcery and slices it into pieces. Dante then says he's going to search for Escher, and Ren decides to accompany him, silently questioning why Dante suddenly began hunting chimeras so relentlessly after learning about Gutane. Dante then turns to her and acknowledges that she's been helping the civilians. He even remarks that she's far more useful than the bishop she's dragging around, and casually suggests that she should consider joining the clergy. Ren responds that she's not interested, but Dante adds that he's fond of people with secrets, because a bit of darkness in his eyes is what makes someone truly human. As Dante walks off, Ren has a realization that he's exactly like Jade, and he was clearly set on bringing Gutane down. But he couldn't help but wonder why he hadn't seen that shadow in him before he ever wore the robes of the Pope. In a flashback, we learn that Gutane once lived a happy life with his family, and he used to sing lullabies to his son, despite having a terrible voice. Eventually, he began performing in church, where his songs were accompanied by divine sorcery that inspired the faithful. One day, Jifriel appears and tells him bluntly that he can't stand his voice, though he admits that many people still depend on him. As a result, Jihriel grants Gutane a rare blessing so he can now use divine sorcery without needing a ritual. After becoming a bishop, Gutane encounters a street thug who challenges him, demanding to be purified. Gutane uses his Luxus spell to teach him a lesson and tells him not to depend on purification magic, because even someone drowning in darkness can still overcome it. That thug turns out to be Dante, who after the encounter begins dressing like Gutane, aspiring to follow in his footsteps. The two eventually become close friends. Though they disagreed on the king's politics and debated national issues, they both promised to give their all for the good of their country. Later, Gutane finds Anastasia waiting outside his home and notices she's clearly starving. He invites her in to eat, but as they enter, she quietly explains that her father told her to wait outside. At that moment, Gutane realizes the horrifying truth that his family has been killed. Inside, he finds a stranger greedily eating their food. Consumed by grief, he questions why the deity he served so faithfully did nothing, and he begins to doubt his faith and wrestles with whether to act. Fueled by resentment, he resolved to purify the man, but the man showed no remorse. He kept eating, unmoved by guilt. So Gutane continued casting his glow spell, and eventually the man died of starvation. Only then did Gutane understand that the man's actions weren't evil, and he had only killed out of desperation to survive. Gutane begins to question his own faith, wondering if those considered pure of heart are actually the real monsters, if simply having pure intentions is enough to justify any action. After the incident, his friends approach him, but he assures them he's completely fine, claiming he still has faith in the deity. In truth, he only says that because it's expected of him as a pastor, and even uttering those words makes him feel sick to his core. Soon, people begin calling him a saint, and the priests perform a purification ritual on him before he's officially appointed as Pope. but even that doesn't rid him of the darkness festering within. So he convinces himself that he isn't evil, just someone with a mission. He resolves to change the country's religion, believing it's the righteous path forward. Back in the present, Lloyd bluntly says he's had enough of Gitane's life story. He finds it so bleak and hopeless that it drained the color out of everything. Gitane assumes Lloyd doesn't care because he's a deity and wonders aloud if deities are incapable of empathy. But before he can finish, Lloyd smashes his head without hesitation. Meanwhile, the people across the city are captivated by Escher's performance. Thor wonders if her song is what caused the Chimera's heads to explode, but Babylon suspects that Lloyd is actually responsible. As he listens, he hears a strange static woven into the melody and realizes Escher is pushing herself to her absolute limit. He silently hopes she doesn't falter because her song is the only thing keeping the city's morale from collapsing. Elsewhere, a group of chimeras tries to silence Escher, but Shiro cuts through them mercilessly, and she hopes to see a rainbow break through the skies once the battle ends. We then return to Gitane, now screaming in agony as Lloyd listens to the music, quietly praising Escher and Saria for holding strong. Lloyd mentions that he wanted to show Gitane something, and Gitane suddenly severs his arm. Lloyd calmly tells Gitane to listen to the song, and in that instant, Gitane's other arm explodes, and he begins to panic, wondering if Lloyd is using his teleportation spell, but quickly realizes that can't be it, since Lloyd's teleportation always comes with a delay. Lloyd then reveals that he's been sprinting at full speed while using concealment, making his magic not only invisible but nearly instantaneous. Without warning, he unleashes a devastating blast of combined fire and ice. Gitane, unable to keep up, activates Blighted, a defensive spell that deploys automatic protection threads. He narrowly avoids the explosion, but Lloyd appears directly above him, bringing down a freaking meteor. Gitane blocks it just in time, realizing with growing dread that Lloyd is launching multiple high-level spells at once. Desperate to recover, Gitane tries to center his focus, but Escher's voice continues to throw him off rhythm. In the next moment, Lloyd pierces him cleanly with his 7 divinities skill. Gitane reels in shock, unable to comprehend how his spinal threads were bypassed before he even had time to react. He's completely outmatched and finally admits to himself that Lloyd's sorcery exists on a whole different plane. Lloyd remembers Gitane's claim that divine sorcery could never change his heart, and he decides it's time to put that theory to the test. Summoning a colossal ring of divine light, Lloyd fires off his glow spell, engulfing Gitane in a blinding explosion. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to not miss the next part.